And if you're watching live on YouTube, let me know if you can hear me okay. Kind of tough to see behind the comment section. Walter has Olave projected higher than Waddle, but I like Waddle more than Olave this week. We're actually going to pivot here for a second. YouTube Live, bear with me for a second. It's testing out something slightly different, but we're actually going to switch that back on the TikTok Live. All right. How we doing, YouTube Live? It's a great Sunday morning. I got top 15 rankings for us on the YouTube Live today. We're live on TikTok as well. We'll get to as many of these comments as I can. Switching back to my normal format on the TikTok Live. Was testing out something a little bit different, but we will test it out again next week. Good morning, Sam. No London game, but we still up early. Let's go. Yeah, we got daylight savings time for most of us in this country, and it gave us an extra hour this morning. Another hour we got to wait for football, but also an extra hour we get for the live stream. No excuses to start the live late this morning. Good morning, Palmer or Pittman. I'm leaning Palmer. I really like Josh Palmer this week. I'm not going to lie. I do really like Josh Palmer this week. I think there's a lot of reason to be bullish on Josh Palmer. There's no Keenan Allen. There's no Mike Williams. Donald Parham is out too, and that might seem like a small one, but when these injuries to the pass catcher start stacking up, DeAndre Carter was questionable. He is expected to play. But yeah, Josh Palmer's wide receiver 1 for the Chargers this week, and they're playing the Falcons, who have been the worst secondary or at least bottom 5 secondary in the NFL this season. So yeah, I do like Josh Palmer decent amount this week. I do have Josh Palmer. I'll pull up my wide receiver rankings here. I actually think he might have cracked the top 15, and if he didn't, he certainly was very, very close to the top 15. I actually think I ended up going Metcalf, Lockett over him, but it was really close. Palmer or McLaurin? Yeah, I personally lean Scary Terry over Josh Palmer. By the way, we're live on YouTube and TikTok. On the YouTube Live, you get a lot of information on the YouTube Live that you can't see on the TikTok Live. It's still completely free. You're like 2 presses of your finger away if you're on the TikTok Live to the YouTube Live. YouTube Live, we got top 15 rankings, every single position. That alone is going to answer a lot of the start state questions that I see in the live. Plus we have my DraftKings lineup, all my picks against the spread, my favorite player prop, all that's on the YouTube Live. It's just a little bit better of a viewing experience. Kyle Pitts or Isaiah Likely? Yeah, so I really feel like you have to start Isaiah Likely. We're lucky that we got the Mark Andrews news when we did, because I didn't think we were going to get the Mark Andrews news officially till Monday night, but we got it. And Mark Andrews is out. So yeah, Isaiah Likely, I have him ranked as my number 2 tight end this week. I think he slots in to the Mark Andrews role. I mean, we literally saw it in their last game against the Bucs once Mark Andrews went down. But on top of the Mark Andrews thing, obviously Rashad Bateman done for the season now too. So that helps Isaiah Likely as is. Even if Mark Andrews was playing, I think Likely is going to be a near every down player now for the Ravens. So yeah, you got to start Isaiah Likely, I think, this week. I think the only tight end for sure you're playing over Isaiah Likely, obviously, is Travis Kelce. But I think you can play Zach Ertz over Isaiah Likely also. I do really like Zach Ertz. We already saw Zach Ertz play this Seahawks defense, who, by the way, the Seahawks defense dead last against tight ends this season. They have stopped 0 tight ends this entire season. We already saw Zach Ertz play them just 3 weeks ago. He had 10 targets, 7 catches, 70 yards, a solid 14 points, no touchdowns. When you're a tight end that can be a top 10 tight end without scoring touchdowns, you're in a higher tier than most tight ends. And that's what Zach Ertz is in this week. So yeah, I do like Zach Ertz a decent amount this week. I have him as my number 3 tight end, but I do think he's the only other tight end I would consider starting over Isaiah Likely. I really do feel like you got to start Isaiah Likely. All right, let me pull up my QB rankings here. The really interesting QB week feels like a lot of quarterbacks that you can trust this week. I really trust all of my top 5 QBs pretty well this week, especially Justin Herbert, even without the weapons. Justin Herbert against the Falcons just feels too much of a layup. Again, the only tight ends I'm really trusting. Waller is not out yet, so I don't think Waller's officially out yet. But I did read a report that he's expected to be not playing this morning. Ian Rappaport said, made a strong, sorry, that was about a trade with Darren Waller. ESPN Adam Schefter reports Darren Waller is expected to remain sidelined for Sunday's game. Again, he's going to test it out pregame, so he's not officially out, but that's obviously not a good sign when Schefter's tweeting that. All right, let me pull up the running back rankings. Seeing a lot of Dion Jackson questions, and yeah, you gotta be starting Dion Jackson this week. The last, and I'm not getting this one wrong again, and I don't want to go too over the top with Dion Jackson stuff, but I will eat the L. If you guys remember last time Dion Jackson was in a situation, I thought he was a must bench. I was telling everyone to bench Dion Jackson. I was totally wrong that week. He ended up being the number 1 running back in fantasy football that week. I don't think he's going to have that good of a game again this week, but Dion Jackson is in line, guys, for potentially 20 plus touches this week. I mean, 20 plus touches probably for Dion Jackson. There's no Jonathan Taylor. They just traded for Zach Moss. Zach Moss is not good. They also don't think he's going to be up to speed to even potentially be active for the game. Even if Zach Moss is active, I see him playing less than 20% of the snaps. And then Phillip Lindsay is a practice squad level player that's going to be promoted. But yeah, I think Dion Jackson plays around 70% of the snaps. I think he sees potentially 20 plus touches. The last time that he played too, he had 10 targets, and he's going to be filling that Nyheim Hines role. Nyheim Hines traded to the Bills. So he's not on the Colts anymore. So yeah, I really feel like you gotta have a lot of faith in Dion Jackson this week. He's one of my favorite plays on DraftKings and FanDuel this week. He's locked in again. I think he's seeing 15 plus touches. I could easily see him going over 20 touches today. Guys, we're live on YouTube. We're live on TikTok. If you're watching live on TikTok, smash the follow button. If you're watching live on YouTube, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. The YouTube live, you get my top 15 rankings, every single position. You get my DraftKings lineup. You get my picks against the spread. You get my favorite player prop of the week. And I'm able to pull up your comments on screen on the YouTube live. So check that out if you're watching live on TikTok as well. Do you trust Josh Palmer this week? Yeah, I do trust Josh Palmer this week. He's playing the Falcons. I trust basically everybody playing the Falcons secondary, especially because they're out without AJ Terrell, too, who's really the only talented player that they had left in that secondary with how banged up they already were. So yeah, I do really like Justin Herbert this week. I like Josh Palmer this week. There's no Keenan Allen. There's no Mike Williams. Why bench DeAndre Swift? It's a frustrating situation with DeAndre Swift, and you certainly can't bench DeAndre Swift in all situations, especially with the 6 bye weeks this week. Guys, I got some ugly teams this week. I do not look at bye weeks when I draft, and I still think that's the right thing to do. I don't think bye weeks should be the determining factor when you're drafting players. I think you should draft just the best team and deal with the bye weeks as is. I'd rather have a dominant team with a couple tough bye weeks than an average team with no bye week issues. But some of my teams are in some serious bye week issues this week. So these are the types of weeks where I start to second guess that strategy. I'm starting like Isaiah Pacheco, Justice Hill. I'm in some tough spots at running back. So I understand you might have to start DeAndre Swift in some spots. But yeah, DeAndre Swift has a lot of risk. He's clearly not fully healthy. They don't want to be playing him as much as he usually is playing. Jamal Williams probably will outtouch and outsnap DeAndre Swift again this week. So you're really banking on a TD for Swift, and it's tough to bank on because he's not going to be out there that much. He still is a great receiver. He still could easily get 5 catches. So he had right around that, I think, last week. Let me pull up my tight end rankings one more time on the YouTube live. Again, you can see my top 15 rankings, every position. Why bench Myers? It's just a really, really tough matchup for Myers. Myers has been one of my favorite sleepers all season. I still think people are sleeping on Jacoby Myers, but this is a tough week for Jacoby Myers. He's playing the number 1 pass defense or number 2 pass defense in the Indianapolis Colts. There was not really been any big receiver games. I think we see another big Mondre game, by the way. Ramondre Stevenson's the number 2 ranked running back in the WalterPicks app this week. I have him ranked top 5 in my personal running back rankings. Damian Harris is out. And that's huge, huge, huge news for Ramondre Stevenson, he's playing the James White role. He's playing also the Damian Harris role. He has the entire backfield to himself. He's seeing a ton of targets, a really, really valuable spot for Ramondre this week. Even in a tough matchup for Ramondre Stevenson, it's it's still a game where he's going to see 20 plus touches, a lot of targets, and the Patriots should be in on offense a lot against Sam Ehlinger this week. Yeah, let me pull up my DraftKings lineup. A bad DraftKings lineup for me last week. I ended the hot streak last week. We had gone 3 straight cashed DraftKings lineups, and then I started Malik Willis in the DraftKings lineup last week. I mean, you just got to be better than that, honestly. I will definitely be bouncing back this week, though. I am starting Justin Herbert in my DraftKings lineup this week. I feel like if you're not going to play Josh Allen and you're not going to go all the way down for Justin Fields, I do like Justin Fields, especially in cash head-to-head lineups this week against the Dolphins. He's priced really low, and he's been rushing a ton. I do like going with Justin Herbert. I don't think many people are going to play Justin Herbert. I like stacking him with Josh Palmer against this Falcons defense. The Falcons defense has basically no shot at stopping Justin Herbert. I know he's without Keenan Allen. I know he's without Mike Williams as well, but I still feel like Herbert outshines this Falcons defense this week. I do like Austin Eckler a lot too, but Austin Eckler has been a huge role in the passing game too. So I don't think that even the Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Josh Palmer stack should be ruled out this week. I really like Aaron Jones against the Lions. I still think this could be the week where A.J. Dillon finally comes to life against the Lions defense, but I'm certainly not banking on that in daily fantasy. I do like Dion Jackson a lot this week. He's my RB2. I'm going with Scary Terry, and Christian Kirk is probably the most slept on wide receiver going into this week. I've been shouting at you guys about Christian Kirk a month now, and it has been about a month that I've been saying this is the time. This is the window. We are in the window right now to buy low on Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk has played 3 top 10 defenses, 2 top 2 defenses over the last 3 weeks. He's played the Colts, he's played the Broncos, he's played the Giants. The Colts are number 2, the Broncos are number 1, and the Giants, I think, are in like the 7-8 range in terms of secondary against receivers for fantasy points this season. And this week, he gets a much easier spot against the Las Vegas Raiders, who have been really, really struggling defensively. Obviously, they were struggling offensively as well. But Christian Kirk, still the clear number 1 wide receiver for the Jaguars. The Jaguars going to be throwing the ball a lot. They've already shown us that. They also, I think, will do better in the red zone than they have been. The Jaguars have been, I think, the dead last red zone offense in the NFL. I do expect that to improve as the season goes on. So, yeah, I really like Christian Kirk this week against the Raiders at his price. Zach Ertz is my favorite tight end on the main slate. Again, I would consider playing Isaiah Likely over him in season-long leagues. But I really like Zach Ertz. He had 7 catches, 70 yards against the Seahawks last time he played them. The Seahawks have stopped 0 defenses. Keenan Allen is out. Yeah, I do have him marked as out in the TikTok live as well. And then I'm going with Mondre in the flex and Panthers defense. I have Mondre as a top 5 running back again this week. I like going Dion and Mondre in my lineups this week. There are really a lot of good running back options, though. Alvin Kamara is not in this lineup. Austin Eckler is not in this lineup. Derrick Henry is not in this lineup. I mean, there's a lot of big running back potential this week for sure. Hey, Sam, got any ideas for a replacement for DeAndre Swift? Would it be smart to play Patterson? Yeah, it's tough to know exactly how much Cordero Patterson is going to play in his first game back. I'm excited to see Cordero Patterson is back, though. And I think this one's super close. I probably would go. I think I would go with Swift over Patterson, but yeah, it's extremely close. I could see that one definitely going either way. And the thing to call out with Patterson, too, is it is a good matchup for Cordero Patterson. The Chargers' run defense has not been great. The Falcons' running attack has been good this season. So I think it's a real argument there. I think side with Swift, but yeah, it's super close. Yo, Sam, Pitts, Romeo Doubs, or Drake London at the flex this week, full PPR. Yeah, I do, and I'm hesitant to say, but I do think Drake London is a really interesting sleeper this week. Drake London quietly, I mean, he's obviously had a really disappointing season, especially he got off to a pretty hot start. He went over 12 PPR fantasy points each of the first 3 weeks. He hasn't been over 8 fantasy points since. So he started the season over 12 points each of the first 3 weeks. Then he goes 5 straight weeks under 8 fantasy points. And it's just been the passing volume for the Falcons. He's actually top 10 in the NFL. Drake London is top 10 in the NFL in target share. He's seeing 29% of the Falcons' targets. And I do think, again, that the Chargers' offense really cooks today. I like Justin Herbert. I like Josh Palmer. Austin Eckler is my running back 1 this week against the Falcons. I don't hate Drake London. And Drake London versus Pitts, I mean, that's super close. Obviously, Pitts has done better recently compared to Drake London, but you guys know my take on starting 2 tight ends. I just won't do it. I won't do it to myself. Fantasy football, it's hard enough as it is with tight ends. Like, just don't start 2 of them. Don't start 2 of them. I know the bye weeks are tough. I am starting transparently. I am starting Tyler Higbee and Taysom Hill in one of my leagues this week. But Taysom Hill, he's a pseudo tight end. We barely count him as a tight end. Morning, Sam. Start sitting PPR. DeAndre Carter or Isaiah McKenzie. I would go DeAndre Carter over Isaiah McKenzie this week. Morning, Sam. Need help. Do I start Swift or do I sub him out for Khalil Herbert, Michael Carter Jr.? Only running backs and only RBs, and RBs only get PPR in my league. Already starting Stevenson and Deion Jackson. Yeah, I would go Michael Carter, I think, over DeAndre Swift. Michael Carter will, I think, touch the ball more than DeAndre Swift this week. So I would go with Michael Carter there. Guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. Make sure you're smashing the like button if you're watching live on YouTube. I'm going to be live basically right up till kickoff. I mean, we're just getting started, guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. I will try to get to as many start sits as I can, but I will also call out, come to the YouTube live. If you're watching live on TikTok, you can see my top 15 rankings, every single position, and that will answer a lot of your start sit questions for you. The other place to go, though, if I can't get to your start sit, it's the WalterPicks app in the iOS and Android app store. I've personally helped build this app over the last 3 years. It uses machine learning and AI technology to give us the best projections possible. It also gives us boom and bust probabilities for every player and matchup ratings. Everything you could possibly need for start sit comparisons is in that app, and it's free to download, free to try out. So check it out. That's also in the TikTok bio, in the YouTube description. Why bench James Conner? It's James Conner's first game back. He wasn't playing very well before his injury, so I'm nervous that he's going to play great after his injury. It is not a terrible matchup against the Seahawks, but I do think Eno Benjamin stays involved. Jacoby Myers is a risk this week, too, against the Colts. The Colts defense has been, guys, really, really good. I mean, really good this season against wide receivers. They have been the number 2 defense against receivers this season, and that's definitely something to take note of for Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers has been really consistent. He's going to be the Pats' number 1 receiver this week, probably, too. I do think there's a lot of increased risk, though, with Jacoby Myers this week. The Colts have allowed the third fewest yards to receivers per game this season. Let me pull this up. Second fewest fantasy points to the wide receiver position is the Indianapolis Colts. Number 1 is the Denver Broncos. By the way, Christian Kirk has played both of those defenses over the last 3 weeks. I really like buying low on Christian Kirk this week. I do think Christian Kirk's a must start this week, and I do like him a lot in DraftKings. And I've been teasing it a little bit, but you guys maybe have already guessed it. Christian Kirk is also the free player prop of the day, over 56.5 receiving yards. I do think he goes over 60 yards. Today, I could even see him doing that in the first half. And going back to the Jacoby Myers bench, we did see Terry McLaurin have a good game against the Indianapolis Colts, so it's certainly not impossible for Jacoby Myers to have a big one, but we've only seen one game over 100 yards, only one game over 90 yards against the Colts this season from a wide receiver, and it was last week, Terry McLaurin. But yes, I'm a little nervous for Jacoby. I do think it can be a really run-heavy game script for the Patriots, especially if they get a lead early. Is Dion Jackson a good replacement for Swift? Yes. Kyrie, yes. He is a great replacement. Dion Jackson is a great replacement this week. Dion Jackson is a top 15 running back this week. And I think there's an argument that he's top 10. Last time he was in this position, he was the number 1 running back on the slate. I have him ranked as number 10 running back this week. I'm not going to make the same mistake as last time where I called him I think I was really bashing on Dion Jackson before his blow-up game, saying that he was a special teams player and that he couldn't be trusted. He can be trusted in this spot. No JT. Nyheim Hines gets traded. Zach Moss is not good. He might not even be active for this game. Phillip Lindsay is not good, and he's getting promoted from the practice squad. It's going to be at least 70% of the snaps for Dion Jackson this week. So, yeah, it's great news for Dion Jackson for sure. Why bench Myers? Again, it's the Colts defense. Only one receiver's gone over 90 yards against the Colts. Hey, Sam, thoughts on Najee Harris going forward? Yeah, I'm certainly nervous for Najee. I don't know if you guys saw that cryptic report, too, that Jaylen Warren might be more involved after the bye. I mean, that's not what you want to be reading if you have Najee Harris. We've been trying to sell Najee all season. Dalvin and Aaron Jones at RB1 and RB2. Mondre at flex. Kenneth Walker on bench. Oh, God. I mean, you don't want to put Kenneth Walker on your bench, but, yeah, in this situation, I agree that's what you got to do. Let me actually let's look at the running back rankings here. Yeah, Aaron Jones is number 2. You got to be starting Aaron Jones. I mean, maybe Kenneth over Dalvin. I think that one's probably really the decision point here because you're certainly starting Mondre. You're certainly starting Aaron Jones. And, yeah, I do have Kenneth Walker, I think, a couple spots ahead of Dalvin Cook in my rankings. But, yeah, it's super, super close. I got to stream a tight end. Top projected options available are K-Dot and Hunter Henry, and Wright. Any deeper sleepers you'd recommend? I'm leaning towards Seattle's tight end against Arizona, to be honest. Yeah. So if I pull my tight end rankings, I actually think Noah Fant's probably the guy that I'm going to recommend. He's my number 15 ranked tight end this week. Noah Fant has been really frustrating from a fantasy football perspective this season. He just isn't in an every down role. They're using Will Dissly a decent amount. I even think they're using Parkinson maybe is their third tight end. But Noah Fant did run 20 routes last week that tied his season high. And we know that Marquise Goodwin is out this week too. And then, the Cardinals have been the second worst defense against tight ends. We got the two worst defenses against tight ends playing each other this week. I do think Noah Fant's an interesting, really deep sleeper. Again, I think I would play him over Cade Otton. Don't love Hunter Henry this week. And I don't love Wright either. A lot of questions I'm seeing in the live too about TJ Hawkinson. I do, just in general, the guys that just got traded to their teams, I don't think they're safe starts. None of them are safe. I mean, some of them could have good weeks. TJ Hawkinson might be one of those guys. It sounds like TJ Hawkinson might be playing some of the most snaps among the new players. But I will say, guys, tight end, one of the toughest positions to get up to speed on, because you basically need to know everything the offensive line knows, and you need to know everything the receivers know. It's just a lot to get up to speed on. But TJ Hawkinson definitely has a chance to do something this week. I would definitely play Isaiah Likely over him, though. I would play Isaiah Likely over him. Let me pull up my QB rankings one more time on the YouTube Live. Again, on the TikTok Live, come to the YouTube Live. You get my top 15 rankings, every single position. You get my DraftKings lineup, my picks against the spread, my favorite player prop picks. Kenneth Walker and Mondre. I'm playing Mondre over basically everybody. Mondre is a top 5 play this week. So, you got to start Mondre. Little help, Sam. Drop Thielen for Duvernay rest of season. I have Lamar if that helps. Yeah, Ben, I would do this. I do like the Duvernay Lamar stack. It's definitely not the most exciting stack, but at least it is a stack. And with Rashad Bateman out, it is a lot more interesting. Also, with Mark Andrews' injury, even more interesting, especially this week. So, I'm okay dropping Thielen for Duvernay, especially in that situation. I just see Kenyon Drake. Not even a question, just talk about Kenyon Drake. I will talk about Lord Dingle. I will talk about Dion Jackson a tiny bit more, but Kenyon Drake is definitely playable this week. I think Justice Hill is a really deep sleeper too. I'm starting him in one league where I'm really down bad with the bye weeks. But Justice Hill, Kenyon Drake, Gus Edwards is out. Rashad Bateman's out. Mark Andrews is out. I mean, the Ravens are going to have to get other guys the ball. Deshaun Jackson might be active this week. Not retired yet. He is on the Ravens. Maybe he gets one catch in that game, but I'm certainly not trusting Deshaun Jackson either. Why are we starting Dion Jackson on FanDuel this week against the Pats D? Yeah, so I get that the Pats defense is good against running backs, but you also have to look back at the last time Dion Jackson had a big workload, and he was not only playing the JT role, but he's also playing the Nyheim Hines role, and that's actually the more valuable role for Dion Jackson to play. He had 10 targets, and he caught all 10 of them back when he had his high snap share of the season back in week 6. He only had 12 carries. He ran 35 routes though. And again, Sam Ehlinger starting this week. I mean, he can't move the ball down the field very effectively. I think Dion Jackson is going to have another 5+ catches this week. There's 5 points already banked for Dion Jackson, plus whatever yardage comes from that. I really do think Dion Jackson is a very high floor, high ceiling, even against the Pats defense, who have been really good. He's going to see at least 10 carries and at least 5 targets. There's 15+ opportunities for Dion Jackson, and it could be more than that. Nyheim Hines is out of the picture. Jonathan Taylor's out of the picture this week. He has zero competition, just no competition. So regardless of the matchup, the volume should be there for Dion Jackson. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We're just getting started here. Make sure you're hitting that follow button on the TikTok Live. Hit the like button on the YouTube Live. Really do appreciate that. We're trying to hit 10,000 YouTube subscribers this season. And if you're watching live on TikTok, it really is a slightly better viewing experience on the YouTube Live. So come over to the YouTube Live. You can see my top 15 rankings, every position. That's going to help you out a little bit with the start sits, a lot of them that I'm seeing in the comments. All right, who do I start in a Superflex league? DK, Christian Kirk, Derek Carr, Palmer, Dion. Choose 2. Yeah, I almost always I think you should start a quarterback in the Superflex slot. If you're choosing a second one here, though, yeah, that one's definitely close. But I would go Dion Jackson. Honestly, again, Dion Jackson's the guy that's locked into the most touches. So I would go Derek Carr, Dion Jackson, I think, in this one. Dion Jackson, Fournette, Foreman at flex. Yeah, Foreman's definitely in a similar spot to Dion Jackson. I actually have them back-to-back in my running back rankings, both ahead of Leonard Fournette. So I do think Dion Jackson and Deontay Foreman can be started over Leonard Fournette. I'm not benching Swift. I think that's fair. You don't need to bench Swift in all spots. Like Swift versus Dillon, I think that one's close. I would probably side Dillon in that one. But yeah, DeAndre Swift, it's just a tough spot. Like obviously, DeAndre Swift is a beast when he's fully healthy and seeing his normal workload, but he's not seeing that. He's not seeing his normal workload. They're saying it out in the public. They showed us last week. He only had 10 touches last week. So I think it's going to be close to another 10 touches. And I personally wish they would just let DeAndre Swift get back to full health so he could be an auto start again. And he wouldn't be out there risking his health in re-aggravation, because I really hope he gets back to full health, because he's a top 5 running back in fantasy football at full health, at his full workload. I think Jamal Williams outsnaps and touches him again this week, though. So it's really tough for me to trust with complete confidence, DeAndre Swift. I think James Conner is pretty risky this week. I do think Eno Benjamin will still be involved. And Conner wasn't very good before his injury. So there's certainly a really low floor there with James Conner this week. Swift or Conner, that one's pretty close. Let me actually pull this up. James Conner's best game of the season came in week 1. Guys, he hasn't gone over 11 fantasy points since week 1. He was seeing pretty decent volume, I guess. I mean, not really. He's had a couple really bad games. It's really tough to trust James Conner. Honestly, I think it would go DeAndre Swift over James Conner. At least Swift has a path to like getting 5 catches and a touchdown. Why is Singletary top 15 after the Hines trade? Because it's the first week with Nyheim Hines. I mean, this is the thing with the trades. I don't think that the full impact of these trades will really be felt in the first game. I mean, think about it. These guys had 5 days to get up to speed. There is much more content for them to get up to speed on with their playbooks and the offensive game planning than 5 days worth. Will Nyheim Hines play maybe a little bit, get a few touches? Yes, but Singletary's still going to lead this backfield in touches, and they're playing the Jets. They are massive favorites over the Jets. So, yeah, I do still like Singletary as a top 15 option this week. Hines trade definitely does downgrade him a little bit rest of the season, though. Jamal, Gabe, Claypool, who are you benching? Yeah, in like similar stuff with Chase Claypool. Like I just personally would rather give it 1 week with Chase Claypool, and let's not act like Chase Claypool just went to the best landing spot for receivers. He's on a team that has thrown the ball bottom 3 rate in the NFL this season. They are a run first team. They do not want to throw. So Chase Claypool certainly still has a low floor. I do still like Jamal Williams, Gabriel Davis more than Chase Claypool this week. Hey Sam, big fan. Thanks, man. A couple questions. Lazard or Jacoby Myers, Juju or Mostert? So Lazard is questionable. It does sound like he's trending towards playing, but Allen Lazard is like sort of the last player we're waiting on to find out if he's playing or not playing this week. We still have not gotten, I don't think, that official report. I will refresh the Twitter timeline. We also are waiting for Ryan Tannehill versus Malik Willis. That's another big one, just a big piece of news we're waiting on to drop. But I would lean Jacoby over Lazard. And then Juju or Mostert. And also, I traded A.J. Brown and Tony Pollard for DeAndre Swift, JT, and Chris Godwin. Was it worth it? Rodrigo really comes down to the injuries. So hopefully it was worth it. Obviously, at full health, that trade's going to be worth it. And it certainly looks like you've got some good running back support there. But yeah, Juju versus Mostert. That one's also really close. Mostert's in a good spot this week against the Chicago Bears. Will be interesting to see how much Jeff Wilson plays. Of all of the guys that got traded too, Jeff Wilson, there's an argument that he's going to be the most up to speed because he's already very familiar with that offense and with the coaching staff there. So it's very possible Jeff Wilson sees 10 plus touches this week. That would be pretty concerning for Raheem Mostert, but I still think Mostert probably leads that backfield in touches in a good matchup against the Bears. So yeah, I'm okay going Mostert over Juju. Hey Sam, start Palmer, Juju, Garrett Wilson. Yeah, Garrett Wilson's definitely in play this week. I do like Garrett Wilson on DraftKings again this week at his price. He was my locked in player in every lineup last week. I do like Josh Palmer a lot, though, too. I actually think I would go Josh Palmer here. Josh Palmer, the number 1 receiver for Justin Herbert this week against the Falcons secondary. I mean, what other analysis do we really need? And I can walk us through just how bad the Falcons secondary has been against receivers. Let's just do that as a fun activity. Let me pull this up. I mean, it's been really, really, really bad. And they're also without AJ Terrell this week. He's been a part of this bad secondary. He's pretty clearly their best secondary piece. The Falcons have only been worse than the Steelers this week at allowing fantasy points to wide receivers. Back in week 1, Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry both went over 14 fantasy points. In week 2, Cooper Kupp goes for 26. A-Rob has one of his best weeks of the season, scores a touchdown, 13 points. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett both went over 12 points. The Bucs didn't do great against the Falcons secondary. That was one of the weird Tom Brady games. Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel both go over 12.5 fantasy points. Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd both go over 25 fantasy points, and DJ Moore torches them last week for 24.5 fantasy points. And then this week, again, Josh Palmer, the number 1 target, maybe only after Austin Eckler this week for Justin Herbert. So yeah, I do really like Josh Palmer. I don't think he made my top 15 wide receiver list, but he's probably number 16. I wanted to put him in there, but I couldn't put Metcalf or Lockett over him. All right. Swift. Yeah, so Swift is going to be similar story to last week. He's very good. He's probably going to play a little bit, but not his normal allotment of snaps. They still don't say he's at full health. Josh Palmer or Scary Terry. Yeah, I would go Scary Terry over Josh Palmer. Hey, Sam, Swift or Michael Carter at my RB2 slot. I'm scared because Carter's playing the Bills, but Swift isn't getting enough volume. Yeah, I would go Michael Carter over Swift. I do think Michael Carter gets more volume than Swift, and I do think that's more important than the matchup itself. It is more important. Just think about it. If Carter touches the ball 1.5 times as much as Swift, I mean, it's pretty tough for Swift to outscore Carter unless he's scoring a touchdown or really getting really valuable touches, which is possible. It's certainly possible that Swift outscores Carter, but I usually tend to side with the guy that's going to get more touches. Hey, Sam, tough bye week this week, as you know. Yeah, trust me, I know. I drafted in an absolutely ridiculous amount of week 9 buys, and I do not look at bye weeks when I draft too. So some of my teams, I mean, like I'm struggling just to field the starting lineup. I'm not even kidding. I'm starting Isaiah Pacheco. I'm starting Justice Hill. I'm starting Taysom Hill and Tyler Higbee on the same team. I'm pretty down bad with the buys in a lot of my leagues. Should I play Clyde or Pacheco for running back? I do trust Pacheco just a tiny bit more than Clyde right now with that starting running back tag, but it's certainly really close. I would go Pacheco though. For flex, I put Terrace Marshall. Yeah, I'm starting him in one league as well. Anyone on waivers in a competitive league you think would be better? Yeah, so in competitive leagues, I am a little interested in Justice Hill this week. Justice Hill has low-key been the best running back for the Ravens this season, and it's just him and Kenyon Drake in that backfield this week. Kenyon Drake, though, has had some good weeks recently as well, so I do think Kenyon Drake leads that backfield, but he's an interesting one in competitive leagues that I think is probably available. But yeah, I like Terrace Marshall. I think Terrace Marshall's a guy that would come to mind too in competitive leagues. I am starting him in one of my competitive leagues this week, so I don't hate Terrace Marshall at all. And Terrace Marshall had his best week of the season last week. I think he could build on that this week. Do you like Duvernay or Palmer more this week? I like Palmer more than Duvernay. Why bench Swift? He's just not at full health. He's not seeing his normal volume. So I would play Dion Jackson over Swift, and I would play Dion Jackson over Jamal Williams as well. Boyd or Kirk in PPR? Yeah, so Tyler Boyd is a really good option this week. I mean, really good. I think Christian Kirk, though, is also a really good option. I personally like Boyd a little bit more than Christian Kirk. I have a Tyler Boyd ranked number 12 in my wide receiver rankings, which you can see at the bottom of the screen on the YouTube Live. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, come to the YouTube Live. You're like 2 presses of your finger away from just a better live stream experience. You're already in the live. Come to the YouTube Live. You get my top 15 rankings every position. You'll get all my picks against the spread. You'll get my DraftKings lineup. You'll get my favorite player prop picks all in the YouTube Live. There's just a little bit more functionality on the YouTube Live than there is the TikTok Live. All right, let me pull up my DraftKings lineup one more time. Let me just run through my DraftKings strategy this week. I did max enter again. I'm very transparent about what I'm doing on DraftKings. I'm max entering the $3 entry, 20 entry max contest, 100K to first contest on DraftKings. I've made money on this contest this season, but I've not made any like serious amount, like a few hundred dollars. But it's also I'm entering $60 a week, so not terrible, But I want the top prize. Here are the guys that I'm playing in all my lineups, though. Dion Jackson, he's in all of them because I don't think that many people are going to play Dion Jackson in DraftKings this week because when you're scrolling down and you're making your lineups, the Patriots' number 2 run defense is a little intimidating. I think people will overrate the Patriots' defense versus Dion Jackson this week. The Patriots' defense also a little banged up. I don't know for sure if Barmore and Duggar are going to be back this week. I know they were out last game. I'm interested to see about that, but regardless of if those guys are playing or not, Dion Jackson, I think, is locked in for 15 plus touches, maybe even 20 plus touches. He has 10 targets in his range of outcomes. I really like that in the PPR format on DraftKings, and he just has no competition, zero competition for touches this week with JT out, Nyheim Hines on the Bills. Zach Moss is not good, and he's not up to speed. So I do like Dion Jackson a decent amount this week. The other guy that I'm playing in most of my lineups is Josh Palmer. I really like Josh Palmer against the Falcons secondary. I feel like that one maybe is a little more risky than I'm giving it credit for, but it's the Falcons secondary. We just ran through it. The Falcons have been just destroyed in the secondary this season. They're second worst against receivers this year, only behind the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, trade JJ and Mostert for ETN and Amon-Ra. JJ and Mostert for ETN and Amon-Ra. I would do this one. Yeah, you are giving up the best player in the trade, which is Justin Jefferson. ETN, though, maybe is not so far behind him in value, and then Amon-Ra, I think, is still really, really good. I do really like Amon-Ra on DraftKings this week, too. Jamal or Swift, I lean Jamal Williams over Swift. Because of the Swift injury, I think Jamal is going to be the goal line back. Why am I benching Jacoby Myers? So there's 2 sides to every start sit. So you got to take my must benches with a grain of salt, right? You got to make your own decision with who you're going to bench him for, right? But for Jacoby Myers, there's not much of a ceiling this week. I really don't think so. There's only been one wide receiver that's gone over 90 yards against the Colts, and it was last week. It was Terry McLaurin. I don't see Jacoby Myers going over 90 yards. I think his best case scenario is like a 5-catch, 60-yard, 1-touchdown game. That's his best case. That's his true ceiling. But his floor is really, really low this week. I think it could be one of the toughest games for Jacoby Myers. I also think the Patriots defense against Sam Ehlinger should keep the Pats offense on the field a decent amount. Deon Jackson, the only Colts player I'm really feeling confident about this week. I think Michael Pittman could get shut down against the Patriots as well. So yeah, I do really like Ramondre Stevenson. I don't love Jacoby Myers this week because of the matchup against the Colts. Again, only one receiver's gone over 90 yards against the Colts. All right, let me pull up my QB rankings again. Seeing some Trevor Lawrence questions. I have him ranked as my 15th quarterback. I would be playing a lot of guys over Trevor Lawrence this week, though he does have at least some legs this week, some opportunity to outperform what he's been doing. Guys, thank you so much for being tuned in right now. Make sure if you're watching live on YouTube, hit the like button. If you're watching live on TikTok, smash the follow button. I really do appreciate that. Likely or Juwan Johnson. I personally have Isaiah Likely as my number 2 tight end this week. And I don't think that's that crazy. I think that I maybe would start Zach Ertz over Isaiah Likely. Maybe Ertz is a better option than Likely. I think he's at least a little safer maybe than Likely. But other than that, I think you've got to be starting Isaiah Likely unless you have Travis Kelce, because Isaiah Likely is probably the top option for Lamar Jackson this week. It's not Devin Duvernay. It's not Demarcus Robinson. It's not Kenyon Drake. It's Isaiah Likely. I mean, we saw it in their Thursday night game against the Bucs last week. So I really do like Isaiah Likely a lot this week. I still like Duvernay a little bit too. Kenyon Drake's not like the worst option either. But yeah, I do not hate Isaiah Likely this week at all. Made a big trade this week. Goal was to move Lenny before his bye and no more buys at running back. I have CMC, Godwin, Mike Will, Palmer. Trade Fournette, Lamb, and Singletary for Jacobs, Kirk, and Doubs. Yeah, that's a W. That's a W, I think. You got Jacobs and Kirk. You gave up Lamb, which is a lot, I think, to be given up. But Jacobs is a much better asset than Fournette. Kirk is also, I think, being pretty slept on. So I don't hate it at all. I actually made a blockbuster. Stop deleting your IG videos after getting called for weak takes. Christian, I do not run the Instagram account, and I am fairly confident that we do not delete anything. I mean, you can go back on my TikTok. I've never deleted a TikTok video. You can go back literally to the first video, and it's pretty cringy, but I don't delete stuff. And we are pretty open about taking L's, honestly. Hill or Likely? Yeah, I would go Likely over Taysom Hill. I really do like Likely a lot. Let me pull up my tight end rankings again. Both of them are on the top 15 rankings. Why Brady? I want to go back to this Brady question. Was Brady over? See if I can find this. Oh, why Brady over Lawrence? Yeah, I mean it's definitely a close one. I don't hate Trevor Lawrence this week. I don't hate Tom Brady this week either. I do think that the Rams secondary has been not so great this season. Let me pull this up. Yeah, so Jimmy G threw 235 and 2 TDs against them in week 8. Brady has been really, really rough, though. I don't know. It's definitely close between him and Trevor Lawrence for me. I think I have them pretty close in the rankings. Let me actually pull up one sec for Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence gets the Raiders. Honestly, I think there's a pretty good argument that Trevor Lawrence is safer than Brady this week. Let me actually pull this up. How far apart were they in my QB rankings? Let's see. Pretty far, actually. 5 spots. And maybe those should be swapped. Let's swap these. Brady is definitely a little bit more risky, I think. We swapped them. So yeah, we're firmly in the Trevor Lawrence over Tom Brady camp. And if you guys have been following me for any reasonable amount of time, you guys know I don't lock into takes. I don't suffer from take lock, which is one of the toughest things when you are a fantasy football analyst like I am. You don't want to lock into takes. You got to adjust to new information. I mean, there's so much information to stay on top of. And when new information presents itself, you got to be open to changing your opinions. I think that's honestly probably the most important aspect of being a fantasy analyst. It is adjusting to new info. Olave or Palmer, yeah, you can't bench Olave. You can't bench Olave for Palmer. I refuse to do that. You can't bench Olave, just pretty much period. Rondale Moore or Juju. Yeah, I do like Juju a little bit more than Rondale Moore. I'm not fully bought in to the Rondale Moore hype. He's coming off, I think, his best game of his season, maybe even his best game of his career. And I'm not fully bought into it yet. Urgent, Romeo Doubs, Swift, Dillon, full PPR. Yeah, Swift versus Dillon, I think, is a really interesting one. We got to hear about the Allen Lazard news still to have a full picture of, to have the full view of whether or not we should play Romeo Doubs. Let me pull up the Twitter feed again, make sure we haven't gotten any Allen Lazard news. Doesn't look like any news has come out. There was an Adam Schefter tweet about, so we still don't know the Sunday night game tonight. It's the Titans versus the Chiefs. We still don't know if it's Ryan Tannehill or Malik Willis. If it's Malik Willis, the Titans are losing that game. It's Ryan Tannehill. They still are probably losing the game. But apparently there's a pretty good chance it's going to be Malik Willis. I think better than 50% chance we see Malik Willis, not Ryan Tannehill tonight. That definitely moves down Robert Woods and all of the pass catchers. Derrick Henry, the only Titans player you can really be starting with any sort of confidence. But yeah, going back to this question, I think this one's really close in a full PPR league. I don't hate the Packers, though, against the Lions. I feel like Romeo Doubs is not a horrible option. I would probably rank these guys as Doubs, Dillon, then Swift, but it certainly is really close. Pitts, not top 15 tight end. Let me see here. Yeah, that was definitely just an error on my end. Let me toss him in here. That's going to bump Noah Fant out of the top. I think I have him ranked number 6. Yeah, let me pull this up. Good catch. With the Kyle Pitts, I think I was just trying to get Kyle Pitts the heck out of my brain. He's probably lost me the most sleep of any player. He's my most drafted player, by the way. I did over 500 best ball drafts for the season, and Kyle Pitts was my most drafted player. I have him ranked number 6. This week, I would play Tyler Higbee over him. I would not play Robert Tonyan over him, though. Good catch, though. Thank you for that on the YouTube live. This is a team game here. B-Rob or Monty. Yeah, I would probably be going Monty over Brian Robinson. J.D. McKissick is out, though. That probably does help Brian Robinson a tiny bit. But I still like the matchup for Demont against the Dolphins. And I am a little bit nervous about Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert looks really good. He looks better than David Montgomery. David Montgomery also in the last year of his contract. I mean, we could see a real scenario where Khalil Herbert takes over as the top running back for the rest of the season for the Bears. But that isn't where we're at yet. He had a lot of carries last week, but he still only played about a fourth of the snaps. That's Khalil Herbert. So I do like David Montgomery still a decent amount. Can't believe I'm asking this. But Swift or Jamal Williams, yeah, it sucks. It's week 9, and you drafted Swift in the first or second round, and here we are, and it's really the answer is Jamal Williams. I think it's pretty clearly Jamal Williams. If you watched the game last week, you know it's Jamal Williams. It sucks to ask the question, but it is Jamal Williams over DeAndre Swift this week. He's just not at full health. He's not seeing his normal workload. You got to adapt to that, and I do think Jamal Williams has a much better chance at a touchdown this week than DeAndre Swift. Do I start Damien Harris or James Conner? Damien Harris not playing this week. Almost definitely not playing, so James Conner. Likely or Pitts? Yeah, I still like Likely more than Pitts. I like Isaiah Likely more than Kyle Pitts this week. Why Myers is to sit? The Colts secondary has just been really good. Really, really good. Allen Lazard, we're not sure if Allen Lazard is out yet. He is the last guy we're waiting on top of Malik Willis versus Ryan Tannehill, but we won't know that one for a while. Mike Williams is out. Yeah, Mike Williams is out. Keenan Allen is out. Gus Edwards is out. Jonathan Taylor is out. Jamar Chase is out. Donald Parham is out. Jahan Dotson is out. J.D. McKissick is out. Chuba Hubbard's out. Corey Davis is out. Devontae Parker's out. Cameron Braid is out. Russell Gage is out. Damien Harris is out. There's a lot of injuries. And honestly, just being up to date on the injuries is the most important thing. One of the most important things to make sure you're not losing an edge against your league mates. Start Cordell Patterson. Depends who you're starting him over. I do think he can be started, but I'm not starting him over Tyler Boyd or over Deion Jackson, Connor. And honestly, Boyd versus Deion Jackson, that one's extremely close. I think both guys are really, really good options this week. I still think benching Deion Jackson is not something I would do in this situation. Again, I think Deion Jackson gets 15 plus touches against the Patriots. Patriots defense has been good, but we also know Deion Jackson is going to catch passes in this game. He ran, I think, 30 routes, over 30 routes in his last time he was in a spot like this. No Nyheim Hines anymore. JT out this week. I mean, we could realistically see Deion Jackson play the highest snap percentage of any running back this week. It's very possible. And so, yeah, I think Deion Jackson's got to be started, even in a relatively tough matchup against the New England Patriots. All right, let's get to some more of these start sits. Let me also pull up the DraftKings lineup on the YouTube Live one more time. Let me pull up some of these spreads too. Talk through some of these spreads. I'll pull my spread picks against the spread on the YouTube Live as well. Don't think I've done that yet. So we got the Colts. The Colts are 5-point underdogs. Let me pull these up again. The 5-point underdogs in New England. I do like the Pats against the spread in that one. I don't trust Sam Ehlinger. I still don't trust Sam Ehlinger. We were on that last week. I still don't trust him, especially against the Pats. We've seen this so many times with the Patriots playing rookie quarterbacks, and we also know And maybe not everybody knows, but as a Pats fan, I know that I'm not sure there's an organization that Bill Belichick despises more than the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, there's a true hatred, and it's not like maybe the fans don't realize how it's not like a rivalry. I can't even say that word in the fans' view. But for Bill, I don't think there's a team he hates more than the Indianapolis Colts, because the Indianapolis Colts are the team that started Deflategate. If you guys can remember that, I do. I was actually at that game. I was at the Colts-Patriots Deflategate game, and it was the Colts, that went and tattled on the Patriots deflating balls. So I really think that the Patriots handle business here at home against the Colts, who Bill Belichick really, really, really despises. And against Sam Ehlinger, the Patriots really should win this one at home. The Jets are 10.5-point underdogs against the Bills. I do like the Bills at minus 10.5. It's a lot of points, but I still think they are just way, 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 way better than the Jets in basically every single category. The Dolphins -4 in Chicago. That's definitely a really interesting one. I do think I would take the Bears with the points there, but I could easily see the Dolphins blowing the lid off the Bears as well. If you guys are watching live on TikTok, make sure you're hitting that follow button. If you're watching live on YouTube, smash the like button. We haven't even been live for an hour yet. We got another couple hours still to go. Moving on to the next game, we're just going game by game right now. But again, if you come to the YouTube live, you can see my top 15 rankings, every position as well, and also my DraftKings lineups up on the screen on the YouTube live right now. Also, as I'm talking through some of these spreads, the Vikings 3.5-point favorites on the road against the Commanders. I do like the Vikings on the road -3.5 in that one. The Vikings have quietly been on like one of the clear locked-in playoff teams so far this season. The Bengals 7-point favorites at home against the Panthers. That one will be really interesting. The Bengals secondary really, really decimated so far this season. They just lost Awuzie, I think his last name is pronounced, for the season. They lost another secondary piece in the last game too. I really do like DJ Moore, Deontay Foreman in this game. Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, I think are must starts. Obviously, T. Higgins must start in that game as well. But yeah, I do like the Bengals still -7. The Lions 3.5-point underdogs against the Packers. The Packers are only getting 3.5 points against the Lions. That's pretty crazy. I do still like the Packers in this game, even though the Lions are at home. I don't think the Lions defense is good enough to stop the Packers offense. As bad as the Packers offense has been this season, the Lions defense has basically stopped 0 teams. With a backfield of Kenyon Drake and Khalil Herbert do good this week, is pretty risky, honestly. There's a lot of good running backs this week, but I still think Kenyon Drake is startable. And yeah, Khalil Herbert is startable. So it's certainly some upside, but definitely really low floor there as well. Chargers, only 2.5-point favorites against the Falcons. I mean, that feels like Vegas knows something there. But yeah, I'm certainly still taking the Chargers 2.5-point favorites. I'm assuming that's where the public money is on in this game too. I just don't think that the Falcons secondary can stop Justin Herbert, even without Mike Williams, even without Keenan Allen, even with a struggling offense. I think Justin Herbert tears to shreds this Falcons secondary. I see Justin Herbert going over 300 yards, multiple touchdowns. Today, he's in my DraftKings lineup for that exact reason. The Raiders, -2.5-point favorites against the Jaguars. Yeah, I will take the Jaguars in this one. This could be the nail in the coffin for the Las Vegas Raiders, who I think they might be coming off the bye. Someone correct me if I'm wrong about that. Maybe the bye's next week. Darren Waller, though, not looking like he's going to play. Josh McDaniels, I think, is going to be on the outs, maybe even after this year. Seahawks, 1.5-point underdogs at the Arizona Cardinals. I will take the Cardinals in that game. I've been picking against the Seahawks all season, and it has not been going very well. But home favorites, only by 1.5. I do like the Cardinals taking that game. Should be a good one, though. The Rams, 3-point underdogs in Tampa Bay. I don't hate that spread for the Rams. I think the Rams are also coming off the bye. Rams +3 versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm nervous for Allen Robinson in that game. I feels like there's some spots for me, at least, where I have Allen Robinson, and he hasn't been a starter for me all season in my fantasy teams, obviously. But with these Week 9 buys, there's some spots where I feel compelled to start Allen Robinson. I'm nervous because Allen Robinson has done much, much, much better this season against man coverage. And the Buccaneers almost never run man coverage. They're almost a strictly zone coverage team. We've seen A-Rob just disappear. I mean, completely disappear, like stay on the bus type, disappearing from Allen Robinson when he plays zone coverage this season. So I'm nervous for A-Rob against the zone of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, even coming off the bye. And I also will say, though, the flip side of that, for most of the season, I've been saying it feels like they got to start using A-Rob just a little bit differently, right? And maybe they do. Coming off the bye, they do find ways to use Allen Robinson a little bit differently against zone than they have. He's basically just strictly been running fade routes this season. I mean, it's been horrible. All right, I do like the Titans are 12.5-point underdogs against the Chiefs. I mean, that's pretty crazy. I will take the Chiefs though, minus 12.5, because I have zero faith in Malik Willis, especially after they refused to design the offense around him. In his first game, he just handed the ball off to Derrick Henry every single play. I don't think that's going to work against the Chiefs. And then I will take the Ravens minus 2 against the Saints in New Orleans. And there we have it. Those are my picks against the spread. Again, you can come to the YouTube live to see those. Again, if you're watching live on YouTube, smash the like button. If you're watching live on TikTok, hit the follow button. We'll be getting back to some of those comments now in the TikTok and YouTube live. Best player prop from you and Walter. Yeah, so I do really like this one. And this actually is from both me and Walter. Christian Kirk over 56.5 receiving yards is the free player prop of the day. This one really does feel just too easy. And I've been excited about this week for Christian Kirk for about a month now, because people are really sleeping on Kirk right now because of his really tough schedule of the last 3 weeks. He's played the Colts, the Broncos. Those are the two top defenses against receivers. The two top defenses against receivers. He's played two of those teams in the last 3 games. And then in between those teams, he played the Giants, who are also a top 10 secondary against receivers for fantasy football this season. So he's played 3 straight top 10 defenses. Now he gets the Raiders, who are crumbling. And I really think Christian Kirk easily goes over 60 yards. This week, I think he sees 7+ targets this week, and he still is the clear number 1 option for Trevor Lawrence. So I really do like Christian Kirk. Sam, Isaiah Likely or Higbee full PPR? I'm going Likely, Joey. I'm going Likely. And Joey, I'm happy for all the Isaiah Likely people out there, because I was really nervous I was going to come into this Sunday morning live stream and we still weren't going to know the status of Mark Andrews, because that would have really made probably me change my answer here. I probably would have said Higbee if we didn't know if Andrews was out, but we know Andrews is out, and that's really helpful for fantasy. Isaiah Likely is my number 2 tight end this week. I mean, you should really be excited if you have Isaiah Likely, unless you also had Mark Andrews. You should be excited if you have Isaiah Likely, because he is the top option for Lamar Jackson this week. It's not Devin Duvernay. It's not Kenyon Drake. It's not Demarcus Robinson. It's Isaiah Likely. We saw it on Thursday night against the Bucs. I think we'll see it on Monday night against the Saints. The Saints have been pretty good against tight ends, but Likely could also be used more like a receiver. I mean, he could be really in that Mark Andrews type role. So yeah, I do really like Isaiah Likely this week. The only tight ends I'm really starting over Isaiah Likely this week are Zach Ertz, Travis Kelce. I think obviously you're starting Kelce. I think there's a pretty good argument for Zach Ertz being the second safest tight end though this week against the Seahawks. A big mess of a start here. Need 1 RB from Swift, Connor, and Dillon. Flex could be any of those, or London, or Likely half PPR. Yeah, so again, I usually hate starting 2 tight ends. I don't think starting Likely here is bad, though. I would probably start Likely over London and all of those running backs. Between Swift, Connor, and Dillon, I still feel like half PPR. It's between Swift and Dillon. I don't want anything really to do with James Conner. Not fantasy related, but who you got for TDs today, trying to make a parlay. So Chris Godwin has not scored a touchdown this season. I do really feel like that's going to change very soon. I also like the odds with Christian Kirk. I'd say Godwin, Kirk, probably are going to get some pretty solid odds with those 2 guys. Also pretty interested in Dion Jackson. Not sure what his odds are at, but again, I think he goes 15+ touches this week, even against a good Patriots defense. I think pretty good chance of Dion Jackson having a pretty good day and finding the end zone. Is Connor not out? No, Connor is not out, but I do think he's still a bench. It'll be interesting to see how healthy he really is and how much run he gets. But I think Benjamin has earned a role in that offense and will still play. And James Conner was already pretty bad. Good morning, Sam. Looking for a wide receiver 2. Who you like more, Duvernay or Rondale Moore in PPR? Everyone go peep the Walter app too, by the way. Help me every week. Yeah, Justin, thanks for that shout. Check out the WalterPicks app, especially if I can't get to everyone starts sits. I tried my best to answer as many comments as I can. I probably answer thousands of comments over the 3 hours of this live stream I do every Sunday morning, and I still can't get to all the start sits. So the best place to go to get custom projections, custom to your league settings, custom to your league roster settings and scoring settings. It's completely free to download, completely free to try out. Go to the WalterPicks app. It's in the iOS and Android app store. You can just search WalterPicks, or you can go to the YouTube description or the TikTok bio, and you can download the app. It's really a great place to help with your start sit, trade decisions, and everything else you do for fantasy. All right. Duvernay, Rondale Moore. Yeah, this one's super close for sure. Rondale Moore, again, he's coming off arguably his best game of his career. I think big game as a rookie. maybe this isn't his best game of his career, but it felt like one of the best Rondale Moore games we've seen. It was his best game this season. He played 95% of the snaps. He ran a season high 45 routes. He had 8 targets, 7 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown. That could easily be Rondale Moore's best game of the season, though, like moving forward, too. So I'm not fully bullish on Rondale Moore. It actually was his second best game of his career. By the way, both of his best games of his career, now that I'm looking at this, both of them came against the Vikings. Last year, his second game of his career, 24.4 PPR points. He had 7 catches, 114 yards against the Vikings. This year, Rondale Moore, he had 7 catches, 92 yards, 23.4 points against the Vikings. Both games he scored. So yeah, I think I would go Duvernay. That's a long-winded answer, but yeah, I would go Duvernay over Rondale Moore. Likely or Fant? Yeah, I definitely think it's likely. Again, look at the rankings here at the bottom of the YouTube Live for my top 15 tight end rankings. You got to go likely over Noah Fant, I think, for sure. Let me pull up my wide receiver rankings here on the YouTube Live. If you're watching live on YouTube, smash the like button. If you're watching live on TikTok, hit the follow button. Really do appreciate that. Dion Jackson versus Deontay Foreman. I have them back-to-back in my running back rankings. I do give Dion Jackson the slight edge because my mindset's always in PPR, and I do think Dion Jackson has a higher ceiling in PPR leagues than Deontay Foreman, but both are in really similar spots. Both have basically zero competition this week. Chuba Hubbard's out again. Jonathan Taylor out. Nyheim Hines in Buffalo now. Dion Jackson had 10 targets, 10 catches last time he was in this situation. I don't think he has 10 catches today, but he probably has at least 5 targets. Why bench those players? Yeah, so there's a bunch of players I have as must benches on the TikTok Live. Again, come to the YouTube Live to see my top 15 rankings, every position, and my picks against the spread and my DraftKings lineup as well. Let me pull my picks against the spread one more time on the YouTube Live. But yeah, so here's the guys I really think that you need to be benching. You got to bench all the Rams running backs. I mean, how can we possibly get a feel for these Rams running backs? I want nothing to do with Cam Akers. I want nothing to do with Ronnie Rivers. And I mean, the fact that we even have to talk about those two guys gives me no confidence in Darrell Henderson either. Kyron Williams is not back yet, but still, I mean, just a massive backfield. No production from that backfield this whole season. The offensive line is in complete shambles. Don't start any of the Rams running backs. Jacoby Myers is much riskier this week than usual. He's still probably going to lead the Patriots in targets, but the Colts have not allowed, they've only allowed one wide receiver to go over 90 yards this season. They have been the number 2 defense against wide receivers for fantasy football. DeAndre Swift, still not at full health. Jamal Williams going to outtouch him probably this week. Going to continue to see those goal line carries. I think Swift has a really low floor if he doesn't score a touchdown. David Montgomery is definitely riskier. Now, with Khalil Herbert playing really well, I think Khalil Herbert has made a pretty good case for this to be a 50-50 split backfield, but that's not where it is yet. So I think David Montgomery is probably the weakest must bench on this list. I think Allen Robinson is also really risky against the Buccaneers. And this one's pretty detailed. Allen Robinson has been very good against man coverage and very, very bad against zone coverage. So that's why I'm concerned against the Bucs, because they run almost exclusively zone coverage. I will say A-Rob, with all the buys, he still has some upside coming off the bye too. Maybe the Rams figure out how to use A-Rob a little bit better than they have. I also think James Conner is really risky this week. He has not been good all season. His best game came back in week 1. He's coming off an injury. Let's see how healthy he is. And let's see how much Benjamin's still involved, I think, in this game before starting James Conner again. Caleb Huntley also it needs to be relegated to the bench with Cordero Patterson back. And then Robert Woods, all the Titans pass catchers, all the Titans, except for Derrick Henry, need to be benched this week, with Malik Willis looking likely to start on Sunday Night Football. Dion Jackson or Kenyon Drake. Yeah, I would go Dion Jackson over Kenyon Drake. I did just lose that comment, but I would definitely start Isaiah Likely over Robert Tonyan for the comment that was just up on the YouTube Live. Let me pull up my tight end rankings again. You got to start Isaiah Likely. That's the biggest takeaway, I think, from my tight end rankings. I have him ranked number 2. He's number 2. It goes Travis Kelce, Isaiah Likely. And that might feel a little aggressive to you guys, but I mean, just think about it. Mark Andrews is out. Rashad Bateman is out. And Isaiah Likely's the top target left. He was the number 3 target for the Ravens going into the season. And the top 2 options are out now. And we also know Lamar really likes throwing to tight ends. The Saints are a pretty good defense against tight ends, but we literally just saw it on Thursday night. So it's not even like we're grasping at straws here. We saw Isaiah Likely in this spot, and he did really well. Patterson or Jeff? Yeah, I would definitely play Cordero Patterson over Jeff Wilson. What's your take on Kadarius Toney? Yeah, Raj, thank you for asking this, because I want to give my take on Kadarius Toney. I was somehow, and this happens sometimes for me and sometimes not, with how competitive my leagues are. Like when news breaks and people go scramble to the waiver wire to add guys, when news breaks, like with this Kadarius Toney stuff, with the Isaiah Pacheco stuff a few weeks ago, like you got to really be on the news. And luckily, somehow I got this Kadarius Toney news from our team in Slack, like even before everyone saw it on Twitter. And I added Kadarius Toney in like basically all of my leagues. And that definitely is exciting. I'm excited about Kadarius Toney. I guess this is why the tweet hating unlikely, though. I do not run the Twitter. I do not run the Twitter. Independent sources from our Twitter and me. And these are my rankings. These are not even the WalterPicks app rankings. But yeah, I do going back to the Kadarius Toney take. I feel like people sort of forgot, like, Kadarius Toney is good. Like, we've seen Kadarius Toney be very good. I've been calling him Percy Harvin 2.0 for quite some time. That's partially because of the injury problems, but also partially because I think he's really good. I think Percy Harvin was really good. For those of you old enough to remember Percy Harvin, Kadarius Toney, guys, is very talented. Like, we've seen him be extremely talented in his rookie season on a really bad team. And now he's on the Chiefs, and he's playing, and apparently he is healthy. So I am getting a little bit excited for Kadarius Toney, but the floor is still really, really low. And I don't really think he's a must start this week, but I just will say it feels like people forgot Kadarius Toney is like, he's good. He is good. If he's healthy, he could be really, really good. So I am excited for Kadarius Toney, but obviously we've got to monitor the health and see how much he plays in this first game. All right. Romeo Doubs, Drake London, Evan Ingram, pick 2. Yeah, I'd go these first 2. I would not start 2 tight ends. Take on Gallup. Yeah, I've been pretty disappointed about Michael Gallup so far this season. I do think he still has a good chance to do much better than he's done, but he's really tough to trust right now. Good morning, Sam. Hope you're doing well. Doing great, man. Thanks for tuning in. Michael, we're live on TikTok and YouTube right now. If you're watching live on TikTok, you can see my top 15 rankings, every single position on the YouTube live. Link to that is right in the TikTok bio. Rondale Moore or Juju. Yeah, I would go Juju over Rondale Moore. Very interesting accent you got over the O of the Rondale Moore there. But yeah, I would go Juju over Rondale Moore. Isaiah Pacheco or Tyler Conklin for flex. Yeah, I'd go Pacheco over Conklin. Trade Lendy and Deontay for Jacobs, even with Jacobs' hard schedule. My other running backs are Pierce and Connor. Yeah, I don't hate it. I do prefer Jacobs over Lenny for sure. So if you're not starting Deontay Johnson, then I think it's fine. But if you're starting Deontay Johnson, I don't think I would do that. Hey, Sam, Geno or Justin Fields? Yeah, let me pull up my QB rankings. They're actually already up. I do think this one's really close. I do really like Justin Fields, though. This week, I will say I think he has a pretty high floor with how much he's been running. But Geno Smith against the Cardinals is also definitely in play. So, yeah, I actually do have Geno Smith 2 spots ahead of Justin Fields. I'd say Justin Fields' floor is maybe just a little bit higher because of the rushing. But Geno's ceiling is really high. Both Metcalf and Lockett are playing this week. Tom Brady or Justin Fields? We do have Justin Fields ranked ahead of Tom Brady. Tom Brady's risky. With the Rams coming off the bye. Dion, Patterson, Foreman, or Davis in rankings as flex, please. Yeah, so I'd probably – Gabe Davis is a tough one. Obviously, against the Jets, Gabe Davis still does not have a game over 4 catches this season, making him really hard to rank. I mean, I don't know if there's a receiver harder to rank than Gabriel Davis because he's probably not going over 4 catches, but he could still go over 100 yards and multiple touchdowns. I mean, he scored a touchdown in over 1/4 of his catches this season. I mean, that's just ridiculous. But yeah, I would probably go Deion Jackson and Deontay Foreman ahead of Gabe Davis. I would go Gabe Davis probably ahead of Cordero Patterson. So I guess I would go Dion, Foreman, Gabe Davis, Patterson. The Rams are not coming off the bye. Sorry. I think they have the bye next week. I don't know why I keep saying they're coming off the bye. Let me pull up the Rams schedule really quick. Maybe it's the bye next week. Why do I keep? I swear. Wait, let me pull this up. They're not coming off the bye. They had the bye in week 7. So they're 2 games off the bye. So yeah, it's just straight up incorrect. Just straight up incorrect. They're not coming off the bye. Robbie, thank you, man. Thank you. This is why I need you guys in the comments. I need you guys keeping me honest in the comments. But yeah, I do still think Allen Robinson is pretty risky this week. Even more risky now that I know for sure he's not coming off the bye. Swift, Jamal Williams, Deion Jackson, pick 2 PPR. Yeah, so I would go Jamal Williams and Deion Jackson over Swift. For sure, I'm going Deion Jackson over Swift. And then Jamal versus Swift, I mean, like this is the crux of why I'm benching Swift, right? Because I think Jamal Williams is going to touch the ball more than Swift. So I feel compelled to rank Jamal Williams ahead of Swift this week. I would play Jamal Williams over Cordell Patterson as well. Ingram or Pitts, I would go Pitts over Evan Ingram for sure. Why bench James Conner? Because he has not been good at all this season. He's coming off an injury. And I do think Eno Benjamin has earned a little bit bigger of a role with James Conner having been out for a while. Good morning, Sam. Had a question about which receivers I should start this week. Good morning, Wilson. And flexible PPR. I have Olave, Palmer, Lazard, and Duvernay. Yeah, so you certainly have to start Olave. And I think you play Palmer too. I would play Palmer over Duvernay. I would play all these guys over Lazard, though. I definitely wouldn't trust Lazard much this week. We don't even know for sure Lazard is playing yet. I have Kenyon Drake right now as flex. Do I keep him or pick someone up? If that's the case, then who? Yeah, Kenyon Drake's a fine flex. There's no Gus Edwards this week. So he's a fine flex. It's just him and Justice Hill in that backfield. Swift or Herbert? God, I think I would probably go Swift over Khalil Herbert, but yeah, it's definitely relatively close. Cam Akers will be active this week. Will be active. Very interesting. Do you think that Kirk for Godwin is a good trade? Yeah, I would definitely do that. As much as I think Kirk's being slept on, I like Godwin more. And I think Godwin's being slept on too. Chris Godwin has not scored a touchdown. He hasn't scored a touchdown this season. He has like almost 400 yards and no TDs. That is ridiculous. He's averaging 60 yards a game and no touchdowns. Geno or Tua? Yeah, I do have Tua, I think, ranked ahead of Geno. It is a better matchup for Geno, but Tua's just been so good. Pitts are likely. Yeah, so I personally would be going likely over Pitts. I personally would go likely over Pitts. Again, I do like Isaiah Likely. I know the person running our Twitter just tweeted out that he doesn't like Isaiah Likely. I totally disagree. I think Isaiah Likely is a really, really good option this week without Mark Andrews, without Rashad Bateman. The Saints have been really good against tight ends, but Likely is the number one option for Lamar Jackson this week. So yeah, I do like him a decent amount. Kyrie, good morning, Sam. What do you think is going to win? I can't break down your entire matchup and who's going to win. I'm sorry. That's just too much for this live stream. Is Mark Ingram a good pickup for future and RB rankings, please? No, Mark Ingram, not a good pickup. Not a good pickup at all. Connor or Juju? Mark Ingram has been confirmed toast for quite some time now. I would play Juju over James Conner this week. AJ Dillon or Khalil Herbert, happy PR. Yeah, I would go AJ Dillon over Khalil Herbert. Why bench Jacoby Myers? It's because of the Colts defense. Colts defense has only allowed one receiver to go over 90 yards this season, and that was last week. That was Terry McScorin. But yeah, I still think Jacoby is just a much lower ceiling this week against a really, really good Colts secondary in a game that I do think the Patriots will run a ton. Meanwhile, with Damian Harris out, Ramondre Stevenson's a top 5 running back again this week. I've ranked number 3, I think, in the WalterPicks app. Walter has him ranked number 2. Again, check out the WalterPicks app if you guys haven't checked that out yet. Completely free to download and try out. Link is in the TikTok bio, YouTube description. If I can't get to your start sit, even if I can get to your start sit, the best place to go is the WalterPicks app. It does also adjust for your custom scoring settings. Hey, Sam, Dillon or Robinson, full PPR. Walter says Robinson. Is this Brian Robinson or James Robinson or Allen Robinson? I mean, there's so many Robinsons, Ryan, and I hate to put you on the spot, but this is similar to the Moore stuff, like Rondale Moore, DJ Moore, Sky Moore. There's so many Moores, there's so many Robinsons. I'm assuming you mean Brian Robinson. And personally, I do think Brian Robinson touches the ball probably more than AJ Dillon this week, so I'm okay going Brian Robinson over Dillon. I would not play James Robinson over Dillon, and I don't think I'd play Allen Robinson over Dillon either. DeAndre Carter or Allen Robinson. Again, I'm nervous for Allen Robinson this week. I think it is not a good spot for him. He has been really bad against zone coverage this season, and the Buccaneers run almost exclusively zone. So I'm nervous for Allen Robinson, and I do think DeAndre Carter is in a similarly good spot compared to A-Rob. I would go DeAndre Carter over A-Rob. And I do like DeAndre Carter and Josh Palmer a lot. They're playing the Falcons. The Falcons have had at least one receiver go over 12.5 points basically every single game. They've had multiple games where multiple receivers have gone over 20 points. Justin Herbert is not going to be stopped by this Falcons defense, I don't think. Morning, Geno Smith or Kirk Cousins. Good morning, Blake. How we doing in the YouTube live? Let me pull my QB rankings. I actually think I do have both Kirk and Geno here. And yeah, I do have Geno decently amount ahead of Kirk Cousins, though I will say Kirk Cousins is not in a bad spot this weekend. Justin Jefferson's going to go nuclear this week. I have Justin Jefferson as my number one receiver. Actually, I wrote him here twice. One sec. Sorry about that. I do think Justin Jefferson is my number 1 receiver this week, though. And it's tough. It's a tough spot to get that number 1 receiver spot. We got Stephon Diggs. We got Cooper Kupp. We got Tyreek Hill. We got Devontae Adams. Even DeAndre Hopkins maybe has a case for that number 1 spot. But to me, it is Justin Jefferson. I think he goes over 100 yards this week. I think he scores a touchdown. I think he could completely blow the lid off that game. So I do like Justin Jefferson a lot. And for the same reason, I think Kirk Cousins can be played. And part of the reason I do like the Vikings passing attack today too is the Vikings defense has been so bad. They've been almost like a pseudo Lions team where their defense is so bad it pumps up their offense's fantasy numbers. I do like Justin Jefferson a lot this week. He's my number 1 wide receiver. Why bench Jacoby Myers again? It is because of the Colts defense. Dion Jackson, Swift, Michael Carter, Kirk, James Conner, Jacoby, pick 3. Yeah, you got to start Dion Jackson. You have to start Dion Jackson. I think you have to start Christian Kirk out of all these guys. And with what's left, I would go Michael Carter over James Conner. I would go Michael Carter over DeAndre Swift. I would go Michael Carter over Jacoby Myers. But the last option there is, I think, tough. I think the first two choices here, though, of Deion Jackson and Christian Kirk are honestly pretty straightforward. Eno Benjamin or James Conner. I'd go James Conner over Eno Benjamin. Eno Benjamin obviously cannot be started with James Conner back. But Jacob, I won't be shocked if Eno outscores him, and I won't be shocked if Eno plays more than people are expecting. Terry McLaurin or Deontay Foreman. This is a floor ceiling question here to me. I do usually lean towards the ceiling. That's just sort of my natural tendency to take risks for potential rewards, and that is what I would do here, and I would go with Terry McLaurin. I am also playing Terry McLaurin in my DraftKings lineup. I do have a lot of faith in him against the Vikings. I was just talking about the Vikings defense. They've been really, really bad. I mean, really bad. One of the worst defenses in the NFL so far this season is the Vikings. Their defense has made up for it, though. But yeah, I do think that, the Vikings have allowed the 10th most points to wide receivers this season. Terry McLaurin's coming off a really impressive game against the Colts. Terry McLaurin, the only wide receiver this season to go over 90 yards against the Colts. He had over 100 yards last week. And we also just saw Rondale Moore, DeAndre Hopkins just completely torch this Vikings defense last week. They combined for 47 points last week. So yeah, I do like Terry McLaurin ceiling just a ton this week. I think you got to go Terry McLaurin over Deontay Foreman, even though Foreman's locked into pretty considerable volume. Do you like Rondale Moore this week? I don't love him this week. No, I'm not really fully bought into the Rondale Moore stuff. I think the Vikings defense is really bad. And I also think that Rondale Moore's floor is still really, really low. RB rankings. I'm putting my running back rankings again here on the YouTube Live. Again, if you come to the YouTube Live, if you're watching live on TikTok, come to the YouTube Live. You can see my top 15 rankings, every single position. Why bench Swift? He's just not seeing his full allotment of work because of his injury. I had Andrews, but someone drafted or picked up Isaiah Likely. Yeah, you hate to see it. And there are some tight ends I think that you can pick up. Let me pull up my tight end rankings again. Thanks, Sam. I got you, Joe. Brian Robinson or Kenyon Drake. Yeah, that one's pretty close. I think I'd probably go Brian Robinson, but it's definitely close. I think that the Saints defense is better than the Vikings defense against the run. I'll pull my tight end rankings. I do think Foster Moreau, he's not the worst deep tight end dart throw with Darren Waller out. Definitely some potential there. I also don't hate Noah Fant as like a super deep sleeper at tight end either if you're really scraping the bottom of the barrel. Josh Palmer or DJ Moore. I would go DJ Moore over Josh Palmer, even though I do like Josh Palmer a lot this week. Josh Palmer, by the way, the two guys locked into all my DraftKings lineups this week are Josh Palmer and Dion Jackson. Josh Palmer, Dion Jackson. Josh Palmer, the number one passing option, maybe only after Austin Eckler, against the Falcon secondary that has stopped literally zero people this season. And then we also have Dion Jackson with zero competition. I mean, he's got no competition. That really raises his floor tremendously. Jonathan Taylor out this week. Nyheim Hines is on the Bills now. Zach Moss is not good and not ready and fully up to speed. He might not even play. Phillip Lindsay, promoted from the practice squad, is considerably behind Dion Jackson. So yeah, I do like Dion Jackson even against a good Patriots defense. So yeah, I got my tight end rankings here for the streaming tight end recommendation. Start Jamal Williams or Swift. Yeah, so the reason I think Swift is a bench is because, yeah, I would start Jamal Williams over because I think Jamal Williams out-touches Swift again. We literally just saw it last week, and I think we're going to see it again this week. At least that's what they've been saying. Like, they've been publicly saying that's sort of going to continue to be the case. Drake, Pacheco, Edwards, Hilaire. Yeah, I would go Drake with Gus Edwards out. It's Drake and it's Justice Hill. And then also with Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman out. Like, there's very few options all of a sudden for the Ravens. I think Drake and Likely are very startable this week. DK or Christian Kirk. Full PPR. Is it risky to start Kirk if I already have ETN at running back? I would not be playing Christian Kirk over DK Metcalf, and it's not like necessarily risky. It does raise the floor, but it also lowers the ceiling a little bit, right? It's more likely that at least one of Christian Kirk, ETN have a good game, but it's less likely that both of them will. So it sort of raises the floor and lowers the ceiling in that sense. But I'm generally not afraid to start two guys from the same team if that's just the right thing to do. But in this spot, I don't think it's the right thing to do. I would play DK Metcalf over Christian Kirk. The other way, guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube right now. Come to the YouTube Live to see my top 15 rankings, every single position, to see my DraftKings on it, my picks against the spread, my favorite player prop pick, all on the YouTube Live. I can also pull up comments on the YouTube Live, just easier than the TikTok Live. So it really is a better viewing experience. And you're like two presses of your finger away for watching live on the TikTok live, it's right in the TikTok bio to come to the YouTube live. So come over to the YouTube live for just a little bit better viewing experience. And also a lot of the start sits I'm seeing in the TikTok live will be answered immediately. Just coming to the YouTube live and seeing my top 15 rankings, every single position. Let me pull up my QB rankings one more time. Hey, Sam, hope you're having a good morning. I'm having a great morning, man. It's Sunday morning. It's the best day of the week. We have an exciting slate of games ahead of us. I need 3. Who do I start? Lazard, DK, Terry McLaurin, Kirk, and Boyd. All these are pretty good options. You're not starting Allen Lazard, though. Bench Allen Lazard for sure. We don't even know Lazard's playing yet. He's one of the guys we're still waiting on an actual report from. He's really like the last guy that we're waiting for. Sounds like TJ Hawkinson's going to get a decent amount of run today. That'll be interesting. All right, so going back to this question of DK, McLaurin, Kirk, and Boyd. Let me pull up my wide receiver rankings. I think a lot of these guys are on these rankings. We got DK Metcalf. He should be started. I do think Christian Kirk should be started. But yeah, actually, I think Kirk might be the one to bench here, actually. I think you got to start DK, McLaurin, and Boyd. And I do like Kirk a lot this week. But yeah, I think Boyd is a better option than Christian Kirk. I think DK is a better option than Christian Kirk. I think McLaurin has to be started. McLaurin has to be started against the Vikings. Justice Hill or Caleb Huntley. I like Justice Hill more than Caleb Huntley. There's just less in front of Justice Hill than there is Caleb Huntley. Caleb Huntley has to compete with Tyler Algier and Cordell Patterson. Justice Hill's only competing really with Kenny Drake. So yeah, I think I would go Justice Hill. Why is Foreman in front of Dalvin Cook? It's just because Foreman has less competition than Dalvin Cook. He has less competition. I think he's probably going to get more touches than Dalvin. Dalvin did lose a goal line carry to Alexander Madison last week. Dalvin has been one of these guys that's been pretty tough to rank. I think there's definitely a good case to be starting Dalvin over Deontay Foreman. He's playing the Commanders. They've given up. They've been 14th best against running backs this season. Dalvin obviously coming off a good game, 20 carries, 111 yards. Foreman obviously coming off a good game though too. So let's not discount what Foreman did last week either. And again, Chuba Hubbard's out again. Alexander Madison's not. I do see the Vikings throwing a lot in this game too. So it's close. I mean, both guys are definitely starts though. Both guys are definitely starts. Deion Jackson, Mixon, Foreman. Oh God, yeah. These are tough choices here with the running backs. There's a lot of good running back options this week. Definitely feels like a pretty plentiful running back week. I do have Joe Mixon one spot ahead of Deion Jackson, who's one spot ahead of Deion Foreman. I have these guys 9, 10, 11. Sergio, 9, 10, 11. So I mean, it's really a tough choices here between these 3 running backs. But personally, I do think Joe Mixon's probably the safest bet. Gerald Everett or Likely. I like Likely more than Gerald Everett. I see TikToks telling me to start people, and others say to bench them. Don't listen to these clowns. Clowns, says Max. Clowns. The funny thing I'll say about this is like, it feels like obviously there's a lot of negativity on TikTok, which stinks. I like positivity. I like trying to be a positive influence, and both positivity and negativity extremely contagious. But I will say the negativity that we're seeing on like the fantasy TikTok world, in the sports TikTok world, it's like all the other platforms. And regardless of what platform you're getting your insights on, whether it be TikTok, Twitter, whatever sites you're using or news sources you're using, like you're going to eventually find 2 people with differing opinions. The important part is the process behind people's opinions. What is the process that's leading these people to telling you to start someone versus not telling you to start someone? That's what you should really care about. That's what we should be discussing. We shouldn't be going back and forth, trashing people for having bad takes or good takes, like looking backwards and analyzing people's picks, whether or not they were right or wrong, is almost actually worse. It's worse than just analyzing the actual process, because sometimes the right process leads to the wrong results, and sometimes the wrong process leads to the right results. So we're just like in a rabbit wheel or what a hamster wheel, just going around in circles on the whole like, oh, you did horrible picking this week. It's like, well, you should really be focused on the process. Like retrospect is always a lot different. So yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. If you think all the TikTok people are clowns, like you should really be just focused more on who you're getting your info from and what's going into their analysis, not just their actual exact picks. All right, Yo Sam, how's it going? Could you do 2? Duvernay, Rondale Moore, Mooney, Mostert. Yeah, this one's definitely close as well. I mean, Mostert has a good matchup against the Bears. The Bears' run defense has not been good this season. I'm a tiny bit nervous about Jeff Wilson being involved, and Jeff Wilson does have familiarity with this offense and coaching staff already, so that's definitely possible. I personally would be benching Rondale Moore in this spot. Honestly, I think Duvernay, Mostert are probably who I would go with, though Mooney is definitely an option as well, though I'm a little nervous for Mooney with Claypool there now too. So yeah, I think I'd probably go Mostert and Duvernay. Hey Sam, great day for some football as always, man. Connor, Dylan, Dion, Palmer, London, pick 3. Yeah, I would probably go Deion Jackson, Josh Palmer, and then I don't want to start James Conner. I do think Drake London has some sneaky appeal this week. A.J. Dillon does too against the Lions. I mean, between London and Dillon, I think it's super, super close. I think Dion and Palmer are really easy top 2 options out of these guys. Personally, I think it's a floor ceiling debate here as well. Dillon's going to see close to 10 carries against a bad Lions defense. I think he does go over 40 yards today, but he needs to score a touchdown to have any sort of ceiling. So I think his floor is good. London, his floor is 0 points. His ceiling is much higher, though, I think, than Dillon. So yeah, I personally would go A.J. Dillon, Dion Jackson, Josh Palmer, but I do think London could be considered over A.J. Dillon. Connor or Eno, I like Connor more than Eno, but I don't trust either of them this week because I don't know how much Eno is going to be involved. I think it's going to be probably more than people expect. Rodgers or Fields. Let me pull my QB rankings again on the YouTube Live again. If you're watching live on TikTok, come to the YouTube Live. You can see my top 15 rankings, every single position, plus my picks against the spread, plus my DraftKings lineup. And I do think I have Justin Fields just a few spots ahead of Aaron Rodgers. This week, I like the matchup for Aaron Rodgers. I'm not going to lie, but I also like the matchup for Justin Fields. Against the Dolphins, the Dolphins have been bottom 5 in fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks this season. Justin Fields has been running a ton. Fields has a pretty good floor, guys. He's got a pretty good floor. I mean, 15-plus point floor with how much he's rushing. He's gone over 40 rushing yards now, I think, in 5 or 6 consecutive games. He has an 80 rushing yard game in there, too. And yeah, the Dolphins have allowed the 6th most fantasy points to quarterbacks this season. Jared Goff just had 25 points against them. Kirk Cousins just went over 20 points against them. I mean, hell, Zach Wilson even went over 15 points against them. We saw Lamar Jackson back in week 2 rip off 58 points against them. He had 119 rushing yards in that game. We've seen Josh Allen rush for 47 yards. Yeah, Justin Fields is in a really good spot. Justin Fields has gone now over 19 points in 4 straight games. So yeah, I like Fields a lot. I think Fields is also, if you're playing head-to-head contest, cash contest, on DraftKings or FanDuel, I think Fields is a really, really good option at his price on DraftKings as well. Morning, Sam. If Jeff Wilson worth starting in any leagues? Nope. Jeff Wilson not worth starting. I don't think in any leagues. I would play Isaiah Likely over Evan Ingram. I would play Isaiah Likely basically over everyone except for Travis Kelce and Zach Ertz. I think Zach Ertz is safer than Likely. I still have Likely ranked ahead of Zach Ertz, though, because I think Likely's ceiling is higher than Zach Ertz's ceiling. Likely is the top option for Lamar after the running game. It's going to be Isaiah Likely in the passing game against the Saints. Hey, Sam, a couple of questions for you. Should I start Duvernay or Dobbs? I personally do like Duvernay just a tiny bit more than Romeo Dobbs, but we're also waiting on the Allen Lazard news. If Allen Lazard is out, then I would change my answer. I would go Dobbs over Duvernay. A.J. Dillon or Brian Robinson. I would go Brian Robinson over A.J. Dillon. I do think Brian Robinson gets more touches. And then also start 2 between Jamal Williams, Swift, Connor, Eno. Yeah, we're benching Connor and Eno. So it honestly is like a safe play. It's a safe play, a low ceiling but safe play to just play Jamal and Swift. Combined, they're going to see 20-plus touches. They're going to see goal line carries. Like, playing both really is a safe approach if you do have both of them. Good morning, Sam. How's your day going so far? It's going great, man. It's been a great Sunday morning live so far. We're only like an hour and a half in. We got like another hour and a half at least to go. So it's a good day, man. A great Sunday to be alive. Should I trade A.J. Brown and Hunter Renfrow for Keenan Allen and Amon-Ra St. Brown? Yeah, you're getting Amon-Ra. I would prefer, I think, A.J. Brown over Amon-Ra, though it is really close. And then Hunter Renfrow, Keenan, I mean, they've both been pretty dust this season. Hunter Renfrow has 0 games over 10 points, and Keenan Allen just has not been on the field. It's tough for me to get behind Keenan Allen right now. So yeah, I don't see much upside to this trade, if I'm being honest. Lots of buys. Yeah, really, really tough bye week. Would you start Eno or pick someone up? If so, any suggestions? Yeah, I would not start Eno. It's really tough to trust Eno with James Conner back. I would be trusting Justice Hill, for example. Justice Hill, I would trust over Eno Benjamin this week. Isaiah Pacheco, I would trust over Eno Benjamin this week if those guys are available. Desperate for a flex. Should I go Terrace Marshall or Brian Robinson? Yeah, I like Terrace Marshall. I'm not going to lie. I do like Terrace Marshall. He is coming off his best game of his career last week. And let me pull up the numbers for Terrace Marshall. He was playing the Falcons. So we got to take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. There's very few matchups that are as good as playing the Falcons if you're a receiver. That's why I like Josh Palmer so much this week. But he did play a season high, a career high, 90% of the snaps. And he saw a career high 9 targets last week. He had 87 yards, and he also had almost 100 air yards, really deep targets for Terrace Marshall. So yeah, I don't hate Terrace Marshall at all this week. I do think Brian Robinson's a much safer play than Terrace Marshall. Terrace Marshall up against the Bengals this week, though, and the Bengals secondary has been completely decimated. So I like Terrace Marshall's ceiling. I would be playing Terrace Marshall over Brian Robinson, but Brian Robinson is locked into way more volume than Terrace Marshall. So I do think he's safer. Would you start Cordell Patterson or Swift? I'd start CPAT over Swift. Start Tua against Chicago or Rodgers versus the Lions. I would start Tua against Chicago over Rodgers versus the Lions. It's tough, right? Because the Bears are a much better defense than the Lions, but Tua has been so much better than Rodgers that I really feel like you still have to go Tua. Good morning, Sam. Long timer here. Yusuf, thanks for tuning in, man. Hey, Taysom Hill or Tunyon? Yeah, I do think I have Tunyon over Taysom Hill. Let me pull these tight end rankings up. I actually think it's super close here, and it is. Yeah, I have Tunyon one spot ahead of Taysom Hill, so it's super close. But Tunyon definitely is an interesting option this week. He's in a pretty good matchup. He's coming off a pretty good game as well. And again, if Lazard is out, Tunyon gets even a lot better than he already is. Robert Tunyon playing the Lions. I mean, the Lions, again, they've been horrible this season, and Robert Tunyon now is coming off a game with his highest snap share of the league of the season, 83% snap share for Tunyon. He's finally up to full speed. He had 5 targets last week. He 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, he had 10 targets against the Jets. I do think Tunyon has some interesting appeal this week. My man, Sam, help, half PPR, half point PPR, Fournette or Palmer at flex. You got to go Fournette over Palmer. I mean, it's definitely, I understand where you're coming from here, and I do like Palmer a lot this week too, but you can't bench him for Fournette, who's almost definitely going to see 15 plus touches. All right, what do you think about starting Kadarius Toney over Jamal Williams? I wouldn't do it. I feel like the hope, if you're starting Kadarius Toney, the hope is he scores a touchdown. Like he gets schemed some sort of red zone touch and he scores a touchdown. But if he doesn't score a touchdown, I mean, there's almost no hope for Kadarius Toney. And then like when you compare that next to Jamal Williams, I mean, there's some pretty good chance Jamal scores a touchdown too. A better chance for sure that Jamal Williams scores a touchdown than Kadarius Toney scores a touchdown. We got Weatherman Sam. Weatherman Sam comments in the TikTok live. Let me get up. Let me see YouTube comment. If we get a Weatherman Sam YouTube comment, I can pull up on the YouTube live as well. It's time to break down the weather today because we have not broken down the weather yet. Today there is some weather to be aware of, as always, but nothing too scary today. Weatherman Sam is back again every week part time as a weatherman. We got to be aware just generally of the weather for these NFL games. Weatherman Sam, Xavier, you snuck in your own question here too, but let's go with the weather first. Weatherman Sam back again. So first of all, no major concerns from a weather. We'll start with a headline. No major concerns from a weather perspective today. The windiest game today is the Dolphins-Bears game. Wind up to 17 miles an hour in that game. But guys, we are not going to see, I don't think, a single drop of rain today. And there's no wind over 25 miles an hour. So another week not to be concerned about the weather. Actually, some really warm weather across the league today. We got over 70 degrees and no real concern of wind, no rain in the Bengals game, in the Patriots game, in the Jets game, in the Commanders game, in the Buccaneers game. We got 4 dome games this week too, between the Saints, the Cardinals, the Lions, and the Falcons. No weather to be concerned about. That's Weatherman Sam. 1 minute, Weatherman Sam this week. No weather to be concerned about. That's the end of the weather report for the NFL. Okay, Weatherman Sam is done. Who do I drop on Tuesday to pick up Fields versus Detroit for Lamar bye week? I'd probably drop. We'll see how Duvernay does, but I think it's between Duvernay and Romeo Doubs, maybe even Josh Palmer. But I would not drop Sutton, and I would not drop Najee. Alexander Madison or Ronnie Rivers, I refuse to start Ronnie Rivers. I cannot get behind Ronnie Rivers. I mean, with Cam Akers active too. I mean, Ronnie Rivers floor is 0 points. I mean, we could see a real donut, I think, from Ronnie Rivers. Mariota or Stafford, I do like Mariota more than Stafford. Let me pull up my QB rankings on the YouTube live one more time. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, come to the YouTube live. You'll see my top 15 rankings every single position. What's going on, Sam? Dion or Josh Palmer? I like Dion more than Josh Palmer just because Dion is locked in to volume. And that's why I generally side with these running backs over these starting running backs, over these receivers. Like, I like the ceiling for Josh Palmer this week. I do think we got Ryan Hammer in the YouTube live. Got to pull up Ryan Hammer's comment here. Always love to see Ryan. Let me pull this up. But yeah, I generally like to side with the running back, the starting running backs, because Deion Jackson's locked into 15 plus touches. He could easily go over 20 touches. And I still think Josh Palmer is a pretty good shot at over 20 points against the Falcons secondary as Herbert's top option. But I do side with Deion Jackson's. Deion Jackson's floor is better than Josh Palmer's, and I think his ceiling is similar. Which Lions running back do we start or prefer a guy like A.J. Dillon? Ryan, first of all, great to see you. Hope you're doing well, man. Our OG and previous Jets creator. Hope all is well with you, Ryan. But yeah, the Lions running back situation, it's tough right now for fantasy. Personally, I'm playing Jamal Williams over DeAndre Swift. I would play Jamal Williams over A.J. Dillon as well. I think Jamal Williams, of those 3 guys, has the best chance at a touchdown. I do like A.J. Dillon this week, probably more than I have pretty much for most of the season. I was really, really high on him, too high on him going into this season. And I still have had a hard time quitting on A.J. Dillon. And it feels like this is the spot. If he can't do it this week against the Lions, then when's it going to come? But Aaron Jones is still clearly ahead of A.J. Dillon. I think Jamal Williams out-touches DeAndre Swift, out-touches A.J. Dillon. So I think he has a better chance at a touchdown. But I would rank these guys, though, this week. I would say Jamal Williams, then A.J. Dillon, then DeAndre Swift. Swift is just tough to trust. If Swift doesn't get in the end zone and he only touches the ball 10 times, it's just very hard for me to get behind. Swift, please show QB rankings here from TikTok. Yeah, I got the QB rankings at the bottom of the screen. You can see Aaron Rodgers ranked number 12 this week. All right, Antonio Gibson or Boyd. Yeah, you got to start Boyd this week for sure. Boyd's a really, really high floor, high ceiling play. Josh Palmer, Chris Godwin. I like Josh Palmer, but I'm not benching him for Chris Godwin. I think you've got to start Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin, I still don't get it. How has he not scored a touchdown this season? He's averaging almost 60 yards a game this season and has 0 TDs. I think that changes sooner rather than later. I do like Chris Godwin. It's not even a great matchup. It actually is a pretty good matchup against the Rams. The Rams have been pretty bad against receivers this season. I don't think Jalen Ramsey covers Chris Godwin very much either. So yeah, I would go with Chris Godwin, Jacoby Myers, or Devin Duvernay. It's tough. I almost every week I would be telling you pretty easily this one's Jacoby Myers. But again, the Colts defense I do think should be taken into account. The Colts have only allowed a single receiver to go over 90 yards this season. I would be shocked if Jacoby Myers went over 90 yards this season. Thank you for the gifts, by the way, in the TikTok live. But yeah, I personally think Devin Duvernay is a better option than Jacoby Myers this week against the Colts, who have been really, really good against receivers. They've been number 2, second best team against receivers this season from a fantasy perspective. Cade Otton or Foster Moreau. Yeah, I think I do have Foster Moreau ranked ahead of Cade Otton. Cade Otton had a pretty disappointing week last week, I'm pretty sure. Let me pull this up. Yeah, he was out there. 90% of the snaps, Cade Otton on Thursday night, only 5 targets, 2 catches, 15 yards. I would play Foster Moreau over Cade Otton. It's not a great matchup for Cade Otton against the Rams. Dion Jackson, Swift, or B-Rob. I would rank them Dion Jackson number 1, B-Rob number 2, Swift, I think number 3. Good morning, Sam, the man. Needing some RB help with Swift being limited. Full PPR, Swift, Gibson, B-Rob. I've got Jamal too as a handcuff. I think Jamal Williams is the best guy of all these 4 guys. I would play Jamal Williams over Swift, over Gibson, over Brian Robinson. Gibson, Brian Robinson are interesting too because there's no J.D. McKissick though, and so like playing Gibson is definitely in play this week. Brian Robinson's in play this week. I still feel like Jamal probably is the best chance at a TD though among all these guys. But yeah, it's really tough with the Swift situation. It's really tough for sure to figure out, and it's hard to know exactly how healthy he is going into each of these games. As a reminder, guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. Come over to the YouTube live to see a top 15 rankings every single position. My picks against the spread. Let me pull up the picks against the spread one more time on the YouTube live. We've been live for a couple hours now. It's been a very fun live so far. We're just getting started though. We're still plenty of time till the 1 o'clock games kick off. Got a few questions for you from Daniel in the YouTube live. DJ Moore, Josh Palmer, Mostert, Ertz, or Everett. Yeah, I think I'd go with these first 2 guys over Raheem Mostert. I'd go DJ Moore and Josh Palmer. And then I do really like Fields this week. I think I have Tua ranked ahead of him though. Tua's been so good. It's so hard to bench Tua. Yeah, and I do have Tua 1 spot ahead of Fields. I would say Tua's ceiling is higher than Fields, but Fields' floor is really good. I kind of do want to put Fields honestly ahead of Tua though. Just given the matchups, the Bears defense has been so much better than. I'm going to make this move. We're moving Justin Fields up 1 spot ahead of Tua. I would play Fields over Tua. Again, the rushing is just the high floor of the rushing does it for me. And the Dolphins defense has stopped no quarterbacks this season, but also one of the biggest quarterback games of the season came against the Dolphins, and it was Lamar Jackson's rushing ability that really just destroyed this Dolphins defense. So that does give me some optimism about the ceiling for Justin Fields in this game too. Why bench David Montgomery? Because Khalil Herbert's been more and more involved. I am nervous that Khalil Herbert could steal some valuable touches away from Demont. DJ Moore or Olave. I'm starting Olave over DJ Moore. You can't really bench Olave with no Michael Thomas. Olave's locked in as a top 15 wide receiver, I think, rest of the season. I actually did just make a blockbuster trade in one of my high stakes leagues this week. I gave up Chris Olave. I gave up Joe Mixon, and I got Christian McCaffrey in return. Pretty risky move, giving up 2 of my best assets to get CMC, but I'm feeling okay about it. Tua or Kyler? Yeah, I would rank Kyler ahead of Tua this week. Let me pull my QB rankings again here on the YouTube live. Again, if you come to to the YouTube live. You can see my top 15 rankings every position. Why bench Jacoby is I think the most common comment right now on the TikTok live, because I have him as a must bench, and it's the Colts. I love Jacoby Myers. I think Jacoby Myers is one of the most slept on receivers in the NFL. I've been saying that really since like week 2. But Jacoby Myers has his toughest matchup of the season right now. The Colts have allowed the second fewest fantasy points per game to wide receivers this season. I would not take that lightly. They played some pretty good receivers. They're coming off their worst game against receivers. Last week, they let Terry McLaurin go over 100 yards, but no other receivers gone over 90 yards. Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, neither of them over 75 yards. Christian Kirk, only 24 yards against the Colts. Juju Smith-Schuster, he failed to go over 90 yards. Christian Kirk played them again. He failed to go over 80 yards. Like the true ceiling, I feel like, for Jacoby in this game is a little bit capped. So I think he's just much riskier this week than other weeks. That's why he's on the must bench. But there's two sides to every start-sit decision. So like depending who you're benching for, you still might start. Jacoby Myers. Sam, who's a good waiver wire replacement for Damian Harris? Justice Hill is a guy that's probably available in every single league. He's the number 2 running back for the Ravens this week. He's been pretty good for the Ravens. I could see Justice Hill as a replacement fill-in. Dion Jackson's definitely the guy, but he's probably not available in any leagues at this point. New Chiefs wide receiver Kadarius Toney has recovered from the grade 2 hamstring pull he suffered in week 2 while playing for the Giants. He could have played for KC last week, but the bye week gave him 1 more week to get healthy, and he will be active. Kadarius Toney will be active tonight against the Tennessee Titans. Very excited to see that. All right, please rank PPR: Dillon, Robinson, Gibson, or Hines. Can't start Hines, and Hines definitely has some interesting ceiling, like rest of season on the Bills, but in his first game, I think all of these guys in their first games on their new teams have risk in their first game. They really have to get up to speed. Apparently, TJ Hawkins is going to play a lot. Apparently, Chase Claypool is going to play. Apparently, Kadarius Toney is going to play. But I still think all these guys are pretty risky in their first game. I would probably rank these guys as Robinson, number 1, probably Gibson, number 2, Dillon, number 3, Hines, number 4, but it's definitely close. Sam the man, since Swift is on a limited basis, let me go back to this comment in a second. Jacoby, Rondale, Kenyon Drake, or DeAndre Carter. I'd probably go Kenyon Drake, and it's close. It's definitely close. Honestly, maybe this one is Jacoby Myers over DeAndre Carter over Rondale Moore. I think that's okay. All right, let me get back to this one from Nick. Sam the man, since Swift is on limited role, do I start Swift, Herbert, J. Robinson, or Akers? Yeah, this one you still start Swift. It's between him and Herbert. I would not start James Robinson. I would not start Cam Akers. I'm not trusting any of the Rams running backs at all. And one of them is probably going to outperform expectation, but I mean, just good luck guessing which one. And I mean, God, if it's Ronnie Rivers, I'd be shocked. We got thoughts on Dion Jackson. Yeah, so I have Dion Jackson ranked really high. This week he's my number 10 running back. This week, the last time he was in this spot, he was the number 1 running back in fantasy football. He's a much tougher matchup this week against the Pats. The Pats have been pretty solid against running backs this season. Let me pull it up in front of me here. The New England Patriots have been the second best defense against running backs this season from a fantasy points scored perspective. But that's actually not how I always look at defenses. I also want to know their just total yards allowed. And the Patriots have not been the second best defense in total yards allowed. They've actually been bottom 10 in the NFL in when you look at just total yards allowed, they're much worse. And I do think Dion Jackson sees 15 plus touches today. I do think he has a good chance at a touchdown in this game. So yeah, I do like Dion Jackson this week, a decent amount. I think he's a top 10 option, 15 plus touches. We've seen games where he had 10 targets. He has the Nyheim Hines role and the Jonathan Taylor role in this game. He's zero competition. I mean, zero competition for touches. All right. As a reminder, guys, the best way you could possibly support me is by trying out one of the premium subscriptions in the WalterPicks app that allows you to sync your league to the WalterPicks app for the best possible fantasy insights, custom to your league settings, custom to your league situation. So definitely check that out. I can start as little as $10 a month for those subscriptions in the WalterPicks app. Also, the subscription comes with a completely free 7-day trial. And also, there's all the features in the WalterPicks app this year. Most of them are just completely free to use without the subscription. You just don't get league sync. So you can do as many start-sit comparisons in the WalterPicks app as you want. You can analyze as many trades as you want. It's completely free to download on the iOS and Android app store. So definitely check that out. That's the number 1 way you could possibly support me. And the link to that is in the YouTube description in the TikTok bio. Another reminder for the TikTok live people, you get a little bit better of a live experience in the YouTube live. Link to that is in the TikTok bio. And you can see my top 15 rankings every position in the YouTube live, as well as my picks against the spread and my DraftKings lineup as well. Thoughts on Cordell Patterson rest of the season? I like Cordell Patterson rest of the season for sure. The Falcons have been really good running the ball this season, and it feels like that's their identity this year, and Cordell Patterson's their best running back. Carter or Connor? I would play Carter over Connor. I do not want James Conner. I do not want James Conner this week. Thanks for helping me out, man. Also, Tua or Kirk. Yeah, let me pull up the QB rankings again. I do like Kirk this week, but I do have Tua ranked ahead of him. I would go Tua still over Kirk Cousins. Benjamin or Swift. Yeah, there's a line there. I would go Swift over Benjamin. I want nothing to do with Benjamin this week for sure. Higbee or Hurst. I would rank Higbee ahead of Hurst. By the way, the free player prop today is Christian Kirk over 54.5 receiving yards. Sorry if I didn't. I'm not sure if I answered that last comment that was up there or not. Let me pull this one up. Foreman or Dion Jackson. I have them ranked dead next to each other in my running back rankings. I do like Dion Jackson just a tiny bit more than Foreman, but that's from a PPR context. So you got to check your scoring settings. Points per reception, Dion Jackson does, I think, have an edge over Deontay Foreman. I do think he will catch more passes than him. Drake London or James Conner. I would go Drake London over James Conner. Again, I do not trust James Conner. Terry McLaurin or Josh Palmer. You got to start Terry McLaurin this week. McCole Hardman or Cordell Patterson. I'd go Patterson over Hardman. I know Hardman scored 3 TDs in his last game, but not trusting that on a weekly basis. I would, again, go Terry McLaurin over Josh Palmer. Let me put my picks against the spread one more time on the YouTube Live. Talk through some of these games at a high level again. I do think you got to start Isaiah Likely if you have him. I know our Twitter account just tweeted out like the exact opposite, but I do not run our Twitter account, and I disagree with that tweet. I do think Isaiah Likely is a very, very good option in fantasy this week without Mark Andrews and without Rashad Bateman. Why bench Swift? He's just not seeing his full workload, so I think you can bench him in a lot of spots. Why bench Jacoby Myers is because the Colts defense is really good. Has been really good against receivers this whole season. Boyd or Olave, my man. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday, Robert. It is the best day of the week, man. Both are really good options. I will pull up my wide receiver rankings one more time on the YouTube Live. I think I have both of them as top 12 options, but Olave is number 10. Boyd's number 12. So I would go Olave still over Boyd, but certainly it is close, and Boyd is really good spot. I would play Dion Jackson over Josh Palmer. I do like Deontay Foreman a lot. Fields or Lamar. You still got to go Lamar over Fields. Start Lazard. I don't trust Lazard very much. We don't even know for sure still if he's playing. I still don't think we've gotten the official report on if he's playing or not. Devin Duvernay or Singletary. Yeah, I still do like Singletary this week. I know people are kind of scared about the Nyheim Hines signing. Singletary leads the Bills in touches in this backfield rest of the season and this week for sure in Hines' first game. Plus, they're huge favorites, 10.5-point favorites in New York. The app is amazing and really helpful, but I'm curious for your live opinion. I got you. Likely or Zach Ertz on full PPR. Yeah, so I think Likely versus Zach Ertz is a really interesting one. I do have Likely ranked ahead of Zach Ertz because I still think Likely's ceiling is a little bit higher. But I think you can start Zach Ertz over Likely. And I think Zach Ertz is much safer than Likely. So I would start Zach Ertz over Likely, probably in most situations, full PPR. There's very few tight ends as safe as Zach Ertz. We already saw Zach Ertz play the Seahawks just 3 weeks ago. He had 7 catches, 70 yards, 14 PPR points with no touchdowns. I mean, that's a really strong day from a tight end scoring 14 points with no TDs. He had 10 targets in that game, and he could easily outdo that this week. So yeah, I do think Zach Ertz is safer than Likely, but I actually think it is close. And I do think Likely's ceiling is higher, which is why I do have Math or Jim. I would have to side with Math, but there was a time in my life I might have sided with Jim. All right, Jamal Williams or Gibson, PPR. Oh, this one's so close because with J.D. McKissick out, I do feel like Gibson's ceiling and floor rises a decent amount. He's going to be the pass catching back for the Commanders against a Vikings defense that has not been good. But at the same time, Jamal Williams, I do think leads the Lions backfield in touches. I do kind of want to go with Gibson though. Can you pull up your tight end rankings? Yeah, I do have the tight end rankings up on the YouTube Live. Again, TikTok people come to the YouTube Live. It's just a little bit better of a viewing experience. And it's right in the TikTok bio, and it's still just right on your phone. Why would I bench Jacoby? It's because Jacoby is playing the Colts, and the Colts have been the number 2 defense against receivers this season. Mike Williams is not playing. Keenan Allen is not playing. Both guys not playing. Mike Williams is out, I think, for like a while too. TJ Hawkinson is playing for the Minnesota Vikings this week, and it does sound like he's going to play a lot. I still don't think TJ Hawkinson can be that trusted. I haven't ranked number 14 at tight end this week, but I'm definitely close. Tom Brady or Geno Smith? I would go Geno Smith over Tom Brady. Is this a good trade, Kelsey, for DJ Moore and Kittle? Yeah, Austin, I think we already brought this one up earlier in the live, and I think it's fair. You're certainly giving up the best player in the trade, but I do think it's fair, especially if you need a receiver. Zach Ertz or Gerald Everett? I would go Ertz over Gerald Everett. Again, if you come to the YouTube live, that comment would have been answered right for you on the YouTube live because I got my tight end rankings scrolling right at the bottom of the screen. I would play Raheem Mostert over A.J. Dillon, seeing that comment in the YouTube live. How do you feel about Cordell starting in a flex this week? I don't love it. I don't hate it. The Falcons have been really good running the ball this season. So it's certainly possible against a bad Chargers run defense that Cordell comes back pretty strong. And the fact that he's back, it gives me belief that he's healthy. So yeah, he's a fine flex play. I think he's a fine flex play. It will be very interesting, though, to see how much Caleb Huntley and Tyler Algier are involved and just how much snaps and touches Cordell is getting. Romeo Doubs or Garrett Wilson? I would go Garrett Wilson, and I do think Garrett Wilson's being slept on pretty hard right now. He was slept on last week. He ended up going for over 100 yards against the Pats. This week against the Bills, they are missing a few pieces on their defense too. I do think Garrett Wilson, without Corey Davis, with Elijah Moore seemingly just completely at odds with his own team, I do think Garrett Wilson's locked into a pretty considerable volume. Thoughts on DJ Moore rest of the season? Also, can we get wide receiver rankings up? Thanks for the help today. Got you, Zach. Pull up the wide receiver rankings. And yeah, I think DJ Moore's top 15 wide receiver rest of the season. He's the only talented player on his own team. I did want to get to this question here in the YouTube live too. I thought this was an interesting one. Pull this up. Oh, there's the DraftKings line. I'll pull up the DraftKings lineup here as well. After keep the wide receiver rankings up for a sec, I'll pull up the DraftKings lineup next. We'll talk a little bit about my DraftKings strategy this week. Herbert or Monty? I would go Monty. So Myers is risky this week. It's because the Colts defense is number 2 best against receivers for fantasy this season. So he definitely has a lower floor, higher ceiling, or a lower floor and ceiling than usual. Hit the follow button, by the way, if you're watching live on TikTok. Hit the like button if you're watching live on YouTube. Really do appreciate that. Helps me out way more than you guys realize. Woods or Renfro? I mean, yuck versus yuck. You can't start Woods. You cannot start Woods. I think Malik Willis starts tonight, and they don't trust him to throw at all. So yeah, you can't trust Robert Woods at all. Let me pull my DraftKings lineup here in the YouTube live. Let me talk through some DraftKings strategy. The quarterback situation on DraftKings, I think you pay up for Josh Allen or you pay for Justin Herbert. If you're not paying for either of those two guys, I think you pay down for Justin Fields. I do really like Justin Fields against the Dolphins this week, and he's priced really, really low. But if you're not going to pay down for Justin Fields, I think you go with Justin Herbert. Aaron Jones, I think is my number 3 running back this week against the Lions. Really good spot for him. I really like Dion Jackson against the Pats. Pats have been the number 2 best defense against running backs, but they're bottom 15 in yards allowed to running backs. They've been just not allowing very many touchdowns to running backs, but Dion Jackson has no competition this week. I'm talking none. Zach Moss, not good, not even up to speed. He might not even be active today. Phillip Lindsay promoted from the practice squad. Jonathan Taylor's out. Nyheim Hines is on the Buffalo Bills now. So Dion Jackson, I think, locked into 15-plus touches against the Pats. He could even go 20-plus touches. And we've already seen a game where he had 10 targets, 10 catches. Like, he has that Nyheim Hines role that's really valuable in the Colts. Sam Ehlinger cannot move the ball. So I think Dion Jackson is going to be a pretty big focal point of the Colts offense. That makes him a pretty good option at his price. And I think because he's playing the Pats too, not that many people are going to play Dion Jackson this week. I like Terry McLaurin against the Vikings this week. Like Christian Kirk a lot this week against the Raiders. Christian Kirk, I think, is maybe had his most undervalued point of the entire season. I think he's a really screaming buy low. He played 2 defenses. He's played 2 top 2 defenses against receivers over the last 3 weeks. So that's why I think he's being slept on. And in between those, he played the Giants, who are also top 10 defense against receivers. So I think Christian Kirk, really, really big spot for him this week. That's why he's my favorite player prop today, 2 over 50. I think it was 56.5 receiving. Palmer, Falcons is the safest tight end, I think, on the slate. And then Mondre against the Colts can definitely be trusted with Damien Harris out. The Panthers defense. I don't hate the Panthers defense this week. All right. And they're also priced really low on DraftKings. There's the DraftKings lineup. The guys that I'm starting in all my DraftKings lineups this week, though, are Dion Jackson, Christian Kirk, Josh Palmer. I really do like those trio of guys. There's a lot of good running back options, though, out there on DraftKings this week. Hey, Sam, should I start Hines over Michael Carter? Nope, I would not be doing that. I don't trust Nyheim Hines all that much in his first game Flex Dion Jackson or Devin Duvernay. I would go Dion Jackson, Devin Duvernay pretty confidently. RBs, I got you tied with the running backs. Let me pull my running back rankings here. And Dalvin Cook, I feel like is the guy that stands out to me the most of like how is he all the way down at 12? But there's no guys in these top 10s that I would move out to get Dalvin Cook up higher. And I do feel like Dion Jackson and Deontay Foreman are better options than Dalvin Cook this week, just slightly, because they have less competition than Dalvin Cook. Sam, been here for an hour. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I really do appreciate the support, man. Dylan, Singletary, Swift, pick 2. Oh, God, yeah, this one's tough. I feel like Swift versus Dylan is really close. I would definitely play Singletary out of these 3. And then Swift versus Dylan, I think is, super, super close. I do sort of like feel compelled to say Dylan over Swift. At least we know Dylan's at full health. Garrett Wilson or AJ Dillon, happy PR. Yeah, I would go Garrett Wilson over him. So yeah, I would go Dylan over Swift this week. And again, I'm just nervous about Swift being not at full health. James Conner is active this week, which means, Benjamin must be benched, but I still don't really trust James Conner all that much either. Still, we're still like maybe an hour, 30 minutes-ish away official actives and inactives, but one of the big ones where we are away is Lazard. He's questionable, going to test it out pre-game. Thielen or Pitts at flex. Oh, yeah, that one's tough too. I do feel like I would go Thielen over Pitts. I don't like starting 2 tight ends. We are live on TikTok and YouTube, by the way. If you're watching live on TikTok, first of all, hit the follow button. I'm posting daily TikTok content, have been for basically 3 years now. But if you're watching live on TikTok, the better place to watch live is YouTube. You get my top 15 rankings every position, and I can pull up your comments right on the screen on YouTube. So I do appreciate coming over to the YouTube live, smashing the subscribe button on YouTube and TikTok bio. Hey, Sam, I got an offer this today. Should I trade away Kenneth and Mike Will for Devontae Adams and Hines? Full PPR, God, I don't think I'd do it. I think Kenneth Walker is just too valuable right now. Hey, Sam, been a fan for a while. Just gave a like to the YouTube live. Thanks, Ryan. I do appreciate that. Jacoby or London, also Dalton or Derek Carr. Jacoby or Drake London, also Dalton or Derek Carr. Yeah, I would go Derek Carr over Andy Dalton. And then Jacoby versus London. I do still feel like you got to go Jacoby over Drake London, but it's definitely close this week, given their respective matchups. What's up, Sam? How you been? I've been good, day. Thanks for asking, man. Hope you're doing well. Also, Olave, Pittman or Dion Jackson in the flex. Yeah, you got to go Olave, I think. I like Dion Jackson a lot, but I like Olave more. Olave is just, he's such a high floor, such a high ceiling. I think you got to be starting Olave. Waller playing. No, so I don't think he's officially been ruled out, but there was a tweet from Adam Schefter earlier that said he's expected not to play. So I've ruled him as out for the sake of this live, because I've been live for a couple hours now, and we're just not going to know about Darren Waller for a little bit more time. But it does sound like Darren Waller. Sam, would you start Pacheco, Hines, or Swift? Yeah, I would rank these guys probably as Swift, then Pacheco, then Hines. You can't start Hines. You cannot start Hines, I don't think, this week in his first game for the Bills. I still think Singletary sees more touches than him. And it's just, look, how many carries is Hines really going to get? It's going to be more of the passing game work, I think, for him, which isn't great in this game against the Jets, where the Bills are going to destroy the Jets. Hill or Likely at tight end? I like Likely more than Taysom Hill, but it's definitely close. It's definitely close and similar, I guess. I do think Taysom Hill has some of the highest ceiling among all tight ends every single week. But yeah, I do like Likely more than Taysom Hill. Pick one for wide receiver, 2, and 1 for flex. Pittman, Lockett, Myers, Gibson. Yeah, I feel like it's the first 2. I think I would go the first 2. Pittman and Lockett over Myers and over Gibson. As a friendly reminder as well, guys, the best place to go, especially if I don't get to your start sit, or even if I do get to your start sit, the best place to go for fast, quick start sit help and trade analyzer help is the WalterPicks app. It's free to download, free to try out. Link is in the YouTube description. Link is in the TikTok bio. It's also the best way you could possibly support me is by just trying out the app. AJ Dillon or Swift. Yeah, I said it before. I would go AJ Dillon over Swift, but this one's so tough. It's so tough because one hand, Swift is just so much better health, but he's not at full health. And so it's so hard to rank and project Swift for any considerable ceiling when we know he's going to max out at like 10 or 12 touches. Like he has no path to 20 plus touches. AJ Dillon doesn't either though. But AJ Dillon has a better matchup than Swift. So I do feel a tiny bit better than AJ Dillon than Swift. But yeah, it's really, 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 really close. If you are watching live on YouTube, guys, hit the like button. That also helps me out a ton. You guys wouldn't even realize how much it helps me out. It helps me out way more than people realize. Just a small free like on the YouTube live really does help. And same thing on the TikTok live. If you guys hit the like button and the follow button there as well. Kirk or Olave, I would over Christian Kirk. Looks like we lost connection on the TikTok live. Wi-Fi has been struggling on the TikTok live recently. Another reason that the YouTube live is better. All right, Terry or DJ Moore. Oh yeah, both these guys, really good spots. Let me pull up the wide receiver rankings here for Terry McLaurin versus DJ Moore. If you're watching live on TikTok, by the way, come to the YouTube live. First of all, better Wi-Fi connection on the YouTube live for some reason. But also you get my top 15 rankings, every single position on the YouTube live. Terry or DJ Moore, that was the question we were looking at here. I think the answer is going to be DJ Moore. Yeah, it is. And I don't even have Terry McLaurin in my top 15, and I put DK Metcalf and Lockett over him. I think he's probably right at 16, probably ahead of Josh Palmer. But yeah, DJ Moore, I think DJ Moore, it's really close though. Terry McLaurin's in a really, really good spot. Really good spot this week. But yeah, I would go DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore's just a little bit safer than Terry. Juju, DJ, Pittman, pick 2. Yeah, I think these last two, I'm nervous about Michael Pittman. Is Mike Evans a good start this week? Yeah, Mike Evans is a very, very good start. Same thing with Chris Godwin this week. Hurst or Conklin? I do think I have Hurst ranked ahead of Conklin in my tight end rankings. And yeah, I do one spot ahead. I mean, this is actually tough start sit here. Why bench Montgomery? Because Khalil Herbert's been playing really well. Start Foreman or Kirk? Foreman's definitely safer than Kirk. I think I would go Foreman over Christian Kirk, though I do like Christian Kirk this week. Christian Kirk is my free player prop of the day. Over 56.5 receiving yards for Christian Kirk. Feels like it is a lock. Keenan's out, bud. Yeah, I don't understand what the confusion is with the screenshot on the TikTok live today. I mean, I have Keenan Allen literally listed right under the word out. And it's like people are correcting me. No, Keenan Allen's out. It's like, no, I know. That's why I have him listed literally as out on the screenshot. Yeah, Keenan Allen is out. And so is Mike Williams out. DraftKings, sir, Jared, I got you, man. And Jared, we got to bounce back from my DraftKings lineup last week. Malik Willis was a big mistake last week. I'll leave it at that. We won't make that mistake again. I am going with Justin Herbert against the Falcons. I think if you're not going Justin Herbert against the Falcons, though, on DraftKings, you got to go Justin Fields against the Dolphins or Josh Allen against the Jets. You either pay all the way up or just pay down for Fields. Fields is locked into 15-plus points. I mean, the Dolphins, they allowed 15-plus to Zach Wilson. I mean, Justin Fields is locked in for 15-plus. So I do like Fields priced really low as well if you're not going to go Justin Herbert. Aaron Jones, I like a lot against the line. A lot of good running backs, though, I will say. A lot of good running back options this week. I like Dion Jackson and Mondre, too. I have both of them in this lineup as well. Dion Jackson is the guy I've locked into pretty much all my lineups, though, because I don't think he's going to be rostered enough on DraftKings because people are scared of the Pats' defense. But meanwhile, Dion Jackson locked into 15-plus touches, zero competition for Dion Jackson with Jonathan Taylor out, with Nyheim Hines on the Buffalo Bills. I mean, zero competition. Dion Jackson could play the highest snap rate of all running backs this week. I mean, it literally is possible. Terry McLaurin, Christian Kirk, really like both of their matchups as well and their prices. Stacking Josh Palmer with Justin Herbert. Zach Ertz is the safest tight end on the slate this week with no Travis Kelce, no Mark Andrews on the slate this week. And then I'm going with the Panthers defense. They're my favorite low price defense this week. Taysom Hill or Hawk. I like Taysom Hill a little bit more than Hawk. Apparently Hawk's going to play a lot in this game, but I mean, it's really tough for me to believe Hawk plays like an 80% snap share in his very first game on the Vikings. Like, how could he possibly know the whole Vikings playbook that fast? Lazard or Patterson? I would play Patterson. We still don't know for sure Lazard is even playing. Lazard is the one guy we're still waiting. We're still waiting on his official injury report this week. Likely or Everett? Yeah, I do like Likely more than Gerald Everett. I think the WalterPicks app would probably disagree with me though on this one day, but yeah, I really do. I like Likely. I think you got to start Likely unless you have Zach Ertz or Travis Kelce. Isaiah Likely is the top option for Lamar Jackson this week. There's no Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews, and even Gus Edwards is out, and I don't think that affects Likely that much. But yeah, Likely's going to be an every down player in the top option, I think. Hey, Sam, why should I sit Swift? If I do sit him, then I would have to start Montgomery. Should I pick up Dion Jackson? Yes, pick up Dion Jackson. Start him over Swift. Start him over Montgomery. Dion Jackson should not be available in any leagues at all at this point. Dion Jackson's locked in for 15-plus touches. We've seen Dion Jackson get 10 targets, and he is definitely safer than Swift, definitely safer than Montgomery, given their respective competition. Dion Jackson just has no competition. David Montgomery is competing with one of the best backups in the league, Khalil Herbert. DeAndre Swift is not at full health, and Jamal Williams has the goal line role. Meanwhile, Dion Jackson is competing with Phillip Lindsay, elevated from the practice squad, and Zach Moss, who was recently traded and might not even be active. I mean, there's just no competition for Dion Jackson. Subbed and liked. Please help. James Conner, Kenny Drake, Brian Robinson, AJ Dillon, Khalil Herbert, Garrett Wilson, or flex. Nick, you got a lot of options here. Some of those are waiver and PPR, by the way. Our PPR, that does help. I don't think you can start James Conner. I do think you can start Kenyon Drake in this spot. I think Kenyon Drake probably gets the most touches out of all of these guys. I do think Garrett Wilson is probably the best option. In PPR, I like Garrett Wilson the most against the Bills. Garrett Wilson last week. Corey Davis out again this week. Elijah Moore. By the way, I think he is going to play this week, more so than he played last week. I feel like it's more likely that Elijah Moore sort of had this like first week back sort of benching for what he's done and him requesting a trade and sort of quitting on the team a little bit. But I think they have to play Elijah Moore, right, in this game. They cannot continue to trot out Denzel Mims and Braxton Berrios. But regardless of that, I think Garrett Wilson is the clear top receiver for the Jets in a game that they're going to get destroyed. So yeah, I'd like Garrett Wilson. I do like Garrett Wilson a lot this week, and I think I would play him over A.J. Dillon, over Brian Robinson, over Kenyon Drake, over James Conner, over Khalil Herbert, and over Kadarius Toney. Thank you for liking and subscribing to the YouTube Live, by the way. I do appreciate that. It really does help a ton. A follow on the TikTok Live, a like on the YouTube Live, checking out the WalterPicks app. These are all the best ways you could possibly support me. Tua or Kyler Murray. I would be playing Kyler over Tua. I do like Kyler's matchup against the Seahawks more than Tua's matchup against the Bears. It is a tough matchup for Tua. Let me pull up my QB rankings again on the YouTube Live. Again, on the YouTube Live, you get my top 15 rankings, every position, plus my DraftKings lineup and my favorite player prop pick and my picks against the spread on the YouTube Live. Link to that is in the TikTok bio. Williams or Swift. This is why I'm benching Swift, is because I think I would play Williams over Swift, because I think Williams touches the ball more than Swift, just like he did last week. And I think Williams gets the goal line touches, just like he did last week. That's what they've been saying too publicly. So yeah, I do think Williams over Swift, and I do think Swift is just pretty risky given his injury status. He's really tough to trust. Start Likely over Everett. I would be starting Likely over Everett. And is Michael Carter a good start? Or pick up Kenyon Drake off waivers? Yeah, I think Carter and Drake are similar to me this week. I would be okay with I would be okay going with Michael Carter over Kenyon Drake. I think Carter has a better chance at catching passes. And James Robinson was questionable this week. O or Stevenson? I don't even know who you're talking about in the first part of this question, but start Stevenson. Start Stevenson. Stevenson's my number 3 running back. I think Walter has him as the number 2 running back with no Damian Harris. He's in the James White role. He's in the pass catching role for the Pats, and he's in the early down role. I mean, Ramondre has one of the best roles in the NFL this week at running back. I mean, like, he's going to get a lot of targets, a lot of carries in a game that the Pats should win, 5-point favorites at home. So yeah, I do like Mondre a lot this week. I think you've got to trust Mondre pretty heavily. I would play Kenyon Drake over Pacheco, seeing that comment in the TikTok Live. I would go Higbee versus Pitts is definitely a close one for me. I do have Higbee one spot ahead of Pitts in my tight end rankings. Higbee's been pretty disappointing his last 2 games, but it's a good matchup for Higbee against the Bucs. The Bucs have not been very good against tight ends this season. Foreman or Fournette, raise hand emoji. I do think I have Foreman ahead of Fournette. Let me pull it up. Yeah, I do. I do have Foreman ahead of Fournette, and that one's close too. It's weird. It feels weird starting Foreman over Fournette, but at the same time, Foreman has no competition for touches. I mean, none. He has no competition. Chuba Hubbard's out. Foreman's going to be in an every down role. He's played really, really well. He's coming off a really big game. And Fournette, it feels like he's trending in sort of the opposite direction. So I'm okay playing Foreman over Fournette, but it's definitely close. It definitely feels weird starting Foreman over Fournette, who was, a top 3-round pick in every single draft. What's up, Sam? Myers or Rondale at wide receiver 2? Yeah, this one's close. I'm kind of down on both guys this week. Again, I'm nervous about Jacoby Myers because the Colts defense has been really good. They've been number 2 best against receivers this season. The Seahawks, they've been worse against the run than the pass, I believe. Let me pull this up actually to make sure I'm saying the right thing here. Let's see. The Arizona Cardinals up against the Seattle Seahawks. Last time Rondale Moore was up against the Seahawks. Pulled up the wrong thing here. 1 second. Yeah, so the Seahawks they've actually allowed the 3rd fewest points to receivers this season. Rondale Moore had 10 targets, 6 catches, 49 yards. I mean, Rondale Moore's playing pretty well. Again, I'm nervous about Myers. I feel like these guys are really, really close. In my mind, this week, I'm okay. Really, either way you go, I think you might get a similar result. But I do feel like Jacoby Myers is safer than Rondale Moore. A Foreman or Deshaun Jackson. Or Dion Jackson. I'm sorry, why did I assume D Jackson meant Deshaun Jackson? No, he is back, I think, this week. From a long absence in the NFL, I think Deshaun Jackson will be active for the Ravens on Monday Night Football. But yeah, I would rank Deion Jackson one spot ahead of Deontay Foreman. And I think the reason I do this, these are PPR rankings on the YouTube Live. Again, come to the YouTube Live for my top 15 rankings, every position. And I do have these as PPR rankings. I do think Deion Jackson has a better chance at catching passes than Foreman. Swift or Montgomery, I would play Montgomery over Swift. Pick 2, Duvernay, Curtis Samuel, Connor, London, and PPR. Yeah, I think it's the first two. I think Duvernay and Curtis Samuel are safer than Connor and London. Though I do think London has some sleeper appeal this week. Do I start Swift or Montgomery? I personally would be starting Montgomery over Swift. I think Swift is just tough to trust. He's not at full health. Deion Jackson, I would play him over Josh Palmer, over Jamal Williams. I saw another Deion Jackson. I would play Deion Jackson over Swift, definitely, for sure. I have Deion Jackson as my number 10 running back this week. I get being afraid of the Pats defense a little bit. They've been number 2 best defense against running backs this season, but that's in fantasy points scored. They've actually been bottom 15 in the NFL in yards allowed to running backs. They just haven't allowed very many touchdowns. But Deion Jackson is going to be close to an every down player, maybe literally every down for the Colts today. So I do like Deion Jackson a lot. We should have some official actives, inactives coming out very soon in the next 30 minutes, I think. Usually that's around 11:30 or 12 o'clock that those come out. So looking forward to getting those for some official news on who's in, who's out. Garrett Wilson, Curtis Samuel, or Duvernay. I'd go Garrett Wilson. The Jets are going to get crushed by the Bills. Everyone knows the Bills are going to win this game, but the Jets have to throw to someone. And Corey Davis is out. Garrett Wilson coming off a 100-yard game. Garrett Wilson also very, very good football player. I think even against a good Bills defense, Garrett Wilson could legitimately go over 100 yards again in this game with how much target volume he could get. I'm definitely playing Deion Jackson over Swift. I'm playing Deion Jackson over most players. Trevor Lawrence or Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers should be benched this week for Trevor Lawrence. I think I do have Trevor Lawrence ranked ahead of Aaron Rodgers. I have Justin Fields ranked ahead of Aaron Rodgers. I have Marcus Mariota ranked ahead of him. And this is a good matchup for Aaron Rodgers, though. I will say Aaron Rodgers could bounce back this week. It feels like yet another bounce back potential game for the Packers. But what I really think the Packers will do is lean extremely heavily on Aaron Jones and maybe A.J. Dillon as well. That might not be great news for Aaron Rodgers. Tyler Algier, Brian Robinson, got to be B-Rob this week with Cordero Patterson back. Why sit James Conner? Because he's been not reliable at all in fantasy football this season, and he's coming off an injury. And Eno Benjamin, I think, will still be involved. I saw a Boyd question, Dion or Boyd. Definitely close. I have to start Woods and Myers. Don't start Woods, man. I'm telling you, don't start Woods. You can still start Myers in tough spots, but like drop Woods and like add someone else. I would rather start Justice Hill than Robert Woods. I would rather start Isaiah Likely than Robert Woods. I would rather start let me come up with some more guys I would rather start. I'd rather start Kadarius Toney than Robert Woods. I would rather start like basically anyone. Than Robert Woods. Again, I think Malik Willis is going to start tonight, and that's horrible news for Robert Woods. If Tannehill starts, Robert Woods, you should start. But like in that bleak situation that you laid out there. But yeah, I don't want to start Robert Woods at all this week. All right, let me pull up let me know in the YouTube comments, you guys, what position you guys want to see next for the top 15 rankings, DraftKings lineup, picks against the spread. Let me know what you want to see in the YouTube comments. Why bench buyers? The Colts have allowed the second fewest points per game to receivers this season, so definitely risky to start Jacoby Myers this week. Swift or Monty? I like Monty more than Swift. I like Josh Palmer more than Monty. I like Boyd more than Gabe Davis. Wide receivers, I got you with the wide receiver rankings here in the YouTube Live. Michael Carter or Patterson? That one's close. Patterson, I do feel like has a really wide range of outcomes this week in his first game back because he's up against the Chargers, a bad run defense. The Falcons' sole strength in offense has been running the ball this year. So I don't hate Patterson by any chance, but it does feel like there's some risk there. I could easily see Caleb Huntley and Tyler Algier staying involved in Patterson's first game back. So it feels like his floor is low, his ceiling is high. But yeah, I personally think I would bench Patterson in that situation. Okay. Deion Jackson or Lockett. I personally would go Deion Jackson over Lockett. It's close, but I would go Deion over Lockett. I think he's just safer and has a similar ceiling. This is the thing about, I think his floor is high. I think he's easily going over 10 points in PPR leagues, but his ceiling is still high. Like we've literally already seen it. He was the number one running back the last time he was in this situation. Pitts or Likely? I'm going Likely over Pitts. I know our Twitter account at WalterPicks app just tweeted recently that they don't like the person running our Twitter account, who's actually our Raiders creator. He does not like Isaiah Likely this week. I disagree with him. I think I do like Isaiah Likely this week. I have him as my number 2 tight end this week with no Mark Andrews, no Rashad Bateman. I think Isaiah Likely is in the top 5 tight end conversation this week, and I have Pitts ranked number 6. Pitts has coming off his best game of the season too, though, so definitely a reasonable question. I personally would go likely, though. Tom Brady or Justin Fields? I'm going Justin Fields over Tom Brady. Fields is in a really, really good spot. The more I look into the numbers, the more I like Justin Fields, the more I want to move Justin Fields up my quarterback rankings this week. Fields has been really consistent running the ball this season, and he gets the Dolphins this week, who have allowed the 7th most fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. But even more exciting about the Dolphins, they've allowed the 5th most rushing yards per game to quarterbacks. And part of the reason is they played Lamar in week 2, and Lamar rushed for 120 yards in that game. And then they played Josh Allen in week 3, and he rushed for 47 yards. I think 45 yards is Justin Fields' rushing floor today against the Dolphins. Plus, we know the Dolphins offense is probably going to put up points. And Justin Fields, meanwhile, he's gone over 15 fantasy points in 4 straight games. And then again, you look at the Dolphins and who they played, and Zach Wilson put up 15 points against this defense. Really, the only QB not to go over 15 points is Kenny Pickett, and I actually think he might have gotten hurt in that game. So yeah, I do really like Justin Fields. His floor is really high, his ceiling is really high in what could be a shootout game against the Dolphins. And his rushing gives him a really good floor. D-Hop or Kenneth Walker, you got to go D-Hop, I think. I mean, I like both guys a lot. Sure. I don't know. I feel like if this is PPR, if this is not PPR, I feel like Kenneth is probably safer. I have Kenneth as my number 8 running back. I have D-Hop as my number 6 wide receiver. It's close, man. It's definitely close. I do feel a little bit better about D-Hop, though, than Kenneth. Rondale Moore or Swift. Yeah, I feel like this one is probably Rondale over Swift, but it's definitely close. And again, I'm nervous about Swift. I'm not playing Pitts over Swift. I'm not playing 2 tight ends. I never recommend playing 2 tight ends unless you're really, really down bad. You think Mike Williams and Deontay Foreman for Amon-Ra and Zeus? I mean, come on, who's Zeus? I mean, if you're getting Zeus in this trade, I mean, Zeus has a pretty high ceiling and high floor. I gotta be honest. No, I don't know who you're talking about. Maybe you meant Zeke. Amon-Ra and Zeke. If you meant Zeke, then if you're trading away Mike and Foreman for Amon-Ra and Zeke, I do like that. I do like that trade. But if you're getting Zeus, I like the trade even more. Hey, Sam, liking Romeo Doubs or Paris Campbell this week? Bye weeks hit me hard. LOL. Yeah, Jared. Bye weeks hitting me, I mean, tremendously hard. I don't think anyone gets rocked by bye weeks more than me because I completely ignore bye weeks when I'm drafting. And I think that's the right thing to do. But when you end up with CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, and Cortland Sutton on all your teams, I mean, it's just really tough to come back from in week 9. CMC too on bye this week. Deebo Samuel, George Kittle. I mean, there's just so many buys. But yeah, Romeo Doubs is a guy I do like more than Paris Campbell. We are still waiting on the official Allen Lazard news, which should come out, I think, in the next hour, hopefully, or so. But I do think he's going to play. If he doesn't play, though, Romeo Doubs gets a lot better. I do like Brian Robinson more than Khalil Herbert. I do like Swift, I think, more than Khalil Herbert as well. Khalil Herbert, though, is really interesting, man. He's really good, but he's still not seeing the full workload. He only played 25% of the snaps last week. Sam, pick one: Juju, Swift, Lazard, full point PPR. Yeah, I'd go Juju. I'd go Juju pretty easily, Jeremy, over Swift and over Allen Lazard. Foreman or Dion Jackson. Yeah, so if you come to the YouTube live, you can see my top 15 rankings, every position. If you're watching live on TikTok, and I have Dion Jackson one spot ahead of Foreman. I have Dion Jackson, though, as my number 10 running back this week. I'm starting him over Foreman. I really do like Dion Jackson. I like him more than Pittman this week, too. I like him more than Jacoby Myers, who's playing the number 2 best defense against receivers this season. That's the Indianapolis Colts. The Patriots have been number 2 against running backs, but I don't care as much about that because the running back position, it really is a lot about volume. And Dion Jackson's going to get the volume, guys. He has no competition. JT out. Nyheim Hines traded. It's him and maybe Zach Moss if he's active, and then Phillip Lindsay, who was promoted from the practice squad. Hey, Sam, Duvernay, Pitts, Everett, half PPR. I also have likely starting at tight end. Yeah, I'd go Duvernay over Pitts and over Everett. I don't want to start 2 tight ends. How do you feel about Singletary going forward with the Hines train? Yeah, it definitely lowers his ceiling a little bit in the passing game. I'm nervous for him. I'm not as nervous for him, though, this week against the Jets and in some of these game scripts where the Bills aren't going to need very much Hines. Like I think Singletary is still a better option than Hines rest of season. But yeah, Singletary got even riskier than he already was. He already was sort of this boom bust running back. Zay Jones or Khalif Raymond. Yeah, Khalif Raymond's back-to-back games over 12 points. Zay Jones, though, I'm pretty sure, is this a revenge game for Zay Jones? Wasn't he on the Raiders at one point? I feel like he was. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but we might get a little revenge game narrative there for Zay Jones. But I don't know. This one's really close. I personally feel like Zay Jones is a little bit better than Khalif Raymond. So I would lean towards Zay Jones. DJ Moore, Dion Jackson, or Foreman at flex. I'd go Dion Jackson over DJ Moore, over Foreman. Again, I think that Dion Jackson has a floor, a very safe floor this week. He's my number 10 running back this week, and I think he's locked into 15 plus touches, but the ceiling is also there for Dion Jackson, I think. So I would go Dion Jackson. I seeing a Dion Jackson or CEH question too in the TikTok live. I would definitely go Dion there. What's up, Sam? Kirk, Swift, or Jamal? Yeah, I'd go Kirk, Christian Kirk over Jamal Williams, over DeAndre Swift. It's just very difficult to guess which one it's going to be, Swift or Jamal. Swift is really tough to trust right now. I do think Jamal is probably the safest of those three guys, but I like Kirk a lot this week. He's also the free player prop of the week as well, over 56.5 receiving yards. I'm sorry, I just lost that comment that I had up on the YouTube live. Sorry, I hate when that happens, but I do not know which comment was up. Let's see if I can find it really quickly. I don't think I'm going to be able to, but I will try. I think it might have been this. I traded Boyd for Justin Jefferson, then JT for Hunt and Amon-Ra. How'd I do? You traded Boyd for Justin Jefferson? I mean, that trade was amazing. I didn't love then JT for Hunt and oh yeah, both unreal trades. That I'm understanding them fully. Ridiculously unreal trades. Really, really, really good trades. Mostert or Foreman, half PPR. I would go Foreman over Mostert this week. I mean, both are definitely options, but I like Foreman more than Mostert. Mostert has a better matchup than Foreman, but Foreman has less competition than Mostert. So I do like Foreman a little bit more than Mostert. Brian Robinson or James Conner. I would go Brian Robinson over James Conner. I don't trust Conner his first game back. He already was doing bad before, and now he's back off the injury. Why not Jacoby Myers? It's because the Colts are number 2 best against receivers this season. I think the Patriots are going to run a lot in this game. Swift, Patterson are likely. I would play. I personally would probably rank these guys as Patterson, then likely, then Swift. But I mean, it's really close, and I hate starting 2 tight ends. That's rank them. Jacoby or Samuel or Palmer. Jacoby Myers, Curtis Samuel, or I would go Josh Palmer. Yeah, Josh Palmer is a guy I really do like. Let me pull up the DraftKings lineup again. You can see some of the guys that are my favorite options just by looking at my DraftKings lineup too. And I'm going with Justin Herbert stacked with Josh Palmer. The Falcons secondary, they've stopped zero people this season. Now they're without AJ Terrell also, who's by far the most talented piece of their secondary. I think Herbert's going to cook even without Mike Williams, even without Keenan Allen, even without Donald Parham. I like Justin Herbert stacked with Josh Palmer a lot this week. DeAndre Carter is going to be active, but he's dealing with a little bit of an illness. I think Josh Palmer's a much better bet than DeAndre Carter. I like Aaron Jones, Deion Jackson, Ramondre Stevenson at their price points on DraftKings this week. There's a lot of running backs I like, though. Austin Eckler is priced really high. But if you're going to pay down for Justin Fields, and I like paying down for Justin Fields at QB too, if you don't go Justin Herbert, then maybe you can pay up for Austin Eckler as well. I like Terry McLaurin, Christian Kirk at their price points as well. I'm playing Christian Kirk in basically every single lineup. I like Terry McLaurin too against the Vikings. The Vikings secondary is really, really suspect. Zach Ertz, I think, is the safest tight end on the slate this week. He already put up 7 catches, 70 yards against the Seahawks just 3 weeks ago. I think you could do better than that today. And then I like the Panthers defense as the cheapest option on DraftKings. Mooney or Zay Jones. I like Mooney more than Zay Jones. I think that the Dolphins have a tendency to get into these shootout games that definitely would bode well for Darnell Mooney, who's been on a little bit of a good stretch here. Hey, Sam. Jeff Wilson or James Robinson. He was ruled healthy. Yeah. I don't like either of them this week, really at all. I mean, the James Robinson against the Bills is not a good spot for James Robinson. Jeff Wilson against the Bears is a much better matchup. So I feel like if you're deciding between these 2 guys, I would go Jeff Wilson, but I would also prefer, I think, Justice Hill maybe over both these guys, and he's probably available on the way. Thank you. I got you, man. Should I move Garrett Wilson to wide receiver 2 and start Kenyon Drake / Khalil Herbert over Curtis Samuel? I'm okay keeping Curtis Samuel over those 2 guys. I would not play Khalil Herbert over him. I think Kenyon Drake is a slightly safer option. He was probably the top running back. He is the top running back for the Ravens heading into Monday night. But yeah, I like Curtis Samuel too against the Vikings. Likely or Everett. I like Likely more than Everett. Let me pull up my tight end rankings again. Thank you for the gift, Carlos, in the TikTok live. Dion Jackson or DJ Moore at flex. I like Dion Jackson a lot this week. I'm not really benching him in most spots. I'm playing him over DJ Moore. It feels weird playing him over DJ Moore, but I am playing him over DJ Moore. Tyler Boyd or DJ Moore. That one's close too. I do have Boyd ranked 1 spot ahead of DJ Moore in my rankings, which you can see on the YouTube live. Link to that's in the TikTok bio. You can see my top 15 rankings, every position, if you just come to YouTube live. If you're watching live on YouTube, smash the like button. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching live on TikTok, hit the follow button. I really do appreciate that as well. And guys, the best way you can possibly support me by checking out the WalterPicks app in the iOS and Android app store. If you've already checked it out too, another way you could really support me, just that costs 0 money, takes you 2 seconds. Toss us a 5-star review in the iOS or Android app store. That helps us out a ton. And actually, one of the best ways to get your comment answered in the TikTok and YouTube live is going and give a 5-star review and then let me know in your comments that you gave us a 5-star review in the iOS or Android App Store. And I will do my best to prioritize your comment on our system there. Obviously, Sam, my man, if I lose, my chances of playoffs are slim to none. I got you, man. Kirk, Lazard, you got to bench Lazard. You got to start Christian Kirk. You got to start DJ Moore, Andrew, and you got to let the pieces lie where they may. I think this is pretty easily DJ Moore and Christian Kirk. Aaron Jones or Deontay Foreman standard. Yeah, you got to go Aaron Jones. Got to go Aaron Jones. Can't bench Aaron Jones this week against the Lions. Madison or Wilson Jr. I like Madison more than Wilson Jr. Likely or DeAndre Carter. Close one, man. I don't like starting 2 tight ends, so I'm going to side with DeAndre Carter, but I feel like Likely honestly projects better. Sam, the math app. Trevor, how's it going, man? Full PPR pick 2, Jamal Williams, Christian Kirk, Deontay 4. I actually think I might need a new math app, by the way. You can see I recently got a puppy who chewed a portion of the OG math app. Jamal Williams, Kirk, Deontay Foreman. I definitely would go Kirk and Foreman over Jamal Williams. DeAndre Swift is active, and that does lower the floor and ceiling for Jamal Williams, though I do still think Jamal Williams out-touches DeAndre Swift. Josh Palmer or Deion Jackson, I'm going Deion Jackson over Josh Palmer. I do like both a lot, but I like Deion Jackson much more. And my thing for Deion Jackson is I feel like the floor is good, but the ceiling is also like just as good as a lot of these other options. Like the ceiling for Deion Jackson is he scores the touchdown. He gets 20-plus touches. He goes close to 100 yards, and he goes close to 20 points. Like that's the ceiling. We've seen him even higher ceiling than that from him in the past, a game where he had 10 targets, 10 catches. So he has a better floor and similar ceiling. The chewed up hat build adds character to the hat. That's true. This hat has been through a lot. This is like a three-year near every day worn type of hat. So definitely has been through a lot. All right, Fields. I've seen a Fields question or Herbert. Yeah, you got to go Herb, I think, over Fields. I like Fields a lot against the Dolphins, but Justin Herbert against the Falcons, I mean, it's almost the dead best possible matchup for Justin Fields. And I know he's missing Mike Williams. I know he's missing Keenan Allen. He's missing Donald Parham as well. That's a huge injury. But yeah, the Falcons have allowed the 4th most fantasy points to quarterbacks this season. They've been 2nd worst against receivers this season. We just saw Joe Burrow throw for almost 500 yards against them just 2 weeks ago. PJ Walker went over 300 yards last week. I mean, Jimmy G went almost 300 yards. Tom Brady went for 350. Geno Smith went for 325. I mean, even Jacoby Brissett getting in on the action, throwing almost 250 yards. I mean, Justin Herbert is like minimum 300 yards this week. Justin Herbert's been over 50 pass attempts each of his last 2 games. He's coming off the bye. He gets the Falcons, man. I mean, just everything right, I think, for Herbert this week. That's why I'm playing him in my DraftKings lineup. I think Herbert could go, bananas. I could see a 400-yard game out of Justin Herbert this week. Sean Ford, great to see you again in the YouTube live, man. Hope all as well. Patterson, Dillon, or Terrace Marshall at flex. Full PPR. Oh, God. I do really like A.J. Dillon. I think Terrace Marshall is definitely playable this week too, and then Patterson is also playable. I would probably rank these guys though in this order. I think Patterson, then Dillon, then Terrace Marshall, especially from a floor perspective. Hudson P, pick 2, Gabe Davis, Rondale Moore, Garrett Wilson, Cordero Patterson, Michael Carter. WalterPicks app is awesome. Thanks, man. I do appreciate that, Hudson. Again, the best way to support me is checking out the WalterPicks app in the YouTube description, in the TikTok bio, or just searching for it, WalterPicks app on the app stores. But yeah, I think Gabe Davis. It's Gabe Davis, then Garrett Wilson, then Carter, then Patterson, then Rondale Moore for me. And I don't love Gabe Davis just in general. He doesn't have a single game more over 4 catches, but he still does have a high ceiling, much higher than I think the rest of these guys. Garrett Wilson maybe is close though. One running back, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex need help. Tay, Hopkins, Olave, Walker, ETN, Mixon. Yeah, I mean, these are really, really, really good options. I think you're probably going to end up having to bench Olave. I think you're going to have to bench Olave, and you're going to have to play you got to play Devontae Adams and DeAndre Hopkins over Olave. You got to start Travis Etienne, start Kenneth Walker too. So yeah, I think you bench Mixon and Olave here. But I mean, all really, really good options. Godwin, Palmer, or Fournette at flex. I like Godwin more than Fournette. I like Godwin more than Josh Palmer. Still hasn't scored a TD, but I do think that's going to come. I gave it 5-star. Thanks, man. I do appreciate that. Tyler Conklin or Zay Jones. Yeah, I would go Zay Jones over Tyler Conklin. Don't start 2 tight ends, man. Don't do it yourself. Position bleak out there, man. Like, don't start 2 tight ends. I traded ETN, Pearson, St. Brown for Tyreek and JT. You think I won this trade? I already have CMC and now I have Diggs and Hill. Yeah, man. I mean, it's a pretty fire squad. You did give up some really good assets here. It'll be interesting to see if JT comes back, though. I do like ETN more than JT rest of season. I do like Tyreek, I think, a little bit more, though, than St. Brown. But yeah, overall, I mean, fair trade. It's hard for me sometimes to gauge the 18 leagues because I'm only really in 12-team or higher leagues. Hi, Sam. Pick 1, Khalil Herbert or Kenyon Drake, full PPR. Yeah, I'd go Kenyon Drake over Khalil Herbert. Pacheco, B. Robert Eno. I go B-Rob, then Pacheco, then Eno. You can't trust Eno with James Conner back. You can't really trust James Conner either. But you can trust James Conner more than Eno, I think. Olave or Terry, both really, really good options. Let me put my wide receiver rankings again. I do think it's got to be Olave, though. I don't even think Terry made my top 15 wide receivers, but he was close. I put Metcalf and Lockett ahead of Terry. Maybe that was a mistake. But I think Terry's a top 20 option for sure and should be started in most spots. Mike Evans or Godwin, really tough one each week. I do have Evans 2 spots ahead of Godwin, though. I think Evans is a little bit safer. Paris Campbell or James Conner. That one I feel like it's Paris Campbell. Again, I don't trust James Conner really at all. Rodgers or Cousins, I would go. I think I have them really close in my rankings here too. Yeah, I have Rodgers 1 spot ahead of Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, as I like to call him this season. I pick one in my flex, full PPR. Christian Kirk, Dion Jackson, Connor. I can also bench Pittman. Yeah, I would play Dion Jackson for sure. And I think Pittman versus Kirk is really close, man. I get the case for Pittman over Kirk, but I don't also love starting Dion Jackson and Pittman. So honestly, I might start Christian Kirk and Dion Jackson here. We know the Patriots are very good at taking away the top option. We know they're very good against rookie quarterbacks. I still think Pittman sees some decent volume today, but yeah, I kind of do like Christian Kirk more than him, and I do like Dion Jackson more than him too. So I'm okay going Dion Jackson and Kirk, both over Michael Pittman. Fields or Tua? Yeah, so we actually, I think, made this change live on this live because I think you do have to go Fields over Tua, and it feels weird because Tua's been much better than Fields. Tua's been great. I mean, this season, there's no way around it. Tua is a top 10 quarterback this season. I haven't ranked number 9 this week, but I Fields ranked number 8. And Fields, it's because the matchup is just better against the Dolphins than it is against the Bears. I mean, these 2 guys are playing against each other this season, but we just went through it. And the Dolphins have been really bad against running quarterbacks this season. Fields has gone over 15 points in 4 straight games now, and he's got back-to-back games over 20 points. He's coming off his best game of the season. He just had to chase Claypool. Also, the Dolphins can just put up a lot of points. I like Fields a little bit more, just a little bit more than Tua. I think both are definitely startable. Tony. Yeah, so I'm happy to see some Kadarius Tony questions because we have gotten I would play likely over Pitts, by the way. We have gotten very little Kadarius Tony action this season, right? I think was maybe active week 1, maybe, and then we haven't seen him since. And he's apparently fully healthy now. He's apparently playing. He is playing tonight against the Tennessee Titans, who have not been good against receivers. And I feel like people have been very quick to forget that Kadarius Toney is good. Like Kadarius Toney, I've been calling him Percy Harvin 2.0 for a little over a year now. Part of that's because of the injury problems, and he just can't stay on the field like Percy Harvin. But part of that is when he's on the field, he's also very, very good. We've seen a 189-yard game out of Kadarius Toney before. You can't say that about most players in NFL history. He's a rookie on the Giants. So I really think Kadarius Toney's ceiling is really intriguing. Don't think he's startable this week, but I would hold on to him. Like there's a really, really low floor, obviously, with Toney. His floor is he pulls another hamstring and he's out for the rest of the season. But his ceiling is really high, I think, as potentially the most talented pass catcher after Travis Kelce on the Chiefs. I think he literally could have that in his range of outcomes. McLaurin or Lazard, got to be McLaurin over Lazard for sure. Lamar or Fields? Yeah, I would go Lamar over Fields. Let me pull up my QB rankings. Oh, sorry, I already had the QB rankings up. I'll pull up my running back rankings next. On the YouTube live, London or DeAndre Carter? Drake London, it's such a tough one with him. I really do think he's a sleeper. But it's definitely pretty risky for sure with Drake London. He has not been over 10 points, I think, since week 2 or week 3 of the NFL season. DeAndre Carter, meanwhile, is going to be in a near every down role against the Falcons secondary. So I think Carter's a little bit safer. I would play Tua over Kirk Cousins, though Kirk Cousins is definitely an interesting play this week in his matchup. I do trust that passing attack this week, and I also think the Vikings defense could lead to a really high-scoring game. Juju, DJ Moore, Christian Kirk, or T. Higgins? Yeah, I think you sit Juju here. You start the other 3, DJ Moore, Kirk, and Higgins. I think all have to be started. I'll pull up my wide receiver rankings on the YouTube live again. Waller's out for sure. No, he's not out for sure. He's not out for 100% sure. We should get that report hopefully soon. Actually, I don't know if that game's later in the day or is the 1 o'clock games. Let me see. It is in the 1 o'clock window. So yeah, we will know for sure about Darren Waller soon in the next hour or so. We should know about Darren Waller, maybe even the next 30 minutes. We do know Christian Watson. He will play despite being questionable this week. That doesn't move the needle for me really for anything. Christian Watson's kind of a non-factor for the Packers offense this season. He cannot run very much of the route tree. Hey, Sam, trade question. Henry or Jacobs for rest of year? Much of a difference? Have offers for both? Yeah, it's super close. Definitely. I would lean Henry, though. I would lean Henry rest of season over Jacobs, but it's really close. But yeah, Derrick Henry also just, as it gets cold out, you watch out for Derrick Henry. The other thing, the reason I would side with Henry, his schedule is much easier. And Derrick Henry is the best running back schedule in the fantasy football playoffs. He plays the Texans in the fantasy football playoffs. I mean, that's just like a win. Chalk that up as a win in the playoffs, basically, if you have Henry. I think that's week 15 or 16, maybe week 13. But yeah, I mean, he is an incredible playoff schedule too, so I do like that a lot. Boyd or Swift, I would go Boyd over Swift for sure. Why bench Jacoby? It's because the Colts secondary has been really good. Number 2 defense against receivers this season. I still think Jacoby can be started, especially with all the buys, but it makes it riskier. DeAndre Swift officially is active. We knew that was coming. James Robinson officially is going to be active as well. But yeah, you can't trust James Robinson. I still think you can't really trust DeAndre Swift either. Pick 2, Walker, Kirk, Dion Jackson. I would pick Walker and Dion Jackson over Christian Kirk. I really like Dion Jackson over Jamal Williams as well. Christian Kirk or DJ Moore. I have DJ Moore just ahead of Christian Kirk, but I do like Kirk a lot. I actually like his player prop a lot today. That's the free prop on the stream. Is Christian Kirk over 56.5 receiving yards. I think Michael Pittman is really risky today against the Pats. I won't be shocked if Alec Pierce does more than Michael Pittman today. For all of you out there with some Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce questions. Yeah, Alec Pierce is definitely riskier than Brian Robinson, but I think he does have a higher ceiling than Brian Robinson. I would go Brian Robinson, though, personally. I think Brian Robinson, without J.D. McKissic, too, is pretty locked in for some touches this week and has a better chance at a TD than Alec Pierce. David Montgomery is risky, with Khalil Herbert gaining some steam. I do think DeMont is a little bit risky. He still is startable in some spots, but I would look for other options if you can. Connor or Patterson. I like Patterson more than James Conner this week. Cordero, Juju, or Palmer at flex. I also really like the extended position rankings. Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, I don't know if it was you or someone else asking for more than just the top 10. Maybe we'll extend it even to the top 20 moving forward. It does feel like it's been helpful for me too. Just it helps me answer more start sits just with what's on the screen on the YouTube live. You can see my top 15 rankings, every position on the YouTube live if you're watching live on TikTok. Yeah, Palmer versus Juju. This one's Palmer versus Juju. Like if you can bench Cordero, I think you should in his first game back, even though it's kind of a good spot against the Chargers. There is some risk there, I think, with Cordero. Personally, I would go Palmer. I think Palmer is a really, really good option against the Falcons secondary. He could easily go over 20 points. I think his floor is 10 plus. Ertz or Dion Jackson in the flex. Got to be Dion Jackson, man. Got to be Dion Jackson over a second tight end. Don't play two tight ends. And I like Ertz. I think Ertz is a top 3 tight end option this week, but he's nowhere near Dion Jackson, in my opinion, if you're deciding between those two guys. Start Higbee or Pitts. Yeah, I go Higbee over Pitts. I think it's really close. I think I have them back-to-back in my rankings. But, I mean, don't get it twisted. Kyle Pitts still has a really low floor. I'm really hopeful he can turn it around. Waller inactive. We're getting that in the YouTube live before I even see it. On Twitter, Alan Lazard is active this week. Inactives. Josh Reynolds, inactive. That's good for Khalif Raymond. Raiders tight end Darren Waller is inactive. Colts running back Zach Moss is inactive. Bills linebacker Matt Milano is inactive. DeAndre Carter is active. Jeff Wilson is active. Bradley Chubb for the Dolphins is active. David Bakhtiari and Elgin Jenkins, 2 of the starting offensive linemen for the Packers. They are both active. Christian Watson is active. We are getting some of these injury reports out. Again, Darren Waller is officially out. I'm glad I had that out ahead of that in the TikTok live. We did get a report early this morning that he was expected to be out. But yeah, Darren Waller is officially out now. Christian Watson, Alan Lazard are in. That does lower the floor and ceiling for Romeo Doubs, but I still think he's playable this week. Hey, Sam, RBs are Singletary and Connor. Do I trade Gibson and Melvin for Myers and Eno Benjamin full PPR? Also, do we have DFS? Yes, Zach, I got you with the DFS lineup. Gibson and Melvin for Myers and Eno. I do like the trade. I think Gibson is better than Connor this week, though. With J.D. McKissic out, I would rather start Gibson than Connor. And then get rid of Melvin Gordon. He's close to a waiver wire player, and Myers is better than Gibson and Melvin. Benjamin, though, I guess you do have Connor. So actually, I do like this. You at least can figure out who's better between Connor and Eno. So yeah, I'm okay with this. Gibson and Melvin for Myers. You're getting the best player in the trade in Jacoby Myers. Let me pull up the DraftKings lineup for you. DraftKings lineup strategy. I'll talk through the DraftKings strategy a little bit this week again. I think if you don't go Justin Herbert against the Falcons, I think you go Justin Fields against the Dolphins. And if you go Justin Fields against the Dolphins, I think you should try to pay up for Austin Eckler against the Falcons. I think you've got to have some piece of this Chargers offense against the Falcons. And then Aaron Jones, Dion Jackson, Ramondre, 3 running backs I like a lot. Dion Jackson's in basically all my DraftKings lineups this week. I think people will shy away from him a little bit too much because he's playing the Pats. But in reality, he has zero competition. He might play the highest snap rate of any running back this week. It's him and Phillip Lindsay as the only active running backs, I think, for the Colts today. Phillip Lindsay was a practice squad elevation for the Colts. I think Dion Jackson is locked in for 15-plus touches. He's going to be very involved in the passing game, too. Terry McLaurin, Christian Kirk, Josh Palmer. Palmer's in basically all my DraftKings lineups this week, too. Same thing with Christian Kirk. I like him a lot. I like Zach Ertz. I think he's the best, safest tight end. He's also the highest priced tight end, but he's not that expensive. If you're going to pay down at tight end, I do like going down to Gerald Everett. And then the Panthers defense is my favorite low price defense on DraftKings this week. Foreman or Olave. Yeah, I would go Olave over Foreman. I don't think you should be benching Chris Olave. Andrews or for Amon-Ra and Hawk. Yeah, it's fair. It's fair, especially with the Andrews injuries. Dion or Godwin. Yeah, that one's close, man. I really do like Chris Godwin a lot this week. But I still feel like Dion Jackson's floor and ceiling is better. Yo, Sam, thoughts on Kamara video getting leaked? Last week I traded him for JT, Lazard, and Deontay. Yeah, Andrew, why is nobody talking about this? Like, I don't have a ton of thoughts on this because it feels like nobody cared. Like the video leaked and like before the season, if you guys are not up to date with the Alvin Kamara situation, and Nick, I will get to your question next. Alvin Kamara last Pro Bowl was like he's going to be in court. He's going to get suspended likely at some point. The court date keeps getting pushed back, but he physically assaulted someone and there's a video of him just attacking someone. And I actually thought, I'm not going to lie, I actually thought the video was going to be worse. The video is still pretty bad though. And the video had not leaked. And usually these videos leak like sort of right away. It took a long time. This video leaked literally like yesterday or the day before from TMZ. And I thought before the season that if the video leaked from Alvin Kamara, that would compel the league to suspend him because the public backlash would be so bad when the video leaked because the video would be so bad. And that's just not what happened. I mean, there's been no public backlash. It feels like nobody even talks about it. It got no real attention from national media. But the Alvin Kamara video is out there of him just attacking, physically assaulting someone. Feels like it's not going to lead to anything, though. Again, I just won't be surprised if it does. I won't be surprised if it does. Now that the video's out. But the most likely scenario still with the Alvin Kamara stuff is that he's not suspended till next season because the NFL does usually wait for the courts. Just gave a 5-star rating for the WalterPicks app. Thanks, Nick. Yeah, that's one of the best ways you can support me is premium user here, Mark. I appreciate that too. Cordero or Mostert. Yeah, I would go Mostert over Cordero. It's close though. Been loving the app. Thanks, man. Foreman or Josh Palmer and Ertz or Higbee. I'd go Ertz over Higbee. I really do like Ertz a lot against the Seahawks. We've already seen him go 7 for 70 against the Seahawks. That's really good. That's really good. Floor for a tight end to go 14 points without a touchdown is almost unheard of this season. And then Foreman or Josh Palmer. I'd go Foreman over Josh Palmer. I do really like Josh Palmer, but Foreman is definitely a little bit safer than Josh Palmer, and he does still have a decent ceiling. We got Brad in the YouTube live. What's going on, Brad? Likely or Pitts and Tua or Geno? I have Likely ranked ahead of Pitts this week. I have Likely ranked as a top 3 tight end this week. I think you got to start Likely. He's the top option for Lamar. And the Saints have been pretty good against tight ends, but I still think Likely's in a really good spot. And then Tua or Geno, I think I do think I have Geno ranked just ahead of Tua. Let me see here. Yeah, I do. I have him one spot ahead of Justin Fields, who's one spot ahead of Tua. So yeah, I would go Geno over Tua. Why bench Myers? Because the Colts secondary. It's the Colts secondary that scares me about Jacoby Myers. They've been the number 2 best defense against receivers. I can't bench Swift. Then don't bench Swift. I know there's a tough bye week. These must benches are like must bench if you have a reasonable option, especially those first 3 guys in my must bench list. Jacoby Myers, DeAndre Swift, David Montgomery, like only bench those guys if you have a reasonable other option. So I guess those are more fringe benches than must benches. And then, yeah, I guess I got both sides of this comment here. Pick 2, Dion Jackson, Foreman, Lockett. Yeah, I'd go the first 2. I'd go the 2 running backs. And Lockett could easily explode, but the floor for Jackson and Foreman is so much higher than the floor for Lockett, and I still think their ceilings are pretty high. Deontay Jackson or Deontay Foreman, I'm really stuck. Yeah, so if you pull up my running back rankings, I'm not going to help you get very unstuck. Arby's in the YouTube live. Yeah, Deion Jackson, I have one spot ahead of Foreman. If this is a PPR league, I do feel like Deion Jackson's better than Foreman. Tom Brady, Geno, or Trevor Lawrence, I go Geno. Why bench Jacoby? So again, It's funny. Someone's benched Jacoby, all laughing faces in the TikTok live. I'm a Patriots fan. I have been very bullish on Jacoby Myers. I have him in a bunch of leagues. I've been saying for quite some time. I think he's extremely underrated. But this is a very, very tough matchup for Jacoby Myers. Probably the toughest matchup he's going to face all season, even tougher than the Bills. The Colts secondary has been number 2 against wide receivers from a fantasy football perspective. They've only allowed one receiver over 90 yards. There's just not a really high ceiling for Jacoby Myers today. The floor is still there. He's still probably going to out-target the rest of the Patriots players. But I just think in this game, I think it's going to be a really run-heavy game script. I don't love the ceiling for Jacoby Myers. I would be looking elsewhere from Jacoby Myers in fantasy this week. And I still think, hold on to him. I still think he's more valuable than people give him credit for. Damian Harris, inactive. Christian Barmore, inactive. Again, we do have, it does sound like Kyle Duggar is going to return for the Patriots this week. But Christian Barmore being out is even better for really big news for Dion Jackson. Dion Jackson, Foreman, Lockett. Yeah, again, I would go Dion and Foreman over Lockett. Swift or Pittman. I'd go Pittman over Swift. Kenyon Drake or A.J. Dillon. I would go Kenyon Drake over A.J. Dillon. Claypool, Mooney, Hardman, Raymond, MBS, or Pierce. Can't start Claypool. You can't start Hardman. I would probably go Mooney, Raymond, and Pierce. I'd probably bench Scantling, Pierce, Mooney, and Raymond. Pierce, Mooney, and Raymond, I think, in this one. And Josh Reynolds is out, so that's good news for Raymond. Good morning, Dylan. It's not morning in my eyes. It's like afternoon, although I guess it is still technically before noon, but I've been up since, I guess today, technically 5 a.m. Should I trade Schultz for Rondale Moore? Only if you're not going to start Schultz. I mean, you need another tight end if you're trading that. It's a fair trade, though. Pick one, Hardman, Terrace Marshall, Eno Benjamin. I would go Terrace Marshall over Hardman and over Eno Benjamin this week. Khalil Herbert or Foreman. I would go Foreman over Khalil Herbert. I go Dion Jackson over Foreman. I would go Foreman over Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson, though, does have some interesting opportunity this week without J.D. McKissick in the lineup. Sam, thoughts on Hilliard as a replacement to Damian Harris? It's definitely an option. Like, Derrick Henry's obviously going to be the focal point of that offense, but with Malik possibly, maybe even likely, Hilliard might be the number 2 guy in that offense. Hey, Sam, just 3 questions, all PPR. Fields or Brady? Fields. Herbert or Brian Robinson? I'd go Brian Robinson over Herbert. Jacoby, A.J. Dillon, or David Montgomery? Pick 2. Yeah, that one I feel like I'd go Jacoby and David Montgomery over A.J. Dillon. Hello, Sam. PPR, need to Patterson, Dion Jackson, Swift, Lazard. Yeah, I'd go the first 2. I'd go Patterson, Dion Jackson. I don't really trust Swift this week. It's hard to know him getting the full workload. I do like Jamal Williams more than Swift this week. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, come to the YouTube live. You can see my top 15 rankings, every single position, and that will answer a lot of comments I'm just seeing straight up in the live. I would play Tyler Boyd over Jacoby Myers. I do think Dion Jackson's a pretty near must start this week. I'm playing over Jacoby Myers. I'm playing over Devin Duvernay. I'm playing him over Cordero Patterson. Dion Jackson, I think, is locked in. If you're going to pick another guy out of these guys, though, I think it's really close between these 3. Again, it's not a good matchup for Jacoby Myers. That's why I'm a little bit nervous about Myers this week. I think I probably would go Duvernay over Myers. I think Patterson is a really interesting ceiling, but a really low floor. Well, I have to start Swift. Don't have anyone else to play. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, there's worse players that you would have to start this week than Swift, so it's fine. Happy Sunday, bud. Happy Sunday, Ken. Burrow or Fields? I think I do a Burrow ahead of Fields. Yeah, I do. I think you got to go Burrow. And then Ingram and Pitts and Amon-Ra and DJ Moore. Yeah, I would go Pitts and Amon-Ra, I think, over DJ Moore. I really still am very, very, very bullish on Amon-Ra. And I think the TJ Hawkinson trade was a really big boost for Amon-Ra St. Brown. And apparently TJ Hawkinson is going to see a near every down roll today for the Lions. We just had, let me read you guys this report. Leonard Fournette, people that have Leonard Fournette, you're going to want to hear this. We just had someone on CBS say that he said Rachaad White could play as much as 40% of the snaps as the Bucs want to ease the workload a little for Leonard Fournette. Rachaad White should be rostered in all leagues. Leonard Fournette, a little bit riskier than we maybe expected this week. To feel a little bit better about ranking Dion Jackson and Deontay Foreman over Leonard Fournette. All right, I got to catch my breath. Let me pull up the DraftKings lineup. We've been going nonstop on this live for now close to 3 hours. We got the news coming out here too with the actives and the inactives. I got the DraftKings lineup up on the YouTube live. And why I'm benching Myers, it's really the Colts secondary. I'm scared of the Colts secondary. They're number 2 against receivers for fantasy this season. Yes, James, Rachaad White should be added. Rachaad White should be added in all leagues. He should be rostered in 100% of leagues. I think he really should. Start Jackson or Williams. I would start Dion Jackson over Williams. Mixon or Evans. Oh, God. I mean, you got to start both those guys. I really like Mike Evans this week, though. I think I would go Mike Evans. Juju, Pittman, Rondale. I still think Pittman gets a slight edge over Juju, but I like them both over Rondale for sure. Palmer or Pittman. I am kind of scared. Like I am scared for Pittman, right? I think that we all know the Patriots are very good at stopping the top option of another other team that is Michael Pittman this week, but I still feel like it's tough for me to start Josh Palmer over him, even though I do like Josh Palmer. Like I'm nervous for Pittman. I like Josh Palmer. You're really being aggressive starting him over Pittman though, with what we know about those two players and how good they both are. But it is reasonable. It is reasonable to start Josh Palmer over Pittman. Don't let me talk you out of that. The more I think about it, the more I do think Palmer is maybe even safer than Pittman, given their matchups. I mean, there's almost polar opposite matchups, right? We got Pittman against a really scary defense and one that's known for stopping the top option of the other team. And then we have Palmer against the dead last Atlanta Falcons secondary. So yeah, I think Palmer is definitely playable over Pittman. The more I think that one through. Damian Harris inactive. Christian Barmore inactive. Another defensive tackle, Sam Roberts, inactive for the Pats too. Good news for Dion Jackson. Devontae Parker inactive. Also David Andrews, the starting center for the Pats, inactive. That could definitely cause some problems for Mac Jones. TJ Hawkinson is active and apparently going to play a pretty considerable role. We also have Tre'Davious White. People thought he might come back for the Bills. Nope. He's inactive. Plus, they're missing Matt Milano. Plus, they're missing Jordan Poyer. Wheels up, guys, for Garrett Wilson. This is all good news for Garrett Wilson this week. I don't think there's much more to take away. Obviously, the Bills still going to destroy the Jets. I actually still am taking the Bills at minus 10.5 against the Jets, but I do like Garrett Wilson a lot. I think Garrett Wilson could have a second straight game over 100 yards this week. Not many people talking about Garrett Wilson, but meanwhile, Garrett Wilson is a straight baller, and he's playing a very, very injured Bills defense this week. Ertz or Myers, and there's no Corey Davis. Ertz or Myers, I'd play Myers over Ertz. I hate starting two tight ends, even though I'm kind of down on Myers against the Colts. London or DJ, you got to go DJ over London. I think you do have to go Pittman over Romeo Doubs. Thoughts on a trade? I would give Mostert, Duvernay, Hubbard, and Rondale for yes. Yardsman, if you got offered this trade, you got to hit smash accept. I mean, instantly. ETN is just so significantly more valuable than everyone else in this trade. I don't even care about Claypool. And Claypool is an interesting piece of the trade, though I do wonder if Claypool can be consistent on a team that barely throws the ball. But ETN is a top 10 valuable player rest of season. He might be a top 5 running back rest of season. Myers or Likely this week. I'm playing Myers over Likely. I will not start two tight ends. You can't get me to do it unless you're really, really down bad. And I actually am doing it. I guess I should walk that back. You can get me to do it, but literally only if I can't drop anyone on my team. Like I'm starting Taysom Hill and Higbee in one league, but that's literally because the whole team's on bye. Olave, Godwin, or McLaurin, all three really good options. Let me pull up my wide receiver rankings again on the YouTube Live again. If you're watching live on TikTok, come to the YouTube Live for my top 15 rankings, every single position. Let's take a look here. I think McLaurin's not in these rankings, but I want to find a spot for him, but there's none of these receivers I can knock out for McLaurin. So I do like Olave and Godwin more than McLaurin this week. And yeah, I have Olave one spot ahead of Godwin. I do like Olave a lot, man. I mean, Olave is just so steady and has such a high ceiling. He still leads the NFL in air yards. So I think I would go Olave. Lockett or Fournette, PPR. Fournette just got a lot riskier. I feel like with this report that Rachaad White all of a sudden could play as much as 40% of the snaps this week. They want to work back Fournette's workload a little bit. It's close now. I still feel like Fournette over Lockett makes sense, but it is really close. Why bench Swift? He's playing the Packers with a terrible run defense, and I'm a Packers fan. Roger, I think you bench Swift in most situations because what's the ceiling for Swift? There's no ceiling for Swift. Like I don't like playing guys that really don't have a ceiling. The best possible case for Swift this week. Let's play through the best case scenario. He sees maximum 12 touches. Like I would be shocked if he had more than 12 touches. He had 10 touches last week. They're saying they're going to continue to limit his workload because he's not fully healthy. So we're saying best case 12 touches. So what? That's 2 touchdowns, maybe a bunch of catches. Like that's the best case scenario. He had 5 carries, 5 catches last week. He played half the snaps last week. So I don't know, maybe you could get to 15 touches. Maybe 15 touches is best case scenario. And 15 touches is good. Like you can start 15 touches against the Packers. I just don't love that there's no real ceiling for Swift. And it could end up being Jamal Williams that just scores all the touchdowns because he's just not fully healthy. So I just think there's risk there with Swift. Duvernay, A-Rob, or Singletary full PPR. Yeah, I'm nervous for A-Rob. I was talking about this earlier in the live, and he's been much better against man coverage than zone coverage. And the Bucs run a lot mostly entirely zone coverage. So I'm nervous for A-Rob in this game. I would play Singletary over him, and I would play Duvernay over A-Rob as well. I'm definitely playing Swift over Algier. Yeah, for sure. You got to play Swift over Tyler Algier with Cordell Patterson back. I would play Duvernay over Romeo Doubs with Allen Lazard and Christian Watson. Both active. Need a tight end, man. K. Dotton or Noah Fant. Close, man. It's close. I kind of do like Noah Fant in his matchup over K. Dotton. Yeah, I do. I think I like Fant over Otten. I also think Foster Moreau is in play as a deep tight end play also. Start likely over Higbee or Everett today. I would do it over both. I do really like Isaiah Likely. I might be more bullish on Isaiah Likely than most people. Even the person running our WalterPicks app Twitter account tweeted today that he doesn't really trust Isaiah Likely. I trust Isaiah Likely. We saw it on Thursday night against the Bucs. Now Andrews is out. Rashad Bateman out. I mean, we're going to see it again, I think, on Monday night, even in a tough matchup against the Saints. I do like Isaiah Likely as Lamar's top option this week. Everett or Higbee rest of season. I would lean Higbee pretty strongly over Everett rest of season. Do I trade Lamb for Pierce and Pittman? Yeah, that's a fair trade. I would do that one, especially if you need a running back. Start to Khalif Raymond, Swift, Jamal Williams, Mac Hollins. Anthony, I actually really do like the safe approach here of just play Swift and Jamal Williams. If you have both guys, you could really talk me into that as a pretty safe approach against a bad Packers run defense. Hey, Walter, who should I start? Dylan or Garrett Wilson? Garrett. This is a classic mistake, man. My name's not Walter. Actually, my name is Sam. Walter is the artificially intelligent algorithm that powers the WalterPicks app, which I've helped build. And that's free to find on the iOS and Android app store. It helps you dominate all things fantasy. A classic mistake though, man. Don't worry about it. I would be playing Garrett Wilson over A.J. Dillon, though. We have the Bills defense without Matt Milano, without Jordan Poyer, without Tre'Davious White, and there's no Corey Davis in this game. And who knows if Elijah Moore's out of the doghouse yet or not. So, yeah, I really do like Garrett Wilson as a good shot to go over 100 yards today, again, for the second straight week, in a game that the Jets are just going to get, absolutely destroyed by Josh Allen. Pick one. Kirk, DK, Palmer. I would probably go with, I want to say Kirk, but I sort of feel like it has to be DK. And I do think I do have DK over Christian Kirk here in my rankings too. So yeah, I think I'd go DK. I would play AJ Dillon over Nyheim Hines. I don't really trust Nyheim Hines in his first game with the Bills. I don't really trust TJ Hawkinson in his first game with the Vikings. Good morning. Pick 2 flex, RB2 Foreman, Gibson, Curtis Samuel, Ken and Drake. Good luck today. Thanks, Elijah. Good luck to you as well. I would go Foreman. And I think I would go Gibson, honestly, too. I like Gibson with J.D. McKissick out, who's a buy low player right now. My favorite buy low player right now is Christian Kirk. And I think you got to go buy now, right now. Otherwise, you might miss the opportunity. He gets the Raiders today. I think he goes over 60 yards today. That's why he's the free player prop of the day. But Christian Kirk, the reason I'm buying low on Christian Kirk, no one has had a tougher schedule at the wide receiver position than Christian Kirk over the last 3 weeks. He's played the Colts, the number 2 defense against receivers. He's played the Broncos, the number 1 defense against receivers. And he's played the Giants. I think they're number 7 or 8 defense against receivers this season. So Christian Kirk this week, much better matchup, much better matchups rest of season. He's still the top clear option for Trevor Lawrence, who I also think Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars are almost destined to improve in the red zone a little bit. They've been, I think, the dead last red zone offense. So I think Kirk, more TDs coming, more yards coming for Christian Kirk, and much better matchups. I think people are sleeping on him pretty heavily right now. Swift or Connor? I play Swift over Connor. I don't feel great about both of them this week, but I like Swift more than Connor, especially given their matchups. Ertz or Everett? Yeah, Ertz is the second safest tight end this week after Travis Kelce. Hilliard or Brian Robinson? I'd go Brian Robinson over Hilliard. Boyd or DJ Moore? I do think I'd Boyd 1 spot or 2 spots ahead of DJ Moore. 1 spot ahead of DJ Moore. If you come to the YouTube live, link to that's in the TikTok bio. You can see my top 15 rankings every single position. And I would play Boyd over Scary Terry too. Boyd is a really good option. Yeah, Darren Waller is out. Officially, Darren Waller out. I really do like Justin Jefferson today as my top receiver. He's going to ball out. So officially inactive, officially active. DeAndre Swift is active. Allen Lazard is active. DeAndre Carter is active. Christian Watson is active. James Robinson is active. Officially inactive, not playing today. Darren Waller's not playing. Damon Harris not playing. Josh Reynolds not playing. Matt Milano and Tre'Davious White not playing. Zach Moss not playing for the Colts. Even better news for Deion Jackson. We also know that Gus Edwards is not playing. Mark Andrews is not playing. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams not playing. Jahan Dotson, J.D. McKissick not playing. Corey Davis not playing. Devontae Parker not playing. Russell Gage, Cameron Brate not playing. A lot of injuries to be aware of this week. Kirk or Rondale, I do like Christian pretty substantially more than Rondale Moore. Why Jacoby? Yeah, so I'm nervous about Jacoby just because it's the Colts, and the Colts have allowed the second fewest fantasy points per game to receivers this season. Only 1 receiver has gone over 90 yards. I just don't see a true upside for Jacoby Myers in this game. Swift or Drake? I do feel like Drake is going to outtouch Swift. So I feel compelled to say Drake over Swift with that one. I do think Drake versus Gibson is really close to. With McKissick out, man, I do really like Gibson in this game. I do think this is going to be a high-scoring game too. So I feel like Gibson in PPR league better than Kenyon Drake. Tad, good to see you, man. Back in the YouTube live. Lazard, Curtis Samuel, Garrett Wilson, start 2. Yeah, I'm benching Lazard. I would start Samuel and Wilson. I know Lazard is active. I feel most good about Garrett Wilson, though. Garrett Wilson, he's playing the Bills, who are going to destroy the Jets. And they have no Matt Milano. They have no Jordan Poyer. And Tre'Davious White's still out. So the Bills' defense is good, don't get me wrong. But with Corey Davis out, I mean, I really think we could see another yard game from Garrett Wilson. And the floor, I feel like, is kind of good, too. Like, he's the clear top wide receiver for the Jets right now, especially with no Breece Hall. I mean, Garrett Wilson's the most talented offensive player they have. So I do like Garrett Wilson a lot. I think he's being pretty slept on just across the board right now. And I'm playing him on DraftKings again this week, too. Curtis Samuel, I do feel just a little bit better than Lazard. I like the matchup a lot for Curtis Samuel against the Vikings. Rondale Moore or Jamal Williams. I'm definitely not fully bought into the Rondale Moore stuff. I do feel like Jamal Williams against the Packers is in a pretty good spot. I would go Jamal Williams over Rondale Moore. Guys, thank you so much for being tuned in right now. We've been live over 3 hours. We're hitting past the 3-hour mark of this live. We've been going strong. I always look forward to these Sunday morning lives. Seriously, one of my favorite times of the week. I plan all week for this. I plan all morning for this. And I appreciate all of you that are tuned in. And it's going to be a great Sunday, man. Great Sunday. We're like a little over an hour away from all day of football. Ertz or Everett. I would go Ertz over Everett again. I think Ertz is the second safest tight end of the week. Sam, hope the stream's been good. It's been great, man. Thanks for tuning in. I got a question here to start. Foreman or Dion Jackson? Yeah, this is a popular one this week, and it's a tough one. And let me pull my running back rankings here. You can see my top 15 rankings for every position on the YouTube live, by the way, if you're watching live on TikTok. Link to that's in the TikTok bio. But I do have Dion Jackson ranked one spot ahead of Deontay Foreman, and this is assuming PPR format, points per reception format. Because in points per reception, Dion Jackson is going to catch more passes than Deontay Foreman. We have seen a game with Dion Jackson having 10 catches and with Sam Ehlinger starting. And the other reason I like Dion Jackson so much, and similar reason to like Deontay Foreman, is they just have no competition. Chuba Hubbard's out. Naeem Hines got traded. And we have Jonathan Taylor out, and Zach Moss not even active, who they just traded for. It's going to be Phillip Lindsay and Dion Jackson. Phillip Lindsay just got elevated from the practice squad. It's going to be Deontay Foreman and or Blackshear or something is the other Panthers running back. Like both guys are going to be locked into really heavy workloads, but Dion Jackson is going to be more used as a pass catcher, I think. And I also think that the Colts are going to be playing from behind in this game. One more, LOL, Swift or Dion. Yeah, I would go Dion Jackson over Swift, like pretty confidently, honestly. I would be really, really surprised if DeAndre Swift outtouched Dion Jackson this week. And Swift has a much better matchup. Swift is much better than Dion Jackson, but Dion Jackson could double the amount of touches that DeAndre Swift has. So I do. What are your must trade for buy lows? Yeah, so I actually posted a video about this, I think yesterday or the day before on YouTube. So go check that out. It lays out 10 players I'm either buying or selling in fantasy football. And I go a little bit more in depth than I can on this live right now. So if you want some of my buy high, sell lows, go to the YouTube. WalterPicks YouTube is the latest video I posted. Should I play a defense this week? Already have so many people on buy. Cowboys defense on buy. Don't want to drop anyone. Could pick up Vikings, Cardinals. Yeah, I would drop the Cowboys defense. Don't drop your defense. Go add another defense. Just go add the Cowboys back. I guess you're 7-1. Like if you feel that good about the Cowboys defense, I don't. I personally would probably drop them and add the Panthers defense. I do like the Panthers defense, decent amount this week. Thank you for the gift in the TikTok live. Do appreciate that. We're live on TikTok and YouTube right now. Would you play Eno? No, I'm not playing Eno. Why bench Jacoby? It's because the Colts are allowing the second fewest points to wide receivers per game this season. Sam, need help. Love the app. Yeah, guys, if you haven't checked out the WalterPicks app yet, you got to check it out. Link is in the YouTube description. Link is in the TikTok bio. It's going to help you with all your start sits, all your trade decisions, and much more. And it's completely free to download and try out. And it takes into account your custom scoring settings. I do want to get to this Aaron Jones question. I will get to that in a second. Algier, Pacheco, Brian Robinson, or now White. Also Swift or White. Yeah, I would go Brian Robinson over Pacheco, over definitely Tyler Algier, and over Rachaad White. I would play Swift over Rachaad White too, but Rachaad White definitely is more playable now that we have a report that he could play up to 40% of the snaps. All right. Reason that you have Aaron Jones ranked number 2 running back. Yeah, so I think you could make a case for a lot of these running backs. Mondre, Derrick Henry, Travis Etienne, Alvin Kamara, Josh Jacobs, even Kenneth Walker maybe. Like all these guys could finish as the number 1 running back this week, but Aaron Jones is playing the Lions, and that's why he's ranked number 2. The Lions have been really, really, really bad on defense this season. Like they have stopped basically nobody at any position this season. They are allowing the third most points per game to running backs this season. Aaron Jones, I think, is going to be extremely involved in this game. I think he has, multiple touchdown upside, really big receiving upside, really big rushing upside this week. So that's why I have Aaron Jones ranked number 2. I also, though, did this ranking knowing that Allen Lazard might be out, Christian Watson might be out. Both those guys are active. So maybe you could make a better case for Mondre or Derrick Henry at number 2 now, or maybe even Travis Etienne. But I do think Aaron Jones has really, really, really high ceiling this week against the Lions. Hey, Sam, please help me. Swift or Gabe Davis? I'd go Gabe Davis over Swift. Definitely close. But I take the upside with Gabe Davis over the upside with Swift. Again, what is the ceiling for Swift if he has a cap on his touches? He can't go over 15 touches, is basically what the Lions coaching staff is telling us publicly. So, like, it just really caps his ceiling, I think. The floor is still kind of interesting for Swift. Like, he's going to catch some passes, could easily score a touchdown. It's a good matchup for him against the Packers, but I would start Swift over Dillon. I think I would start Swift over Dillon. I still think Dillon has some intrigue this week against the Lions too, but I still think Swift is better, especially in PPR. A Romeo Doubs or DeAndre Carter, I would go Carter over Doubs this week. Mooney or Raymond, I would probably go Mooney over Raymond, definitely close. Hey, Walter, I need help, please. Classic mistake, man. My name's actually Sam. Classic mistake. Don't worry about it. Walter is the artificially intelligent algorithm that helps power the WalterPicks app in the iOS and Android app store. I've helped build this app over the last 3 years, but my name is Sam. Classic mistake again, though. Don't worry about it. Palmer, Boyd, Foreman, Pittman, all good options. This week, though, I think the middle 2 stand out to me the most as the best options. Foreman and Boyd. I think I have them both as top 12 options at their respective positions, wide receiver rankings. Yeah, come to the YouTube Live to see my top 15 wide receiver rankings right on the YouTube Live screen. Link to that is in the TikTok bio. Hey, Sam, help. Christian Kirk. Well, I didn't see the other side of that Christian Kirk. Questions, DK or DJ? I would go DK Metcalf over DJ Moore. I would play Christian Kirk over Josh Palmer, but it's definitely close. It's definitely close. Both guys are really good options, I think, this week. But Christian Kirk is actually my free player prop of the day. Christian Kirk over 56.5 receiving yards against the Raiders. Really, really, really like this one. Again, no one's had a tougher schedule than Kirk over the last 3 weeks. He's played the Colts, number 2 defense against receivers. The Broncos, number 1 defense against receivers, and the Giants, who are also top 10 defense against receivers. And this week he gets the Raiders, who are bottom 10 defense against receivers. Pittman, or Likely at my flex. Yeah, I refuse to start 2 tight ends. I will play Pittman over Likely. Curtis Samuel or Swift. It's really close, Alex. It's really close. I'm okay going with Swift with this one, but it's definitely close. And I do want to say Curtis Samuel. I do want to say Samuel, because again, I just don't like playing guys that have their ceiling capped, which is Swift. He's capped. They're not going to give him like this massive workload. They just can't. He's not fully healthy. They're telling us this publicly. Thoughts on Njoku rest of season? Yeah, I don't know how long Njoku's out, but Njoku was having a great season, and we also know Deshaun Watson's coming back. I feel like I'm also more bullish on Deshaun being good than most people. So I guess top 10 tight end still rest of the season, assuming he's back at healthy some point over the next month. A.J. Dillon or Antonio Gibson or Foreman? Yeah, it's got to be Foreman. I think it's got to be Foreman, then Antonio Gibson, then A.J. Dillon this week. All are definitely startable, though, this week. Patterson or Swift? Patterson's got a really, really wide range of outcomes this week for sure. I mean, Patterson is in a good matchup, right? The Chargers are a bad run defense, and the Falcons' clear strength is running the ball. And Patterson's been really effective when healthy this season. It's just hard to know how much Algier, how much Caleb Huntley will still be involved in Patterson's first game back. And it could be more than us fantasy people are hoping for. So definitely a little bit nervous for Cordell Patterson, but I do think he can be started in that spot. QB rankings. Yeah, let me pull up the QB rankings again on the YouTube Live. Link to that is in the TikTok bio if you're watching live on TikTok. You get my top 15 rankings, every position, completely free. Okay, so with me benching Swift, do I put in James Conner, Scary Terry? See, it's got to be Scary Terry. Got to be Scary Terry. I don't think this is a pickle at all. Terry McLaurin against the Vikings defense is a really, really good option, I think. Hey, Sam, I need help. Should I start Swift, Foreman, Dion Jackson? Yeah, so I've ranked these guys as Dion Jackson, then Foreman, then Swift. Dion Jackson, then Foreman, then Swift. If it's not PPR, I think Foreman maybe over Dion Jackson, but I still like Dion Jackson a lot against the Pats. No Christian Barmore. They're also without their second defensive tackle as well. So, yeah, I do like Dion Jackson with zero competition. We have 8 early games and only 2 late window games today with the 6 buys. I mean, it's pretty brutal. What are the late games this week? We have 8 early games, and then it's the Rams and Bucks and the Seahawks and Cardinals. The only 2 late window games. Mooney or DeAndre Carter. Yeah, I do like DeAndre Carter just a tiny bit more than Mooney, but I do think both are definitely startable this week. Here's my DraftKings lineup. So someone asked him for that on the YouTube live. Again, come to the TikTok live to see it. I'm definitely starting Amon-Ra over Christian Kirk. I still very bullish on Amon-Ra St. Brown. Here's the DraftKings lineup though, and I will break down just some general DraftKings strategy as I talk through this lineup. I'm going with Justin Herbert stacked with Josh Palmer, but I think if you don't go Justin Herbert, you go Justin Fields against the Dolphins. He's priced really low on DraftKings, really egregiously low, I think, for Justin Fields and how consistent he's been. He's back-to-back games over 20 points. Now he gets the Dolphins, who have struggled with rushing quarterbacks this season, and we know the Dolphins can put up points. I'm going with Aaron Jones against the Lions. Really like that matchup for Aaron Jones. I'm going with Dion Jackson against the Pats. He's in every single one of my lineups this week. I've talked a lot about him. Don't think I need to go deep into that. I was just talking about Scary Terry. He's in my DraftKings lineup too. I have Christian Kirk in there as well against the Raiders. Again, I've talked a lot about him on this live, but I think he is a really good buy low candidate. He's had a really tough schedule over the last 3 weeks and much better matchup this week against the Raiders. I like Mondre a lot too against the Colts. No Damien Harris. Pierre Strong is even questionable. He is active, I think, though, in this game. But yeah, I think Mondre is going to see a huge workload, tons of targets too. And then Zach Ertz, I think, is the favorite, my favorite tight end on the slate as the safest tight end. He's the highest priced tight end on DraftKings, but he's not that expensive. Thanks for all the help, Sam. But I have one final question. I got you, Roger. PPR. Should I go with Jacoby Myers, James Conner, CEH, or Dubs? Thanks for your help. Yeah, this one I am okay going with Jacoby. I would play Jacoby over all these guys, and I'm nervous about the Colts, but Jacoby still has at least somewhat of a good floor as their top passing option. Alec Pierce, Matt Collins, Justice Hill, half PPR. I think I would go Alec Pierce, then Justice Hill, then Matt Collins with this one. Metcalf, Olave, Foreman. Yeah, let me pull up my wide receiver rankings again. I do think it's the answer here is Olave, though. I think Olave is just as safe as these other guys. Oh, we got a TikTok Live subscriber. Let me make sure I prioritize your comment. Really do appreciate the TikTok Live subscription. That's another really big way to support me. Chuba, I'm assuming you mean Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert or Singletary. Yeah, I would go Singletary over Khalil Herbert and over the first option there. I do like Devin Singletary still this week against the Jets. They're 10.5 point favorites in that game. Please help. PPR, Rondale, Romeo Doubs, Mooney at flex. Need the win this week. Yeah, I would go Mooney over Romeo Doubs and over Rondale personally, but yeah, it's close. I'm not fully bought into the Rondale hype though. Just like I wasn't fully bought into the Paris Campbell hype last week, which I do believe ended up being accurate. Let me see this for a second. Foreman or Palmer at flex. Yeah, I would play Foreman over Palmer. It's definitely close. I like Palmer a lot, but Foreman is just a much higher floor than Palmer. Let me pull up the Paris Campbell stuff because I do think I was on that last week. And yeah, Paris Campbell only had 9 points last week. Only 2 targets. Only 2 targets for Paris Campbell. He must have had a rushing attempt or something too. But I do think Paris Campbell came back down to earth a little bit last week. I do like Alec Pierce still more than him. DeAndre Carter or Jacoby Myers. I would go Carter over Jacoby Myers. Again, I'm nervous for Myers against the Colts defense. Duvernay Carter, thanks for the help. Yeah, this one I feel like is really, really close. I still think Carter is a little bit better, just given the matchup. But Duvernay is a pretty good matchup against the Saints too, and there's no Rashad Bateman, no Mark Andrews in that game. So really, really close for me in this one. Let me actually pull this up and see who we have ranked ahead of who in this one. Yeah, I do think it's Carter. I think it's Carter over Duvernay. But yeah, again, it is very, very close. Is Patterson trustworthy, or should I start B-Rob, Herbert, or Drake? Patterson has a really wide range of outcomes. I think his floor is really low. I do think it's okay to start him over all of these guys. It's not like any of these are elite options that you're risking benching because the ceiling is still high with Patterson. It's a good matchup for him against the Chargers. Hey, Sam, would you put DJ Moore or Gabe Davis in for wide receiver? I'd play DJ Moore for Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis, I mean, he's Gabe Davis. I don't think there's a harder player to project than Gabe Davis. He has 0 games over 4 catches. But with literally 4 catches or less, the dude goes for 100 yards and multiple TDs. He's scored on a touchdown on over 25% of his catches. 1 out of every 4 Gabe Davis catches is going for a touchdown. And that's just the most unsustainable rate in the NFL. But it's also not because he's on the Bills. This is the role that Gabe Davis is playing. But yeah, I still like DJ Moore much more. Stop with the AJ Dillon crap. Someone comes to the YouTube live. Stop with the AJ Dillon crap. And I know I've been very wrong about AJ Dillon this whole season. But it does feel like if there's going to be an A.J. Dillon game, this is the one. It's up against the Lions. Lions have been bottom 5 against running backs this season. So I do think this is the last gasp almost for A.J. Dillon, obviously, aside from an Aaron Jones injury, which would vault A.J. Dillon still into top 10 running back status. But yeah, I've been very off on the A.J. Dillon stuff. I will definitely own that L very openly but I still love A.J. Dillon as a person and as a player. Geno Smith or Trevor Lawrence. I would go Geno Smith, and I would do that because of the matchup against the Cardinals and because of the weapons. For Geno Smith, I do think Trevor Lawrence has some intriguing upside, but Geno also has the rushing. I think I have him ranked pretty well ahead of Trevor Lawrence in my rankings. Yeah, not, I guess, that well ahead. Only 3 spots, so it's close. But yeah, I do like Geno just a little bit more than Trevor Lawrence. Geno's been great this season. I mean, there's no way around it. Trevor Lawrence has also, I think, been like dead last in red zone efficiency. DJ Moore or Lizard. I would play DJ Moore over Lizard, who I assume you meant Lazard. Do I still start the Bills defense? Yeah, you can still start the Bills defense against the Jets, even without Matt Milano, even without Tre'Davious White, even without Jordan Poyer. I mean, the Bills defense still probably going to beat up pretty good on the Jets. I still like Garrett Wilson, though, a decent amount. Would you put DJ Moore or Gabe Davis? Yeah, again, I think I answered this one. I would go DJ Moore. Why Swift? Swift is just a guy that his ceiling is capped. He has a capped ceiling. They aren't going to give him the ball more than X amount of times. I think X is like 15. I don't think he's going to get the ball more than 15 times. So that's a really capped ceiling for Swift. I think he can be started still in some spots, but Sam, I need help. Davis or Jamal. Yeah, this one's close. Definitely really close. I kind of feel like Jamal Williams is safer. Gabe Davis has a higher ceiling. Personally, though, I think I'd go Jamal Williams over Gabriel Davis. MVS, A-Rob, or DeAndre Carter. Yeah, I think I would rank these guys as DeAndre Carter, then A-Rob, then MVS. I don't feel good about A-Rob this week, though. He's been really, really bad against zone coverage, and that's what the Bucs primarily run. Singletary or Gibson. I would lean towards Singletary over Gibson, but Gibson's interesting this week without J.D. McKissick. I would play Swift over Dillon. I think it's a reasonable question this week, but I still think Swift is a little bit better than Dillon this week, even with the capped upside for Swift. I mean, Dillon has a slightly capped upside too, with Aaron Jones seeing the bulk of the touches in that backfield. Sam, pick 2, Deion Jackson, Rondale Moore, Josh Palmer, Jamal Williams. Yeah, it's Deion Jackson and it's Josh Palmer for sure this week. I feel like it's Deion Jackson 1,000% better than all these guys this week. Deion Jackson locked in for 15 plus touches, even against a decent Pats defense. They're without Christian Barmore, one of the best D tackles in the league. He's out for the Pats this week, and so is Jonathan Taylor's out for the Colts. Nyheim Hines gets traded. Zach Moss not active. It's him and Phillip Lindsay, who was elevated from the practice squad. I think Deion Jackson has an extremely safe floor and a really high ceiling against the Pats. And Josh Palmer is a really high ceiling against the Falcons. Hey, Sam, should I start Deion Jackson or Deontay Foreman? This is the most asked question, I think, on this week's live stream, and I am going Deion Jackson over Deontay Foreman, but it's really close. I have them back-to-back in my rankings. I just think Deion Jackson has a higher ceiling. Free player prop I'm seeing in the TikTok live. The free player prop today is Christian Kirk, over 56.5 receiving yards. He's had the toughest wide receiver schedule over the last 3 weeks. He's played the Colts, their number 2 defense against receivers. He's played the Broncos, the number 1 defense against receivers, and he's played the Giants, the top 10 defense, also against receivers. And this week he gets the Raiders, bottom 10 against receivers. I like a bounce-back game for Christian Kirk today. I would play DeAndre Carter over Khalif Raymond. I would play Kenyon Drake over A.J. Dillon. MVS or Romeo Doubs at flex. Yeah, I still like Dobbs a little bit more than MVS, especially with Tony being on the Chiefs this week. Hard to know how much he's going to play, but it does lower the ceiling, I think, a little bit for all those receivers. Swift, Pacheco, Patterson, White, Marshall, pick 3 PPR. Yeah, I would bench Pacheco in this one, and I kind of feel like I would bench Rachaad White too. I know we did get an interesting report that Rachaad White could play up to 40% of the snaps in this game, but I still think I like Terrace Marshall a tiny bit more than him. Free agent wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. should be fully cleared by the end of this week. Wow. Expect a lot of interest. All right. Let's get back to some of these comments. We have 15 minutes left in this live. It's been a fun one. I've been live for over 3 hours already. It's been a fun one, man. I look forward to this all week. A lot of really interesting games to break down in this one. I'm benching Jacoby Myers where I can, just because the Colts defense has been so good against receivers. I am playing Isaiah Likely pretty confidently over Evan Ingram. What's your take on Akers this week? Yeah, I mean, I just don't think you can start any of the Rams running backs. I can't get behind any of them. And I don't think, like, there's a real case none of them do well. Like, usually in these backfields, it's like, all right, at least one of these backs is probably going to do something. But the Rams running backs have been really, really struggling this season. The offensive line's done them no favors, and Akers can't be trusted. I mean, Akers, his floor is still 0 points. Darrell Henderson has an extremely low floor. Ronnie Rivers is a guy I'm not starting Ronnie Rivers at all, but he could easily lead the backfield in touches. Like that wouldn't even be that shocking. So yeah, it's a stay away situation, I think, with the with that backfield. AJ Dillon or Kenny Drake. Yeah, again, I'd go Kenny Drake over AJ Dillon. Hey Sam, need help? I got you. Lord Dingle, good to see you back in the YouTube live. Lazard, DJ Moore, McLaurin, Boyd, Pittman, St. Brown. Pick one, please. It's St. Brown. It's St. Brown, I think. Over all of these guys, I think it's St. Brown. I think St. Brown still has a really, really safe floor and a really, really high ceiling. I do really like still Amon-Ra St. Brown. Guys, if you're watching live on TikTok, hit the follow button. Also, if you want a little bit better of a live stream experience, you're like 2 presses of your finger away from the YouTube live. And the YouTube live is in the TikTok bio, and you get my top 15 rankings every position, which will answer a lot of the questions I'm seeing in the YouTube live. Why is David Montgomery a must bench? I think David Montgomery is more of a fringe bench, just because Khalil Herbert's been doing a lot for that offense. I'm nervous any given week. It could be the Khalil Herbert takeover week. I would start Brian Robinson, though, still over Khalil Herbert. And I just think David Montgomery, especially with all the buys, like he can be started. Thank you for the gifts in the TikTok live. Do appreciate that. Thank you for the follows in the TikTok live as well. Dillon or Montgomery? Yeah, I'd go Montgomery over Dillon. Like, for example, Tyler Boyd or DJ Moore. I do have Boyd ranked 1 spot ahead of DJ Moore this week. Who do I bench, Swift or DK? I would bench Swift. I would play DK. I would bench Swift. I would start Dion Jackson over Cordell Patterson. I do like Dion Jackson. I would play Jamal Williams over James Conner. Thank you for the gift, by the way, in the TikTok live. I'm definitely playing Dion Jackson over Rondale Moore. I like Dion Jackson this week. I think he's a top 10 option this week. We saw him be the number 1 running back just a few weeks ago in a similar spot. I don't think he's going to be the number 1 running back this week, but he has a really high floor. I think he's locked in for 15 plus touches and could see as much as 25 touches, I think, in this game. Kyle Pitts or Kadarius Toney for flex. Yeah, I hate starting 2 tight ends. I'm okay going Kadarius Toney here. I think there is a chance he scores a touchdown, but I mean, he probably projects worse than Pitts. I just hate starting 2 tight ends. I just refuse to do it. Andy Dalton or Derek Carr? I'd play Derek Carr over Andy Dalton. Khalif Raymond or DeAndre Carter? I would go DeAndre Carter over Khalif Raymond. Tyler Boyd or Gabe Davis? Definitely Boyd for me over Gabe Davis. Brady or Heineke? I feel like I got to go Brady over Heineke, as bad as Brady has been. But I am playing Justin Fields over Brady this week. I'm playing Justin Fields over over Tua as well. Jamal or Connor? I'm playing Jamal Williams over James Conner. I don't trust James Conner his first game back. I do think you can't trust Eno Benjamin, though, either. I'm playing Thielen for sure over Eno Benjamin, seeing that one in the TikTok live. I am playing Isaiah Likely over basically every single tight end. I'm playing Isaiah Likely over everyone except for Travis Kelce and Zach Ertz, basically. I really do think Isaiah Likely is in a really good spot. We saw it on Thursday night, too. It's not even like we have to guess what the likely role is going to look like without Mark Andrews, without Rashad Bateman. We just saw it. So, yeah, I do like Likely. Hey, Sam, need one. Lizard, Montgomery, Duvernay, Everett, Samuel. Love calling Lazard Lizard, honestly. We're gonna make this stick. We're calling Lazard just Lizard from here on out. But, yeah, I do think Montgomery's probably your safest bet here. Then it's probably Samuel, then Duvernay, or Duvernay, then Samuel. Don't start Everett. Don't start Lazard in this spot. I would probably go Montgomery, though. Patterson or Jamal Williams? Jamal Williams feels a lot safer to me than Cordell Patterson. I do think Jamal Williams probably the move. Sam, need 2, Lockett, Boyd, Juju. Yeah, I would go the first 2. I'd bench Juju, Jack, and I would play Lockett and Boyd. Wino Swift, he has a cap ceiling. He has a cap ceiling. They're capping his touches. They're saying this publicly. I would play Garrett Wilson over Kenyon Drake. I do like Garrett Wilson a lot. No Matt Milano. No Tre'Davious White. No Jordan Poyer for the Bills defense. And no Corey Davis for the Jets offense. I mean, Garrett Wilson, and no Breece Hall, obviously, too. Garrett Wilson's the best player the Jets have on offense all of a sudden. And the Bills secondary is pretty beat up. I like Garrett Wilson a lot this week. I think he needs to be started. St. Brown, Olave, Mostert, Fournette, pick 2. St. Brown, Olave, Mostert, Fournette, pick 2. Yeah, I'd go the first 2. I'd play the first 2 here. Bench Mostert, bench Fournette, play St. Brown, play Olave. Sam, Connor or Swift? Don't like either, but need to choose one. Yeah, if I had to choose between these 2, I'm definitely going Swift. I still like Swift more than Connor. I still think Swift has more catches than Connor and is just generally better play than Connor. I would play Jamal, though, over Swift. Ben, thanks for the gifts in the TikTok live. I would play Waller. I would play Olave over Godwin, I think. Bills or Panthers defense? Got to go Bills defense over the Panthers defense. Again, thank you for the TikTok live subscription. If you do subscribe to the TikTok live, you will get all your comments answered. I can promise you. I would play Garrett Wilson over Jamal Williams. I would play Likely over Tunyon, Matt, but it's close. Tunyon definitely is a pretty good option. YTF, we benching Myers. We're benching Myers because they're playing the Colts, and the Colts have been the number 2 defense against receivers this season. Only one wide receiver this whole season has gone over 90 yards. So Myers still has a decent floor. You still can play Myers in a lot of spots, but like, for example, I like Josh Palmer more than Myers. Pick 2, DJ Moore, Palmer, Lazard. Got you to the TikTok live subscriber. I would go DJ Moore, then Josh Palmer, then Lazard. Again, I actually like Myers. I think he's still very slept on in the NFL, but this is probably his toughest matchup of the season. Will Algier get some snaps? Really tough to know how much Algier, Caleb Huntley going to mix in behind Cordell Patterson, but I do think both will still be involved. Amon-Ra or Olave, I do have Amon-Ra ranked just ahead of Olave. I still like Amon-Ra like pretty considerably. I like Amon-Ra a lot. I still think he's a really, really high ceiling, really, really high floor. Can I see those tight end rankings? Yeah, I'll pull up the tight end rankings next. Higgins or DK, I have Boyd. Yeah, I would go Higgins over DK still. Playing DK and Boyd is a really high floor move. Pick 2. DK, Lockett, Palmer. Yeah, I'd go DK and Lockett. Bench Palmer, play DK and Lockett. Can I see those tight end rankings? Yeah, I got you with the tight end rankings. Had the picks against the spread on the YouTube live for a second there. Christian Kirk or Deontay Foreman. I would go Deontay Foreman. Rodgers or Cousins. I would go Aaron Rodgers over Kirk Cousins, but it's definitely close. Hey, Sam, would you start Jamal, Mostert, Dion, or Juju this week? Pick 2. I would start Dion Jackson, and then for sure as the first one. And then between Mostert, Jamal, Juju, I kind of feel like Mostert's the move against the Bears. Pretty weak run defense, but it's close. Hey, Sam, how is this FanDuel lineup? We got Justin Herbert, Eckler, Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, Palmer, Kirk, Tonyan, Dion Jackson. Yeah, it's a fire lineup. I like that lineup a lot. I really like Justin Jefferson this week. He's my number 1 receiver this week. It feels like he's just a lock to go over 100 yards. I don't hate the Eckler, Palmer, Herbert stack too. Eckler could definitely go bananas this week too. He's our number 1 running back this week. And yeah, here's my DraftKings lineup, which you can compare to. Obviously, FanDuel pricing different. Weatherman Sam got an update. There's no real weather to be concerned about today. Weatherman Sam did part-time earlier in this live. And yeah, the weather is not a concern at all this week. There's, I don't think, a single drop of rain in any games this week. And the highest wind game is only 17 miles an hour. And I think that's the Bears game. Somehow the Bears, I feel like, just somehow always end up in the worst weather of the week. But yeah, it's not weather to be concerned about. So no real report from Weatherman Sam other than nothing to be concerned about this week. Carter or Likely, yeah, I don't like playing 2 tight ends, so I would go Carter. DJ Moore or Palmer. I would play DJ Moore over Josh Palmer. Herbert or Tua. I like Herbert a lot, man. Even without Mike Williams, even without Keenan Allen against the Falcons, I think you got to like Justin Herbert a lot in this game. The Falcons have stopped nobody, and AJ Terrell out now. Garrett Wilson or Tyler Lockett. Close one, Isaiah. I still feel like Tyler Lockett ranks better than Garrett Wilson. I like Garrett Wilson a lot with all the injuries to the Bills, but yeah, I still think Tyler Lockett's better. Hawkinson or Pitts. Yeah, I'd go Pitts. I read the same reports that you probably read that Hawkinson's going to play a lot in his first game from the Lions. I'm not buying fully into that. I think the tight end's the hardest position in the NFL. The hardest position in the NFL to get up to speed on. That's why we see rookie tight ends struggle so much, because there's so much to know as a tight end. You basically need to know everything the offensive line knows and everything the receivers know. I mean, it's crazy how much you need to get up to speed on from the tight end position. So yeah, I'm not in on TJ Hawkinson this week for fantasy. I would play Pitts over him. Let me pull up the running back rankings again. Stevenson or Lendy, you got to play Stevenson and everywhere. I would play Stevenson over Walker. You got to play Stevenson basically over every single player. Every single player. You got to play Stevenson over. There's no Damian Harris. The Pats are home favorites in this game. B-Rob, Hilliard, full PPR, I'd go B-Rob. Swift or Patterson, I kind of do like Swift more than Patterson. I think Patterson's risky, high upside but risk. High upside, low floor. Or high upside but low floor. Yeah, that for Cordell Patterson. What's thoughts on Kamara? I hear now that the video's out. Yeah, I did break down the Kamara thing earlier in the live. Nobody's talking about it. And I thought that if the Kamara video leaked, and the Kamara video did leak, you can find it. It's on TMZ, leaked the video. I thought the video was going to be worse, I will say, but the video's bad. And it just hasn't been picked up by like the national media. And that's what's going to take to get Kamara suspended. That's why I thought he was going to get suspended if the video was leaked before the season, is because I thought there was going to be this huge public backlash that would force the NFL's hand. The NFL is not going to just suspend him without any pressure to suspend it, because they want to wait for the court, and the court is not going to be decided, I don't think, until the end of this NFL season. So the most likely scenario still for Alvin Kamara is that he's suspended next season for his altercation that happened at the Pro Bowl. And there's a video of it. If you want to see it, TMZ did report it. It's bad. It's not as bad, I don't think, as it could have been. It's still like kind of tough to see. But yeah, the Kamara is going to get suspended. I think it's going to be next season, though, not this season. Hey, Sam, Gabe Davis or Deontay Foreman at flex. I would go Deontay Foreman over Gabe Davis. I would go Likely over Pitts this week, too. I do really like Likely with Andrews and Bateman out. All right, guys. We got 5 minutes left in the stream. I'm going to try something slightly different this week. I'm going to wrap up the last 5 minutes live on the TikTok live stream, the TikTok live stream. I'm going to wrap up the live there. So YouTube live, thank you so much for tuning in. Really, really, really do appreciate it. Time is the most valuable thing we have. Thank you for spending some time with me today. I will answer this last question from Cannon, and then I'm going to move for the last 5 minutes of the live over to the TikTok live. All right. Kamara, Eckler, Patterson, and Sanders. Should I trade one for top receiver? I have Debo, Kirk, Myers. Yeah, if you're going to trade, I would trade Patterson and Sanders. Keep Eckler and Alvin Kamara. I would play likely over Gerald Everett. All right, guys. That is my time on the YouTube live. I'll get to this last one. Your advice last week helped me get back to 4-4. I got you, man. Have Andrews playing likely or other? Yeah, play likely. Play likely. I have likely. Let me pull up the tight end rankings one more time on the YouTube live. I have likely ranked number 2 this week. I mean, he basically is just playing the Andrews role. I mean, he's not as good as Andrews, obviously, but he's kind of close with Bateman out too. So I do like likely a lot. I think if you have Andrews and you have likely, yeah, play likely. All right, guys. That's my time on the YouTube live. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am going to wrap up on the TikTok live to get as many starts as I can in for the last few minutes.